But for all our infighting, there are a few things we probably should agree on. For any smaller battles and quibbles we are willing to set aside, we must be vigilant in defending the communities we seek to help, and so we cannot accept any abusers or people who are so self-interested they really only seem to care about themselves to the exclusion and detriment of others. You saw the title of the video. Let's talk about Destiny. Stephen Bennell II, commonly known by his online monikers, the Omni-Liberal and Destiny, is a socially inept loser, deadbeat father, and all-around pedantic dipshit.
Dude, wow, okay. Nice. Very nice swell poisoning right off the bat. Holy... Oh my god! Dude, he's just... What? Great, thank you. Video over. I get the point now.
I got that out of my system, and I'm just joking. If you're a Destiny fan and you're already triggered, well then you're probably just a lot like him in that, like Destiny, you probably have no problem lobbing similar insults at people, denigrating others based on perceived failings, yet once that same standard is turned on him, suddenly it's a low blow. You might even designate the things I just said as straw men or some other pedantic debate tactic. If you couldn't tell, yeah, we're going to be using the word pedantic a lot to describe Stephen. Somehow...
You don't think that labels matter? Why would I call another person deadbeat father if they're not a deadbeat father? Like, have we ever called another, like, fucking group, like, deadbeat father? Like, damn, dude, it's crazy.
This picture you'd see if you looked up the definition of the word man-child has managed to become something of a mainstream touchstone for representing the online left.
I'll never use a word that doesn't describe someone like that. Like, if I, except for, like, colloquial shit that we all use, like retard or stupid or dumb. Like, that doesn't mean you're actually mentally diagnosed with some shit, right? I just think that you are deserving of that label because you're stupid, okay?
Few months, for example, he was featured on CNN for a piece on how the left is meeting right-wing debate lords on their own turf.
Somehow I feel like on the left, I don't know how this happened online, maybe it's because we tend to be younger or whatever, but somehow the party's messaging apparatus, it feels like it's kind of hijacked from people, by people who won't vote for your candidates.
One that is often characterized by un-PC language, insults, and crude humor, like this tweet Destiny sent poking conservatives by saying the kids who died in the Texas floods were proof that God doesn't exist.
Really? This is decent? Oh, shit.
Those tweets, I think I have to get over it. I don't regret them. I love poking the bear on the right.
Yes, mainstream media, always right on time. 10 years too late. There's also this video recently. Like, come on, guys.
And I saw so much involvement from different gaming people, and I thought the conversations were so horrible. I was like, oh, I could improve this, and I could join this, and make this part of my content. Generally, the phrase "don't make this political" is actually people don't realize it. And I'm not accusing people of being bad faith, but that's coded language for I want to maintain the status quo. Yeah. So generally, if the environment is a certain way, so maybe we should change this aspect of the environment. People say, well, let's not get political here. And what that means is I like the current environment. Let's not change it.
Shout out to this Wired article from 2020, which serves as a fairly complete and often revealing profile.
Wait, what's the point there?
Of Stephen's various neuroses. I highly recommend you go and read the article in its entirety because it's only grown better and more relevant with time, as the several quotes I've pulled throughout the video will attest. Quote, Bennell first waded into the online political discourse a few years ago, driven by a kind of intellectual fury. As he sees it, many of the web's most influential gurus and luminaries are bewilderingly incapable of critical thought. End quote. Yes, Destiny is primarily known for his debate skills, which I will get to at some point, but before that, I need to go back. Way back, because like every other deep dive I've done on an internet personality in the past, with Destiny joining the unenviable ranks of people like Matt Walsh and Brianna Wu, when you go back to the very beginning, you can much better piece together who this person has always been. And for Stephen, he's always kind of been a immature, self-serving edgelord.
I mean, you literally told him to end his life over Twitter, didn't you?
I might have. I tell a lot of people to kill themselves, but I mean, like...
Wow.
What's the problem? What? Okay. Cool.
I will be entirely honest. After reading countless forum posts, watching exposés,
farms,
and countless hours of Stephen's own live streams, I will admit this deep dive has been much harder to do than ones I've done previously, at least as far as remaining empathetic to the primary subject. Usually, even with people I find personally reprehensible, like Matt Walsh or Brianna Wu, I still try to understand them through an empathetic lens, to get at what makes them tick as people and relate that to my own experiences, even if I don't agree with their opinions, their manipulative tactics, or their method. Destiny, however, defies this principle. At every turn, he has remained a unsympathetic and detached egotist, and the more I've learned, the more I have a hard time empathizing with him because, as I'll show, there's so little to empathize with on a personal, human level. I think his detachment and callousness has served him professionally to expand his base and profile, but now it has led to a series of controversies that he just can't ignore anymore. This is a deeply unwell, manipulative, cold, and self-interested person. That is an assessment, by the way, entirely free of whether or not I agree with any of his politics, because as we will speak about,
he is self-interested, but he also donated thousands of dollars to Lumiru for her, for their like fucking chest like reduction surgery, gender affirming care, anonymously. Wait, I don't know if it's anonymously, but like, dude, that makes no sense. Destiny has no reason to be this close to his orbiters, allowing them to backstab him if he didn't have a generous side. Like, nobody else does this. Nobody else raises smaller content creators like this as hard as Destiny did in the past overall. Nobody does it as much as him. Like, nobody. It's not even close. He doesn't pull up the ladder behind him. He puts the ladder down. He allows people to climb the ladder with him. He did that for me. Sure, it might be self-serving because, I'm defending him, but he didn't need to do that. I was already making videos defending him that was getting good views before he showed up on the radar. It didn't need to happen. And he suffered the consequences for allowing orbiters that close to him.
Much of his political outlook seems to come from a place of convenience and confrontation rather than genuine conviction. Like, say what you want about Matt Walsh, but I at least believe that he believes the bullshit he says. The same can't be said, in my opinion, for Steven. So, fairly recently, for example, what kind of liberal would attempt to dox someone and publicly report their spouse to ICE all because they were being sued for being a sex pest? Destiny is that kind of liberal. But like those previous deep dives,
and her spouse are actively harassing Destiny IRL, okay? Her spouse, and by the way, I listen, I believe that you can make a moral justification for green card fraud. I truly do, okay? I don't think it's that big of a deal as like conservatives are wanting it to be, okay? I don't think so, all right? But at the same time, I cannot deny that if your life is targeted by some people who you can then try to get on other things, why shouldn't you? It's tit for tat. It's retaliatory action. I'm pretty sure this Francesca person, okay, who is a pxie spouse, I have no idea whether or not they have separated or anything. She has went to Steven's apartment right outside his window to yell at him and call him all kinds of names right outside his apartment window in Miami. Allegedly, right? How is that? I don't, maybe don't play stupid games like that. Yeah, why should he give a fuck about you? Why shouldn't he retaliate after something like that happens? Of course, right?
Be a hit piece solely attacking somebody I don't like, but I aim for it to function more as a guide to who he is through his content, and hopefully that will answer the question of, as we try to find a way forward and build coalitions.
I think they live in the same building. Yeah, especially, that's especially spooky, right? You don't know what kind of crazy thing this person might come up with to fucking spite you. Maybe they put super glue on your fucking doorknob or whatever. And as funny as these pranks can be, right? I mean, against somebody you spite, like, again, this is within the realm of possibility just simply because they know where each other lives, okay? Yeah, some kind of crazy person is putting, like trying to ruin your life or trying to make your life more inconvenient and harassing you and doing all this, like, little weird shit, right? Why the fuck? That's not okay, obviously.
Reject solidarity with. And that line is Steve.
And totally not a hit piece. This is totally a hit piece, okay? I don't know. Has Dead Domain denied that? Pretty sure there's a hit piece.
Narcissistic weirdo who will always try and make a bigger issue about himself. Most recently, at time of writing, that took the form of him trying to do the whole Charlie Kirk debate me thing. Why? For what? For why? Probably the same reason he immediately went on TV as a talking head and started saying the dumbest shit imaginable as right-wingers were looking for anything they could to justify cracking down on the free speech of the left in the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing.
In response to Alina Hadder's tweet ordering people to fly their flags a half-mast in memory of Charlie, you posted on X buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect. And you then posted yesterday ending every conservative debate call out I do in 2026 with don't dodge bro. That's not what Charlie would have wanted. Do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate?
Yes. I think that the only way this country moves forward into a better world is when conservatives can finally realize that they need to turn the temperature down on their side.
You have a huge audience of young men who listen to everything you have to say. So it doesn't matter. You have a huge audience. And because of that, you have a huge audience.
Or also probably why, in the middle of a public lawsuit, he is openly harassing people involved in the lawsuit, recording it and laughing.
And while I was out with my good Nazi friend, I'll say LS for an abbreviation to keep it anonymous.
Do you have anything you would like to say to the audience?
Yeah, you're a freak. You're fucking weird.
Okay, cool.
That's why I need to be host.
Yeah. Really? Are we recording each other now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you around. Why'd you get back?
Why are you following me?
Because I'm bored. I gang stalk in real life.
You're a fucking freak. You're a pedophile.
Yeah.
Sad.
Since you deposed or subpoenaed her, you must have known that she lives in Texas.
I don't think she ever got
Subpoenaed in Texas? I'm pretty sure she got subpoenaed in Florida.
You're a freak. You're a pedophile.
Yeah.
Sad. You're sad.
Yeah. True.
We're going to see that clip a few more times. All of this is because he wants attention, and he doesn't care who his grandstanding and short-sightedness affects as long as he gets that. The thing about being an internet streamer for so long is that there's a lot of time for you to talk about your own past, something that has led Steven into hot water several times, which is to say that most of what we know about his past is from Steven himself. He is his own favorite subject. He was raised conservative Catholic. In 2010, he dropped out of school and was later fired from a job, citing, quote, an inability to understand others' emotional experiences, which would lead to him starting to stream full-time on Twitch, focusing primarily on StarCraft 2. From the aforementioned Wired article, quote, forced to choose between a paycheck or an education, he dropped out of school in 2010. Within a year, he was fired from his job. Bonnell attributes this to his own failure to navigate workplace politics. Quote, empathy isn't something that comes naturally to me. It's very hard for me to understand other people's emotional experiences. End quote. This knowledge of empathy, or lack of it by Stephen, is a key part of who he is. And I don't want to speculate on whether he's neurodivergent or on the spectrum or how much that plays into his behavior, but at a certain point, neurodivergent or not, if you're aware of how much of a dick you're being in your behavior and you do nothing to curb that behavior, you are simply willfully choosing to be a dick, which will go on to be the defining aspect of his personality once he gets a platform, a dickish, holier-than-thou superiority that I suspect is also part of why his audience is drawn to him. And I want to return to that Wired article one last time for a particularly telling paragraph that is, in hindsight, so much more revealing than I think anyone knew it
Are
would
we
become.
actually going to like get to the core of the matter, like like receipts and like examples, or is it just like hours of well poisoning? Like, ugh, I fucking hate these hit pieces, dude.
Quote, eventually he quit his job and made streaming a full-time gig, earning more than $100,000 his first year. But even as his financial prospects improved, Benel was painfully withdrawing from a relationship with the mother of his son. The two are now on friendly terms, and Benel sees his son often. He describes his political identity at the time as anti-SJW, against social justice warriors. These were days when words like cunt and retard would reflexively exit Benel's mouth, along with what has become a debased salutation on the internet, kill yourself. The comic value of the gag is measured in its repugnance. Benel once quarreled on Twitter with a woman who claimed she'd been sexually assaulted. At the end of their exchange, she told him to go fuck himself. Quote, I hope you get raped with a fucking shovel, he replied. End quote. Now, it's very odd to preface that tweet by essentially calling it a gag. We will talk more about that incident and many more having to do with Stephen's opinions and lack of care or empathy to victims of sexual assault. But to me, this paragraph was fascinating.
Don't make me do this. I feel like I'm such a hardcore feminist, but please don't make me do this. Please. I'm begging you. We don't have to do this. You don't have to force me to say the thing, okay? Say the truth. All right, just don't make me do this, please. I'm begging you.
When I came across it for two reasons. One, we now know that Destiny has been a primarily absent father.
Which is probably at least partially why his son has now descended into white supremacist circles.
So like,
Other people's, you realize that even if you're a fully participating parent, that your children can still go down extremist pipelines all the time, right? There's been so many instances. There are some things that are just simply out of a parent's control, okay? And in turn, the more you try to suppress your kids' access, the more you tend to lead them down bad paths. But I'm just going to say, like, has parental control ever worked? Has helicopter parenting ever worked? To try to convince their kids to get out of some extremist pipeline by saying, no, it's bad, and here are the facts to disprove you, or whatever, right? Do you think it's that simple? Where you should give your kid room to grow, learn, and make mistakes on their own. If you want your kids to eventually grow out of something, you need to be able to help them achieve the autonomy, which is very funny that Nathan has this as his online tag. It's important for you to achieve the autonomy to do so. The people who are most sheltered are the kinds of people who develop these skills later or just straight up don't develop them at all, okay? You don't know how parenting works. Parenting is complicated, and you know, there's a lot of nuances like that go into it, and it's very stressful. I don't want to hear this from anybody who's not a parent.
A lot of more like, you'd imagine you'd have a lot more like liberal ideologies being raised by somebody like Destiny. So like, what point was it where you kind of like came into your own and formed like your own separate belief system?
DJ Neil?
It was kind of around a few months ago. I started talking to a lot more creators.
Thoughts on Hitler? Don't get me banned, bro.
Ooh, a great guy. Great guy.
This, despite the fact that Destiny has said many times throughout the years how active he was in his kid's life.
Correct? Yeah.
Just so you guys know, my parents were super strict with me, okay? And yet at the same time, I still was addicted to Tumblr and Discord as a 17-year-old, okay? Like, not like older than Nathan, as a 17-year-old. How could they control that outside of implementing some parental control mechanism to prevent that? What if I got into the wrong crowd at that time? How will parents be able to control you when you're at public school? Do you just support homeschooling and just keep an eye on your child at all times? Then how will they know how to handle malicious strangers if they never get the experience of handling bad actors? How will they know anything? Again, like there's just so many questions. With every single piece of control that you force upon your kids at a certain age, the less they will be able to develop their independence later. Should you be able to protect your kids? Yes. Should you care about your kids? Yes, right? But there are ways of doing things and there are ways of not doing things that only parents will understand through trial and error, okay?
Yeah, I lived there until he was around 9. Then I moved to California, then Florida, and then anytime I travel, I try to visit him afterwards. So
Gotcha.
I get to Nebraska tomorrow to hang out with him.
You said he's 9?
Yeah. No, until he was 9. He's 12 now.
Okay, gotcha.
Before we move on from this topic, I want to draw a parallel here between some of the things that Nathan, Destiny's son, says about his personal struggles.
Yeah, I like being mean to people online. It's fun. I like getting responses out of people. I like the attention.
Yeah, do you think I was like this when I was 17. The only reason why, Nathan and Destiny are receiving so much scrutiny is because their lives are very public. That's why. So that opens it up and greatly amplifies any kind of pain or pleasure that is received, okay? Or validation. And it's especially hard. I can't imagine having my high school life broadcasted onto the internet, nor would I understand the consequences of being a public figure back then. I wouldn't. There would be no way. I haven't grown by then. I haven't learned to be better by then, right? How could you possibly do this? It's just so stupid.
Proud of your social media stuff? Like, would you say that your dad is proud of you right now and everything that you're doing?
No.
Is it
no?
Okay? Dude,
No.
Is Nathan okay? Hello? Dude, Jesus, why is he shaking like that? Bro. Okay, I'm kind of worried. Just by seeing this. I don't know why he's shaking like that. I think it's ADHD. It has to be like ADHD shaking or something. Because ADHD, like not ADHD shaking, fuck. I mean like some kind of anxiety, maybe ADHD, it doesn't matter, whatever. It's just something going on there.
Why not?
I'm kind of self-destructing. I'm destroying my life basically, but it's and I don't do anything to stop it, and I know that I am.
And some of the ways that Destiny has spoken about his own struggles in the past and how they manifested.
Well, I was left pretty much to my own devices growing up. My parents didn't come to my concerts or, come to school plays or whatever. It was pretty much just me on my own.
Okay, very
And
nice.
that combined with the
Armchair
fact that-
psychology. Very nice. You're like, okay, well, because Destiny was like this, this is why Destiny parents this way. Like, how could you make that like assumption?
Most of my heroes were very edgy, shonen-esque figures, or people like Solid Snake or whatever in JRPGs and
Macabeth,
shit.
did you hear
Led to
that?
me growing up
Stop being a fan of MGS.
to be a pretty individual person. This has its ups, it has its downs. For me personally, in this business, it's been
METD, you have
a
to keep in mind that I'm playing this on 1.5 speed, okay?
major benefit to me, like an insurmountable benefit.
And I want to draw these two parallels because this is just one of many examples we will see of Stephen not really understanding how his actions affect others. So, for example, how his son is seemingly dealing with many of the same things that he dealt with because of his absence and short-sightedness. The other thing I find interesting is the way this profile of Destiny, written in 2020, goes out of its way to give him credit for personal growth while calling out the horrible things he said in the past. But the way the profile is written gives the impression that while he came up in transgressive and awful internet circles, it was around 2012 that he reflected and began to grow as a person, moving into liberal politics and away from reactionary edginess. The problem with that narrative established is that the tweet mentioned in the context of Destiny starting streaming in 2011 is actually from an incident in 2015. This might seem like a minor nitpick, but it cuts at an undercurrent of much of Destiny's coverage in the mainstream, and that is giving him way too much credit and goodwill. Because this trend of Destiny getting goodwill that erases the things he's done is important because he just continues to do them. He continues to say shit like this to this day. For example, this article also mentions that he was inspired to start reflecting on his politics when he saw a friend call a gay person a slur, but the article fails to mention that in 2018, he was suspended on Twitch for spouting that same word. These outbursts, by the way, he doesn't really ever take any kind of responsibility for. And
yeah, okay, but what is exactly... What exactly is the context, right? Like, if you are trying to say that to a gay person to demean them, right? Like, that's what it sounds like that context was in Steven's story, right? However, what if he's just calling a fucking regular person that, like, that doesn't feel targeted anymore, right? Not only does that not feel targeted, I mean, what context is that? Or is it just, like, any context? Or what?
Chalk up his Twitch bans to being targeted by crazy radical leftists or whatever. While he's tried to reshape his image over the years and even claims to have phased words out of his vocabulary, at his heart, he is still the same person who said these things. He never really lost his edgelord side, he just found a way to monetize it and get attention from it, which is what I aim to illustrate by laying out a timeline like this. So let's go back to the beginning of Steven's streaming career. It was 2011, so being an abrasive, dickish tryhard was in vogue, and Destiny got plenty of notoriety for his place in the trend. And it's in this origin story that we see the saplings that will become the shrubly man that Destiny is now. Much like Matt Walsh got his start as a sadistic shock jock, which was an early insight into his personal cruelty to others, Destiny's start as a transgressive, immature, rage-fueled gamer feels like a guide to everything he did next. Over the years, it's become clear, for example, that Destiny still loves some offensive humor, and by offensive humor, I mean he almost certainly just says racial slurs in private to his friends. I'm not aghast by this behavior, by the way. Don't mistake me clutching my progressive identity politics pearls. I just think it's cringe to have the same go-to playground insults as a
literally
middle schooler.
who
He still
cares?
calls
Like, what you guys do is cringe middle school bullying behavior anyway. like armchair psychologying an adult as adults, yeah, that's pretty much on the same ground. You guys are all fighting in the playground. You're not exempt from this practice, right? By calling out this behavior. You know, as kids, we used to also do that. We also used to say, well, it's because your father beat you every day. That's why you always act out like this, right? We would also like do armchair psychology shit like that, right? What is what you're doing any different?
People the arse slur like he's playing Xbox Live in a 2009 Modern Warfare 2 lobby. In leaked messages from his own server, for example, as recent as the last few months, he still says shit like this. And I'm sure if there are any
literally,
loyal
who
members
gives a fuck?
Of his audience left after his various controversies, they're typing angry messages in my comments, already calling me maybe some of these words, or trying to debate me, bro, laying out some long-winded diatribe about how using slurs is actually totally okay, and you should focus on his actual arguments.
You realize one of the first debates I ever had on stream was about the N-word, right? And I burned a bridge with my IRL friend over me saying it should be okay to be said. That was literally my one of the first debates I ever had on stream ever, more than 3 years ago.
Instead of how he delivers them, but I'm not interested in that criticism because, like so much Destiny does, it's just a smokescreen to distract from the glaring issue that Steven is just a incredibly immature person who's never attempted to grow up or take responsibility for what he does. And because of his massive platform, amount of connections, and sphere of influence, that consistent recklessness and unaccountability has tangibly hurt people and continues to. And oh boy, will we talk about the things he thinks are okay, as long as you do them in private, like how early in his career he was bragging to friends about getting bikini pictures from 15-year-olds, noting how tempted he was.
I remember going over this. This isn't bragging about it. It was a recounting of how insane it was. That's why he was talking about it in that way. He talked about it in that way because of how insane it was. Not as a way to brag about it, but as a way to say, I can't believe this has happened to me. It's so creepy. Okay? This is so, yeah, it's as stupid as I thought it was, but okay.
You want to see the sickest shit in the world? So many fangirls. I had one that was 15. She wanted to meet and hook up. Dude, she's 15. What the fuck? But she sent me pictures that made it so
also,
hard
it's
to say
nice
no.
That, you know, the fucking Ethan Klein shit is being brought up because guess what? Ethan Klein got blown the fuck out in this drama, all right? With Pedal Troll. Like, he's just like so stupid. Like, what is the end result of this drama? Somebody who is a high school bully getting their same medicine, getting the taste of their own medicine. Yeah, that's what happened, right?
In these logs, when Destiny was 23, he said that it was really hard to turn down hooking up with this 15-year-old because she looked so good in this picture of her in a bikini. He then shared this lewd image of a child with his friends and said that he's gonna get arrested someday.
Imagine receiving a...
back in the day, for anybody that was alive or back there, in the crazy gaming times, MLG events were literally fucking cesspools of crazy shit. Yeah, I messaged my little team or whatever. Obviously, those DMs were pretty crass. But I mean, the whole point is like, hey, like, there are gonna be people that DM you, they'll send you pictures, they look older than they actually are, don't fuck a minor, your life is gonna be over, don't do it. If you want to like sit here and virtue signal about how, oh no, like every single person above or below this age, like the second they turn 18 or 22, they instantly look attractive or like this, I'm not here for that. If that's what you want to do, then go for it.
So to be clear,
so
his
not only
argument
that, like if you're going to point towards some long ago behavior, right? If you're going to point towards some long ago behavior, why not point to something more recent? Surely something that happened in the past is an indicator for something that happened recently, right? Even the pxie stuff happened years ago, okay? The pxie stuff that everyone is talking about now, right? The lawsuit that's happening. Has anything happened in the last 2 years that in which the drama event itself happened within the last 2 years that like hold up to that? I thought like we were supposed to be, again, this is like the only thing that that people only specifically hold Destiny accountable for is like this expectation to be perfect throughout your entire life. But meanwhile, when it comes to any other sexual allegation, it's all about, oh, well, this thing happened 5 years ago. This thing happened 4 years ago. Oh, we don't care about that because it happened so long ago. But apparently for Destiny, it matters like what he has said like 11 years ago. Yeah, that was like 11 years ago. 11, like more than 10 years ago, probably, right? Or 8 years ago, at least. Like we're not even talking about within 5 years ago. We're talking about like more than 8 years ago, at least. How is that fair? How is any of that fair?
Is that not only was this behavior something totally normal, and he just says that passively as if it's not going to get any pushback, but additionally that somebody being concerned about somebody in their 20s sharing and finding a 15-year-old attractive is somehow virtue signaling. This is not how it works, Steven. He was absolutely well into adulthood by this time. These are things to keep in mind, and I will dive into them more fully when the time comes. But for now, just ponder how this start as a elite gamer played into the various controversies he continues to face, and more importantly, how he vitriolically and venomously reacts to anyone who doesn't fall in line with his framing of an issue. One constant since his era of calling himself an anti-SJW libertarian is Stephen's emphasis on basing his views on empirical data rather than emotional or opinion-based arguments. It's notable how that lofty standard can fly out the window when it's convenient for him, though, which, again, we will see plenty of. This empirical data talking point is just that. It's a talking point. It's marketing for his followers to buy into and something he can say on public debate stages in the hopes of pulling susceptible people to his side of the argument. This is how a lot of debates go. From the video Turkey Tom did on him, where he followed Destiny around, he definitely uses this not like other girls style of argumentation to distinguish himself, though in practice it is.
Why are all the examples you're coming up with like some of the most like ironic? So you displayed, like, who did you display on streams on this video so far, right? You displayed Ethan Klein, Pedal Troll is his history, and then you mentioned Turkey Tom, who is undergoing his own cancellation right now for like the same things and worse. What are you doing?
So much that he's the lone true centrist, and more that he's a progressive until somebody on the progressive side criticizes him. You'll see what I mean.
One of the things that I like, and one of my strengths, one of the reasons I like watching my content is because I don't have a particular political slant. Like, I am essentially like a progressive liberal or whatever, but I don't have like any allegiance to the label, which I think is actually really important. Not just because I can say like, oh, I'm not partisan or whatever, but because anytime an issue comes up, like, I can truly give my opinion on an issue. So when people watch my stream, it's like, oh, what is like Destiny's thought on a thing? It's not what's the left. Yeah, exactly.
And I know I am teasing
It'd be
a
nice
lot
for a
of
3-hour hit piece to have new criticisms and drama. Yeah, I know, right? But also this also kind of happens with me, where it's like, it's the same fucking shit. It's the same fucking shit every single time. Every single time is the same fucking shit. Like, it's unsustainable. Like, it's just, you have to put up with this shit for the rest of your life, essentially. It's so cringe.
Here, but try and trust the process. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm trying to establish a through line here so that by the time we get to his most recent controversies, you, as a viewer, will be able to recognize the patterns of his behavior and the effects they have had. This is going to be a long video by necessity because of this. It's also partially because, having seen him react to my deep dive on Brianna Wu, among plenty of other videos, I know that he very likely won't actually get even this far.
Was this video just made us revenge of that? Was this video just made us revenge? It's okay, you can admit it, okay? Like, you don't have to hide it, all right? We understand, all right? The lefties are always very vindictive and spite-driven.
Some kind of outburst telling me to get to the point, or making some other bizarre comment about...
And now this is why you made this video. You made this video because you felt bad that he didn't like your video on Brianna Wu. For the record, okay, I think that Dead Domain's video on Brianna Wu is pretty damn good, okay? I think that Brianna Wu is somebody who is completely principleless and spineless, okay? I thought it was fine. That's where I disagree with Destiny, okay? He didn't like the Brianna Wu hit piece. I liked it, okay? But don't you seem a little bit spite-driven here? Just a little bit, maybe?
One of the figures behind me.
I don't know why, but I just know that anything involving anything having to do with Sonic is always a massive red flag. Also, this thing, I feel like I've seen so many videos or random 4chan thing, or maybe it's similar time, of this figurine getting cummed on. So we got big red flags. Okay.
This video clip, by the way.
It's snarky humor, okay? That's what it is.
Was my only real interaction with Stephen before I made this piece. I don't know what else to call that but sexual harassment. I honestly don't.
Calling somebody a gooner is sexual harassment.
Now, when I decided to make this piece, as I do with plenty of my subjects, I attempted to reach out several times. I made no effort to hide my intent or my personal distaste for Destiny, so I couldn't be construed or reframed as an effort to trick him or do some kind of dishonest gotcha. As I've said and proven in pieces where I've interviewed people who would call themselves TERFs or Nazis, I don't have to like somebody to still want to do my full due diligence and get their statement, allowing them to answer for themselves in their own words. Now, being in the middle of a lawsuit, I do understand why somebody wouldn't want to sign up for an interview for a video that is very likely not going to give them a positive outlook. I'm not too bothered about that. Yet, Stephen went above and beyond. His response as an almost 40-year-old man was to make a joke about fucking my mother. And when I simply said,
this is not a real video. It's not a real video. It's just not a real video. I refuse to believe this is a real... It's not a real video. It's not a real video. It's okay. We all live in a dream.
Yeah, dude, sure, you can talk about fucking my mom in an interview because I'm an adult. He walked it back. He said, actually, no, I won't actually do this thing. So I guess you can't say I didn't try. Well, if he is still watching, hi, Stephen. Maybe this will get you to actually watch and pay attention to this video all the way through, since it's about your favorite subject.
It halfway through.
And not taking responsibility, but those might as well be one and the same at this point. Anyway, back to where his story starts picking up, and more people will be familiar with everything from here on out. Now, as he moved into this debate space, his first big debate was with Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad, an embarrassing stain on Britain that just blends in with all the rest, so I'm not surprised if anyone doesn't recognize him.
Well, I've tweeted it out, but yeah, I will be empty.
Stephen Bonnell, like, I don't know, whatever you know me as. I'm known in gaming communities as Destiny. I started in StarCraft and then League, and I kind of do variety gaming. I'm on Twitch. I don't consider myself an SJW, but compared to the gaming community, I guess I'm pretty left-leaning.
You're obviously not an SJW. The fact that you're willing to come and talk and you haven't just called me a racist for disagreeing with you means that you're not an SJW.
Well, I mean, you haven't started talking yet. You might be a racist. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
I think it's here that Steven started realizing he had stumbled upon a niche nobody else had really capitalized on, debating far-right kooks in exchange for attention. And you can't deny the results. Here's a video of him talking with Nosbol Eric Stryker, and it's currently sitting at 1.5 million views.
So this is a total. This is a loser.
That is not high culture.
You have to go to another subject besides music because it's the worst example you could have picked. Like jazz is one of the most important contributions that America's made on the world stage.
Jazz is a bastardization of the waltz. That's what jazz music.
Wait, would you say that every single form of art is a bastardization of the art that is derived from? You realize that every single.
Like this is the one subject Steven knows a little bit about. So it's like, yeah, okay.
Like, would you say that Romanticism was a bastardization of classical music, or that classicalism was a bastardization of Baroque music, or that Baroque was a bastardization of the?
So you're saying
this is ridiculous.
So you're saying rap music is
as of March 2017, his debate with JonTron was one of the first big incidents in his road to relevance, where he showed JonTron to be a racist asshole, and in the process, Destiny got a shit ton of goodwill.
You can't make the argument that whites should be okay with them being a minority, becoming a
through this one.
Minority in the countries that their ancestors built, if it doesn't apply to other countries.
Wait, we're gonna way different. Hold on. White minority versus other countries. Okay, here, I'll write this down. We're not quite on that topic yet. I'm just saying that if you're not acknowledging that there are problems that exist in these communities, you'll never be able to fix it, right? And one of the big problems I had when I talked with Sargon was this idea that like black people just need to fix themselves. Like, I mean, sure, you can say that, but this is going to take a lot longer to get these communities on board when they were aggravated by white communities for so long. You can't just tell a group of people that have been oppressed historically in the United States for hundreds of years, over the course of a generation to just fix their shit.
Now, these debates would get Destiny an instant reputation as a left-leaning debater, yet even that position Destiny himself attempted to distance from. He would rather assign himself the label of a rational liberal, someone who purports to be above the left-right paradigm so he can distance himself from the radical left, which he definitely has opinions on. We'll get to those too.
I've always had kind of like a center-left political position, which like 5 years ago in the gaming space was pretty far left.
Yeah.
But the scene has changed a lot over time.
Yes, it has.
And stuff has gotten way, way, way farther left. So I think the ban was because I had a position that I didn't believe that trans women should be competing in the same leagues as cisgender women.
Real women. How dare you? Are you bigot?
Yeah, basically. And I think I got banned for that. Maybe, but all they do is they tell you that they ban you for hate speech and they don't actually tell you what it was for. But I don't say like any hateful slurs or anything on my stream, so that's my guess. But
this framing of himself as the reasonable center-left liberal allows him to critique what he calls progressives or crazy campus left.
So what's the issue?
But rarely does he actually give reasons why he sees them as crazy or unable to be reasoned with, aside from what usually come back to basic conservative talking points of them being crazy campus commies and champagne socialists with no real experience or cogent beliefs. He essentially says this stuff so that he doesn't have to deal with debates.
Do you think protests would be best if they were organized by the DNC with no speakers or more of a grassroots?
It's because these guys are literally a stain on existence, IRL. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell you, dude. Like, these lefties, it's not just about Steven and like him shitting on them or whatever the fuck. It's because when I was canvassing with my own local group, DSA was like some of the most frustrating people apparently to deal with, because all they wanted were these like cringe, like out of nowhere fucking demands that made absolutely no sense and not achievable. All right, this isn't just an issue when it comes to Steven and and his representation of lefties.
Vibe. I mean, grassroots is the best, but the problem is there are no grassroots Democratic people now. It's all leftists and conservatives. All the grassroots people on the conservative side are trying to cash out into some kind of Trump support, and the grassroots people on the left are all fucking commies and losers. Also, remember, when you read messages like this, Destiny's for the status quo. He's a poor boy at heart who's benefiting from the system now, so of course he wants to support it. This is exclusively said by white people who grew up rich in this country and are just repeating shit that they heard from other radicalized classmates at whatever private university that their parents are paying for. Every single time, it is always these people. It is never anybody with an ounce of actual political experience anywhere, ever. It's always people who have zero political goals in mind, and they just want to make as much noise as possible because they farm epic likes on their Instagram feeds and everything.
It's also probably because his emphasis on empirical data isn't useful to argue as much against leftists as it is against fact-averse MAGA and red pill dude bros. When he does debate people on the left, it comes across more like a child trying to act tough at a table full of adults. But even for people paying attention, it became apparent he wasn't some kind of progressive stalwart. Like in 2018, where, like I mentioned, he was suspended for 30 days on Twitch for saying the F-slur. This was one of many times he would be suspended, leading to his indefinite banning from Twitch in 2022. Quote, Benel was indefinitely banned from Twitch due to hateful conduct in March 2022.
What's the issue?
Esports speculates this may have been due to Benel streaming with white nationalist Nick Fuentes, who had previously been banned on the platform, while Benel speculated it was due to
have standards. They don't have standards. Okay? They don't have standards. For all this shit that Hassan and Asmongold spew out on the platform daily, they don't get any kind of punishment. They're incentivized to spew vile hatred every single fucking day, mate. All right? Meanwhile, and as much as I hate Tectone, all right, I will admit Tectone getting a 2-week ban for calling Frogan fat was absurd. How could you possibly ever use Twitch standards as an actual talking point. It makes absolutely zero sense.
Him expressing the view that trans women shouldn't compete with cis women in women's athletics. Oh, I jumped the gun on that reveal, didn't I? Yeah, if you need another hint that he's not exactly the most progressive person, or at the very least doesn't have any genuine convictions about what he believes, he has palled around a lot with people like Nick Fuentes. This despite, in debates, calling him a Nazi.
For how you can start watching a Joe Rogan video and then go to Jordan Peterson and then wind up with more extremist figures like Nick Fuentes or maybe Lauren Southern or something like that, and then eventually go down that extremist road. But establishing that chain is a very complicated, very difficult thing to do.
But
I
you do think it's possible, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course.
And also, I think at the beginning of your statement, you did kind of give a little bit of credence to Nick and also Sargon's point that maybe he acted out in this way because he didn't feel like he was able to discuss these issues without being, isolated or hated for it.
Oh yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean that I think that those views are legitimate or need to be platformed. I think that's a bad dichotomy, right? If somebody says like I want to kill all black people, like, well, I'm going to fire you if you say that on Twitter, and then they go out and actually kill black people because they got banned from Twitter, you wouldn't say, well, hold on, like, should we be suppressing this man's views? He felt like he had no way to express them, and now he actually went, well, no. I mean, the idea is we need to not have people have these horrendously anti-immigrant views in society.
I do feel like it's kind of like a false assumption to assume that whenever people tell you to stop talking about something or they stop you from talking about something, you automatically assume that that's because what you're actually saying is.
I can't imagine watching all these like debate clips and still thinking that Destiny is bad, like for politics overall or something. Maybe it isn't about politics. Maybe it's just like something else. But it just makes no sense. I don't know. It just makes no sense. Like, none of this makes any sense. You watch so many Destiny debates, it seems. Or maybe it was just clips. I don't know if it was just clips. But if you did watch all of these in its entirety, you have to be one really bad faith motherfucker. That's all I have to say, okay?
True. I don't know if that's always accurate, but basically what Nick and Sargon are saying is that these extremist opinions are bred in isolation. So Destiny and Hassan, the question I have for you guys is, do you feel like it would be helpful to the society to bring these extreme opinions of the right into the fold and actually have conversations about them rather than ostracizing these people from the community entirely?
In a very careful manner where you can catch
clips, right? Yeah, it has to be from Kiwi Farms.
Bad faith actors, so like Fuentes is somebody that I would consider a bad faith actor. If you have very careful areas where you can catch people out on them lying, yeah, I would say that there's value in it. This was a horribly irresponsible statement. It empowers the fuck out of Nazi scum like fucking Nick. It is not his area of expertise. It is not something he's able to substantiate in any ways.
The dead domain is so retarded because they are watching. Also, I just want to say, as a trans person, I disavow dead domain. Okay, I don't want dead domain to be like.
Truly, this is the dankest dungeon.
Anonymous. I'm just gonna assume that's Destiny, okay? Destiny, thank you so much for the one gifted sub on Kick. I just want to say, like, dude, every single day I have to process some unhinged trans person on the internet, like dead domain, and they sting my people. They sting my people. My proud species, my mofos. How could you? How could you do this to us? I thought you were an honest. You just make us look bad.
And the fact that you continue to appeal to, well, he was really important, only supports my argument.
I suppose liberal is a pretty fitting label then, because it seems he'd rather literally ally with open Nazis by his own definitions than ever engage with actual progressive leftists. He would rather constantly chat and collaborate and chill with people who advocate violence and bigotry and racism than people who technically agree with far more of his positions and the platform that Steven says he identifies with.
Something unique that I provide that I think is really important to some of these alternative communities is I'm like the only person that is progressive that like isn't fucking unhinged. And I think it's really good sometimes to show people like, hey, you can be pro-LGBT, you can have like blue hair, be in like weird relationships, whatever, but I can be like a funny, cool, charismatic, like we can have fun and chill, and I can be like understanding of you and not be like super judgmental, which I can't say be horrible.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
This video is reminding me how long I've been on the internet. Who do I sue for this?
Thank you for the $5. I think you would have to sue Ada Lovelace, okay?
I'll give him credit where it is due. As I've watched plenty of his debate streams and interviews for research, Steven is a gifted debater, due in no small part to his abrasiveness, his willingness to trample over others' thoughts and emotions to get to a point.
Okay, very
it makes him very engaging.
Compliment. Trample over other people's. You mean just stating facts that hurt other people's feelings? When has I feel like Destiny never ever ad homs until the other person is ad homing back, right? Like he'll go through so much personal attacks from the other person before he actually ad homs back, or maybe he has a history of somebody and then he ad homs back. But I never ever see this version that this person is talking about. It's just so cringe.
And if you agree with him, it gives a rousing sense of victory, watching him make conservatives scamper back from one point to another when provided with facts and figures that disprove their assertions in front of a discerning audience. As I watched countless hours of his debates, I found myself wondering if someone could even get to his level of popularity in the debate space without being so roughshod. If he let his opponents simply uncritically state their opinions each time instead of trampling over them for viewers' vicarious pleasure like a...
You mean like railroading? I'm pretty sure people constantly do debate analysis of Stephen's debates, and they always see that his speaking time is always less than his opponents by far. It's not even close. Every single time he has some big debate, somebody does debate analysis, and he always has less words said and less time said them, because he's not a yapper. He just gets to the point.
Conversational gladiator, how interesting would this be to watch? If there's one thing he does understand about the debate space, it's the spectacle. He understands how to draw blood from his subjects and how to get the audience to cheer in response.
Vampires are cool, okay? I just want to say that. Vampires are cool, okay?
You can even see this in how he advertises his debates, sharing them via social media like intellectual boxing matches where he will square off against any opponent, like if Ryu wandered the world looking for the best high school debate coach to test his skill against. And when you watch him during these debates, you can see him flip a switch for debating versus when he's...
How else would anybody advertise? Oh my god, I guess, oh, it's such a sin to advertise debates. Advertise live events where people show up in person and are paid to go. Oh, woe be me. I guess it must be such a sin to advertise boxing matches. I guess the skill of the boxer does not matter just simply because it's advertised, right?
Just in a conversation. He would go onto misogynistic podcasts and politely chat it up with right-wing assholes and even laugh along as they prostrate an OnlyFans girl or a feminist.
Before we do, no, hold on, you can, hold on. What was your intention in coming on tonight?
Being self-conscious. I've had a lovely discussion with you fine people about dating talks.
So clearly
that awkward. Sorry, I have to do a little snarking, okay?
Hold on. What was your intention in coming on tonight?
Being self-conscious. I've had a lovely discussion with you fine people about dating.
Oh god, this was not the look.
So clearly that's a lie. Are you going to continue in bad faith?
I don't know, am I? Dude,
oh
my god. At this point,
I just get off because honestly, like, you just keep getting lost in these loops. She doesn't like you or your show. She came on the show to obstruct constructive conversation.
No, you don't. I'm having a good time.
No, if you like the show, you would actually be good faith.
Just play the sound effect. There's no
Aaron, you should go. Aaron, you should go. Yeah, you should just leave. Please leave.
Can you leave? I don't know if your friend wants to come with you.
I will leave you guys to ask the very important questions about Stephen and Melina's relationship and diving more into that.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye-bye. We love you.
Peace out. Quickly. You too. Quickly.
Hello.
So,
they're friends with you.
No, we are all friends. We all drove here together. But to be clear, just because I want to be clear, I would never make plans like fuck with the show because it hurts my reputation. I would never do.
But then when the debate cameras are rolling...
Wait, what was the issue there? I'm so confused.
And he's an absolute bloodhound. One tactic that makes him look so good is how he has all but memorized certain definitions to argue, likely studying up on them and other factoids before the debate, but then during the debate he can ask a simple question like, what is democracy? Usually as a pressure point when his opponent is faltering. And Stephen will whip out Merriam-Webster-ass definitions that utterly bamboozle his unprepared opponent.
But he doesn't. But he doesn't. He's like the opposite of that. What are you talking about? He's like you're talking about pedanticness. You're trying to criticize his pedanticness. You're trying to say, well, he's so pedantic. And he busts out some Merriam-Webster definition in order to talk about some stuff. That's not true. Because definitions are so much more than just its dictionary definition. Because, yeah, just wait. Okay.
Incredibly effective. It's like watching Jordan in his prime dunk on a toddler.
A democracy is where a bunch of lunatics like you can vote away my rights. A democracy is where 3 wolves and a sheep vote what's for dinner.
Is that Article 5 or Article 6? I don't know what part of the
Constitution.
So a democracy is when multiple people vote. A republic is when you have representatives that do things for you. We are a representative democracy. That's why we're a constitutional republic. We are both a republic, which just means you're not a monarchy and a democracy. This idea that we must be a republic because I'm a Republican and we're not a democracy because you're a Democrat is fucking retarded. Come on.
Additionally, when he's in his debate mode, he's all but bulletproof to personal attack. Look at this clip, where former InfoWars host Owen Schroyer is floundering in front of a crowd and calls Steven a cuck, referencing a non-controversy involving Steven being polyamorous with his ex-wife. Steven just laughs because he knows Owen is playing into his trap. Destiny thrives best when he can make someone else lose their cool and get desperate. He pokes and prods until they get so spitting angry, they start slinging insults as he smugly stands back, knowing even his smugness will keep making them mad.
You want to know what happens when you speak truth to power?
Being smug when somebody is attacking you personally? Yeah? That's kind of important, actually. If somebody is actually making a personal attack, maybe you're justified in defending yourself or trying to look good. What are you talking about?
Everything this guy just said. I've been censored, I've been in prison, I've been assaulted, I've had my businesses shut down. This guy's dealt with nothing except cucking to his wife's boyfriend.
You realize, like, most people would lose their mind if they ever heard this, right? Don't you think that remaining calm is a good skill? Or remaining calm and smug, I guess, according to this person? Don't you think that's a good skill to have? Like, should he just, like, take it? Should he just, like, not do anything? Should he just, like, not defend himself? Or, like, what the fuck?
I see those 60 days in federal prison weren't kind to you. I'm sorry that you weren't able to do the podcast in prison like you wanted to. I know that's still upsetting you a lot. Only one of us up here has been arrested for trying to be a part of a coup or an insurrection against the United States. Only one of us up here hates this country. And I think it's pretty obvious it's the guy that doesn't even acknowledge the results of the last election. One of the most important foundational pieces of the United States.
So stop stealing them. So stop stealing them.
Which is
so stop
no one is stealing it.
So
no one
stop
is stealing
stealing
it.
He's rage baiting. It's
What?
trolling. That's it.
And his opponent isn't trying to rage bait by calling him a cuck?
His primary debate tactics are no different than internet trolling, in the process exposing how infantile and often ill-informed his opponents are. But by the time the battle reaches this point, they've already lost, and every bit of momentum they throw at him, he can just turn back on them like a fucking Aikido master. I want to give him the flowers he's due. This shit is what he's good at.
Yeah,
It's
but
kind
all
of
of this is like
of what
backhanded. These are not genuine compliments. You're just doing really backhanded like compliments. You're like saying, "Oh, he's great at debate," but also he's smug. What does smug mean? Doesn't smug have a negative connotation to it? Like, isn't it usually not a good word to describe someone?
But Steven Crowder and Charlie
Okay.
Kirk do.
That's fine.
It did. My issues with Steven honestly aren't in his debating or rhetorical strategies, and for that reason, I'm not going to be arguing against his ideology or arguments too much, because despite differences, I think they're ultimately small
Because you're a
potatoes
coward.
compared to
We
the
all know that you have different opinions than him, politically speaking. You just don't think they can hold water when you're actually testing them. Let's not pretend this is not the case, okay? You are probably a lefty who hates his position on Israel and Palestine. You're probably a Hassan fan, all right, if I were to guess, and forgive me for doing some armchair psychology, but considering how you did it back, I think it's only fair that I do it to you, all right? I think that you are using all of these things as a vehicle because you're too cowardly to admit that you are a lefty who hates Destiny for lefty reasons. It has nothing to do with his personal life. Otherwise, you would be calling out Hassan, who is sharing random nudes that he's getting with his friends without the woman's consent nor verification of their age. Otherwise, you would have stated as well the pedal troll incident with Ethan Klein. Otherwise, you would have stated so many things. But because you're using these personal attacks as a vehicle, because you're too cowardly to actually get to your actual criticism behind anything, this is what you must resort to. And so therefore, you're pathetic for it.
Real issue. How he's used his platform to hurt people, avoid accountability, and target others for harassment. I mentioned earlier how people will likely already be saying I should address his arguments instead of attacking him. But his arguments aren't the problem. He is. I mean, even the worst things he said and argued, like his infamous support for running over peaceful protesters, or broadly supporting the genocide in Gaza,
Running
aren't
over
based
protesters? You mean like the... You mean mowing down rioters? Mowing down violent rioters? That was the specific thing, my duder. The specific thing was him condemning the people who are opportunists in the BLM riots. But Steven has always maintained that most protesters are peaceful. He's always maintained that. He's always maintained that. He's always said most of these BLM protests are peaceful. But for the rioters, yeah, fuck them. These people destroy entire neighborhoods and communities. Yeah.
Actual political belief. They don't seem to be, but more personal convenience and understanding. And I want to draw this distinction because throughout this video, I'll be talking about the things he does believe, but I don't want this to turn into a debate about why he's wrong, but instead a discussion on why the things he's saying often either make him a hypocrite or serve his ulterior motives, those most often being either business related or hedonism.
If he really cared about business, he wouldn't be playing Arc Raiders every day right now, and he wouldn't have ever did League every day back then with Mr. Mutin, all right? If he actually cared about business, okay, I'm sorry, all right? He isn't exactly... Also, he's lazy and retarded as well, all right? He doesn't go to therapy, okay? He doesn't... He's lazy. He's like, yeah. He does all of his research on stream. Probably listens to the audiobooks too, but...
I don't particularly find debates useful for converting or changing people's minds. I did a whole video on the recent spate of Jubilee controversy, so go watch that video for a more in-depth explanation of my thoughts on the debate space. I'll accept that Destiny's willingness to go toe-to-toe with almost anyone or even fight dirty and rely on insults has probably led a decent amount of people away from alt-right or right-wing leaning online spaces, or at the very least that it's exposed people in those spaces to more progressive issues. I won't, however, accept Steven's framing that he gives for this approach, which is to most often depict himself as the lone warrior of truth, the only truly rational person arguing from the left.
I'm like the
keeps on expressing how he can't be the only one. When after the Charlie... Fuck, how do I know this much lore? I feel like I shouldn't... I feel like a loser knowing this much lore about Steven. Like, just like, oh my god, dude. The reason why... Dude, there's no reason why. I just realized there's no reason why. The reality is that he's frustrated by how little support there is. He's frustrated that nobody else has his back. There is no lone warrior out here, okay?
only person that is progressive that like isn't fucking unhinged.
For someone in these political spaces for so long, he knows this isn't true. He knows that plenty of other people on the left have been controversial. He's fully aware of the dirtbag left contingent, but that's a topic for further into the video.
If you mention Vosh or Hassan, I will murder you. Sorry. That's meant as a joke, okay? To illustrate my frustration. Thank you.
For that, we have some other matters to attend to. The thing that really led me down the rabbit hole to understanding Steven better wasn't his beliefs or his platform, but the way he debates, and more importantly, who he associates with for platforming said content. Because while he and many others in the mainstream media might credit him for being a brave debater treading where others dare not, the truth is, when you look at all the facts and data, he might be a convincing debater, but he has very little real consistency aside from using shock tactics and controversy to raise his profile. And part of that shock value has always been platforming and being platformed by the far right.
I thought we debunked this dude. Oh, it's never over, is it?
Immediately, the term guilt by association pops to mind. And, of course, knowing Destiny and his followers' penchant for pedantry, I'm sure some are already writing pitchforks in the comments to let me know that just because he hangs out with people he disagrees with doesn't make him a bad person. And I'm not saying that. Because the way Destiny associates with
his
people...
own fucking audience wouldn't even let him go on this one, dude. Like, his own audience criticizes him for hanging out with Empath Chen in private. Like, dude, it's just so stupid. This is something that not even DGGers let Destiny run away with. And I think that's such a stupid critique, because they literally are brain dead.
Companies, movements, and groups go so far beyond merely guilt by association because he is genuinely guilty of spreading harmful
nice,
ideas.
Nick Fuentes. Somebody that he actively debates on stream and actively hates. Okay, dude. Cool.
By helping to platform them in exchange for attention. To him, this isn't a matter of beliefs or conviction, it's business and the benefits
business
that come with it.
Of Arc Raiders every day with Mr. Mutin. Yes. Amazing for business. I'm sure he's earning a gigaton amount of money doing that.
That's really the point to underline here. He will do just about anything if it benefits him, even if it is often to the detriment of somebody else.
You're right. Okay, when he plays Arc Raiders, that's a detriment to content. Okay, remember that.
Let's go back through Steven's history. Remember when we talked about his little Sargon of Akkad moment, the JonTron interview that sank JonTron's career? Up until this point, JonTron was a massive YouTube personality and almost overnight lost a seismic amount of goodwill, and it seems that Destiny got all of it, and he spent the ensuing decade plus burning it away little by little. And from here, he very quickly made the rounds through these spaces, getting a bigger profile every time he debated somebody like Lauren Southern.
Do you think that a Palestinian child or the family of a Palestinian child?
Israel care about that.
But dude, the bombs don't make the little shitty fucking RPGs don't even make it over the walls because Israel is one of the most sophisticated anti-missile dome systems in the fucking world. You're really comparing the military power of these two states? Come on, dude.
No. Okay, I'm saying the reason they're not just sitting there bombing hospitals and schools. You can't honestly believe they're just sitting there like, you know what, let's fucking bomb a hospital.
Israel has literally been on record manufacturing reasons in the past to march into the West Bank and fucking exterminate people, dog. What do you mean?
Okay.
But because you've seen a video, every other month or whatever, every few months of people, well, these Islams are committing terrorisms all over the place. They're homogenous people. They all think the same. Like, damn, that's not true. Like, if you go and you talk to people on the ground and you talk to a couple dozen people, you can manufacture any opinion that you want about any person that you want. That's the problem.
Okay, fine. Let's look at the peer-reviewed data on that by Pew Research on Muslims. Do you want to do that since you seem to like that a lot?
Do you have the peer-reviewed data on Christians as well?
Bring that up. I don't know. Do you have support that shows that like 70% of Christians believe that there should be arrest and prosecution for anyone who insults their religion? I'd love to see that because that exists in the UK for Muslims.
Do you understand the problem that you just committed fundamentally? Like that already shows like your own biases, right? You just said that you went to Pew Research to find stats on how Muslims think because you're already convinced that they're bad people and you don't even know the numbers on Christians. You don't even know them.
Able to afford
that not everybody's goal in life is to live on welfare, that people have homes and families and memories from certain... These are... I know
Why
it's
are
really
you showing Steven's W's? I don't understand. I thought this was... Thanks for the advertisement, I guess. So you're telling me, like, this is what you're telling the viewer, okay? You're telling them, well, Steven is shitty personally, but his debate content is banger. Like, you realize that's the message you're like making it come across, right? Like, they don't have to like Steven as a person, but his debates are kind of banger, dude. Right? Like, that's the message that is being like conveyed to me right now. But okay, yeah, keep going.
Hard to believe sometimes. Maybe I don't know what it's like in Canada, but these are actually human beings that have like their own dreams and aspirations and goals, and they have things that they like to do.
100% Dead Domain just went through like a fucking like compilation. Like went through some like stupid like best Destiny moments compilation instead of watching any of the full debates. I feel like it's just
every human being isn't to just move somewhere and live off of welfare, right? You know that, right?
I mean, a lot of them want to live on welfare.
I know these clips are a little long, but as I was researching, I was continually surprised to find how much more empathetic
you mean
Steven
on
was.
Kiwi farms and asking your good lefty friends if they have any Destiny clips. And be on Hassan's server, I bet. As well as other weird shit. Okay. Yeah, okay. Researching.
In his early career. This clip in particular shows off an entirely different side to his opinion on the Israel-Palestine situation. During these debates, he often appealed to his opponent's sense of humanity and reason, and I'm not sure how or why or when that changed, but I suspect it was partially due over time to his obstinacy.
Hassan over no, dude. These lefties are all the same, okay? Like they'll hate Hassan for any arbitrary reason, but then at the same time, they will defend Hassan against people like Destiny, okay? Like a lot of these lefties, like they will 100% like dislike Hassan for some reasons, but then the moment that their entire group gets attacked by somebody like Destiny, oh, then they have to go and defend Hassan. It happens all the time.
And defiance when criticized from the left, but also a growing and friendly proximity to the right, where he was often greeted with open arms.
With progressives cutting out conservatives from every platform they can, is they lose the ability to defend any of their ideas. And then at the end of the day, I think they just end up looking horrible. Like you'll get questions of like, well, what's one barrier? I think you asked, what's one barrier that you have as a woman in society? And it's like, well, I'm handicapped, I don't have any legs. Or it's like, well, I'm black. Or like, okay, well, what about the woman part, right? Nobody can answer that question. So you get a panel full of people that probably all have like feminist scholar bullshit in their Twitter bios. Not a single person can answer that question. So yeah, I don't know, things like that like really bother me when people are supposed to be defending these ideas and they can't because they don't talk to conservatives anymore.
Many of these appearances Steven would engage with on the idea that others in his space, the perceived space, of course, being left-leaning content creators, wouldn't dare go on podcasts like Fresh and Fit or some C-tier internet debate composition because they just can't handle being outside their lefty fun zone. That everyone but Steven is just a vapid idea vampire, and being exposed to the sunlight of reactionary conservatism will do them like Steven Dorff did that one vampire in the first Blade movie. Except that is very blatantly not the case. People who ideologically disagree with these troglodytes don't want to go into these spaces because people like this are bad faith, not looking to earnestly engage in
Then you
neither.
point out how bad faith they are, and you explain why they are being bad faith. Is there no function to that? Yeah, sure, there are some people who are very skilled at being bad faith. I wouldn't trust the average person to handle somebody like Andrew Wilson, okay? You'll probably get crushed. And for good reason, because these people are very skilled at being bad faith. They're very, very skilled at it. All right? But do you just let these people fester? and not do anything about them? Or do you actually want to expose them? You want to expose them, right?
Fan bases.
Like don't
But also because,
don't
like,
use like laziness. Like don't use principles as a shield for your laziness to learn how to debate better. Okay? You sound pathetic.
Podcasts and just content in general, it's a pretty transparent attempt to clout chase. It has very little to do with being ideologically able to defend their viewpoints and more to do with not wanting to ingratiate themselves to the audiences of craven demagogues. And perhaps more embarrassing is when Destiny isn't in his debate me bro mode, he basically blends in completely with the right-wing grifters that he can admit are also taking advantage of their own audience.
All these people have every motivation to expose the other side, but those people are wrong. But you, the guy who's making tens of thousands of dollars selling me a message that the government is corrupt, I'm going to listen to you for government corruption? You who has no oversight? You who has no accountability? You who's not an elected official? You who can print whatever message or line you want?
Verso Ender. I don't have the energy right now to defend a Verso Ender, okay? I can't do it. I can't defend a Verso Ender, okay? I can't do it, all right? I don't have it within me to do it, okay? Please, understand. I can't do it.
Which they have.
And I want to show that he does know the function he's playing in this attention ecosystem. See, on the right kind of takes anyone with a platform. More moderate voices in conservatism will interview incredulously platform an outright anti-Semite Nazi like Nick Fuentes because it's one big propaganda game. And at the end of the day, the only real consistent ideology is growing a platform. It's why there's often no scruples about immediately embracing people who leave the left with very little hesitation or doubt when someone is professed to be a liberal who wants to talk about why they're now conservative or red-pilled or whatever. What good does scrutiny do when being undiscerning gives you so much more attention? Inversely, like I mentioned at the beginning, you can't get progressives or leftists to agree on shit. And that includes purity testing certain people, excluding them based on perceived slights, lack of personal growth, or other arbitrary metrics. When I made a feature-length documentary talking to former white nationalists, people who were in like actual groups like Atomwaffen Division, and I talked about how they wanted to help others leave that kind of hate behind.
I bet this person's Canadian. Dude, it's always the fucking Canadians. I swear to God.
Pushback from some parts of my audience. People accuse me of platforming white nationalists and Nazis even as I spent a movie's runtime shit-talking them. There are issues that require more nuance, and there is a over-eager contingent of people on the left who too often hesitate to engage with that nuance. That much is true, but that's entirely different than what Destiny does. This is all to give an example that beliefs in these online spaces are not so often cut and dry. Most average, everyday people who aren't constantly, terminally politically online are actually probably closer to someone like Destiny, or what Destiny says, in their beliefs. They have some things they think are too far on either party line. They mostly just want to live a plentiful and productive life. Fair dues. One thing Destiny does correctly assess is that a massive emphasis from leftists on identity politics have likely ostracized and even pushed otherwise well-intentioned people further right because of things like that.
That's the way that I see it, is that you've kind of got like this progressive establishment that has basically, through all of these kind of like academic terms, of like
I'm on an Idpol arc, okay? I'm just gonna say this. I'm on an Idpol arc, all right? You know how Idpol is cringe? I've been thinking a little bit, okay? I think Idpol is actually not as cringe as people say it is, all right? Domain's a Canadian? No, I'm joking. As in, like, everybody who seems to be evil just seem to be Canadian. Like it's just something that just simply happens. All right. I'll explain my I'll explain why I think like I'm going through my Idpol arc. Okay, not Idpol arc, but like the Idpol way of thinking. You know.
Up this idea that you can say like men, white people, the Mayo side, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But like every other racial minority is super protected. Can't make fun of black people, can't make fun of Hispanic people, can't, right? And then if you're white, there's like 50 million things you got to worry about. When you have that type of attitude, and then it becomes pervasive on your side, then
I have like 5 dupes of her now.
Invariably, there's going to be other people that will start to speak to the disaffected people.
But then he will make blanket statements about anyone further to the left of himself. In the process, he's often doing it to court favor with whatever dude bro podcast he's filling in on. Because in these moments, he's capitulating to them. He's showing the right-wingers who will take anyone in that he is the reasonable liberal, not the crazy campus lefty. In effect, he's doing the exact same thing that he often accuses the left of doing to conservatives, lumping them all in because one or two people he doesn't like are there. I'm sure many would argue there's a honey-vinegar dynamic that by going into these spaces and presenting reasonable fact-based arguments to counter the narratives being sold to, often young men, is a good goal, which I might agree with if I thought most of the people Destiny engaged with acted in good faith, but they don't. They're merely using Destiny as a tool, in the process normalizing their often incendiary and antisocial beliefs to Destiny's very large and already transgressive audience. And he knows this.
Transgressive is when you take testosterone and HRT.
He knows that these people aren't arguing in good faith and that they're using him for his audience. It's a accepted byproduct of our content ecosystem, an almost unspoken quid pro quo system where, for example, I'll be invited onto a podcast and later on I'll hit up one of the podcast hosts to then go and be on my podcast or join me on a charity stream, each of us being able to expose the other's audience to reach each other in a mutual game of growth and therefore profit. Make no mistake about what's happening here. Every time Destiny has gone on a podcast or debate where someone may have been presenting as hostile to him, it was because of the views he thought that encounter would get him. And when you're a content creator, that is one of the most important things possible. I know this as much as Steven.
What's up, Steven Bennell?
I'm only 20 minutes into this 120-minute video. We got a lot of weird things being said here.
Free content for you, my man.
It is indeed.
This discussion of the numbers or the success of a stream or debate and how big and therefore successful it will be is something that lingers in the shadows of many of his discussions and appearances, but it's there if you look for it. They constantly joke about how well a video is going to do and what's going to make good content. Even slightly more recently, in a debate from 2022, he's able to assert that Nick makes tens of thousands shilling conspiracy theories to illustrate how Nick has an established interest in spreading misinformation. This was after collaborating with Nick Fuentes for several years.
Collaborating with Nick Fuentes for several years. Like, are we talking about like the sparse times in which Destiny was pushing extremely hard back against Nick Fuentes and calling him out? Like, would you count, like, I would say that Hassan Piker and Ethan Klein has collaborated with one another for a long time. But I wouldn't say that that's what people think of when people think of collaboration. All right, like you're talking about collaboration. Sure, I think that when somebody appears on somebody else's stream, that technically counts as a collab because you guys are coming together either as adversaries or as friends in order to create content that both audiences will like because it's interactive, fun, engaging, energetic, right? However, I think the context matters. I mean, crazy for me to say, I guess, but I guess the context matters. Does the context not matter? I feel like the context matters, right? Destiny is like legitimately mad at Nick Fuentes. When Destiny confronted Nick Fuentes on Fresh and Fit, he was legitimately red with rage. This was not like a friendly encounter. This wasn't like a friendly collab where it's like getting buddy with one another. Like he was actually like facing his op. Like this is like Nick was one of his biggest ops. Okay.
Be clear about who you're talking to, what the goal of the conversation is. Okay.
Like
Nick has a political movement.
Did anybody forget the debate yet? Like where Nick Fuentes was calling Destiny a pedophile, and then Destiny was calling Nick Fuentes Booger Nick? Am I the only one that actually comes up with actual examples, or hello?
Political ideology. His goal is not to sell you truth or to sell you a critical thought process. His goal is to sell you his political ideology. So if he comes across some idea that's contrary to what he believes, or some thought or fact that is contrary to his beliefs, he's not going to tell you that, and he's not going to incorporate it into his world. He's only going to give you the piece of information that he uses to sell his ideology.
He talks about how
you're showing clips of him actively pushing back against Nick Fuentes. Like, are we at the chicken and waffles like fucking phase yet, or
has audience and how spreading that misinformation plays into that?
It's good to ask questions, but you guys don't just ask questions. You guys believe in literally every single fucking conspiracy in the world. Do you think the government puts...
At the end of that clip, which is on Destiny's channel, shows Nick and Sneeko, and they've gotten Destiny to agree to another debate, gleefully exclaiming that they're about to red pill so many people.
Are you being paid by the government?
Give me a time and a date. Bro, you're getting paid to tell people exactly what they want to hear. That's the difference between you and me. You're getting paid to tell your audience exactly what they want to hear. Are you making money doing what you're doing?
Hardly. We have some Turkish payment.
You're about to fly to fucking Florida to have a little vacation. What happened to that 400,000 in crypto? Listen. Obviously, you're getting paid. You're getting money. You're not broke. 9/11 debate on the 22nd.
Let's go!
At 6 p.m., okay?
Dude, Sneeko, we're going to red pill everybody.
It's a fucking 5-hour documentary, though.
It's good content. The controversy he gets by these people simply engaging with him is why he does it. And Nick is a particularly interesting case because they've had such a close proximity to one another for so long. In a 2023 Fresh and Fit podcast, Nick even says he's trying to be Destiny's friend.
Yeah, and how did that go? He's trying to be Destiny's friend, and how is that going for him? Has Destiny willingly accepted? How is that not like Nick's thing? Isn't that Nick's fault for trying to be his friend? I'm so confused.
I don't hate you. I disagree with you, but I don't hate you. I try to be your friend. That's okay. One day you'll come around.
He also has an obvious respect for the sniveling worm that is Nick Fuentes. In this 2025 clip, he is ceding to a fan of Nick's that he performed poorly in their last debate and chalks it up to Nick being an ideologue, talking about ideology with
is this
Destiny.
Carantos? Guys, is this Carantos? It's going to be Carantos, isn't it?
He's just not good with.
I watched you for years. After watching Nick for a year, I can say he's leagues above you. Yeah, I think the last bit I had with Nick was fucking pathetic. And then the second one I had with him over immigration stuff was pathetic. He's good at like ideologue. If you like to listen to people monologue their ideology and just do that all day, I mean, Nick is a good guy to listen to. I'm really bad at that stuff. I just like researching shit and debating people on stuff, and I'm a little bit more discreet versus kind of like narratively driven. But
these brief conversational snippets show a level of
But Carantos did chew him out for the debates that he had against Nick.
Proximity to alt-right and far-right figures, dare I say a level of friendliness or comfort that seems at odds with anyone who would stand on their business as a progressive or even hell a liberal.
Back to his private combos, I found this one illuminating, where during a casual conversation with Fuentes, he talks about giving known white supremacist and racist Lauren Southern tips on getting more views on her videos.
Like, I've argued with fucking Lauren about her videos, where she's like, oh, all of my stuff is deprioritized, I don't think I'm getting views. Like, no, it's not. You just don't fucking upload enough. Make more fucking videos. And she did make a couple, and some of them actually popped up on the algorithm. She did one responding to Matt Walsh, she got like 500,000 views. And it's like, why do you think that the algorithm's not fucking? You're fucking yourself. Because that...
Two things. This was part of a multi-video visit Nick did, chilling with Destiny and his ex-wife and chatting it up. The second is that there's a lot of speculation.
Maybe. But that's a misrepresentation. They were actively debating, okay? Destiny was pushing back.
As to whether Destiny slept with Lauren Southern. Well, it was speculation. It's been confirmed by leaked DMs in a video presented by President Sunday. Oh, and his ex-wife Melina also confirmed this.
I don't really know what people are...
You're not going to tell them like how evil President... I mean, like, dude, that entire... Sorry, hold on. Not the same video. Not the same video, but no, sorry. There's no obligation to tell the audience on how evil President Sunday is, but what does this have to do with anything? Lauren Southern could not be sleeping with Destiny, and Destiny would say the same thing, right? Is there some kind of special treatment Lauren Southern is somehow getting from Destiny? I don't think so. I really do not think so.
Like, I think people can just put the puzzle pieces together like really easily if they just look at, okay, these things happened. I even mentioned, and then people asked about it, and he said that I got jealous because they streamed so much. That's not really what happened. I feel like it's pretty clear to who is not being honest here of what actually happened. There's so many things, and so many people that have said what happened. And if he wants to deny that, fine. But I feel like, you know, not everyone is perfect.
Tiny's reaction to this is gold. How did he react again?
And a lot of these people are pretty intense, you know? So maybe it's hard to trust, but you can also see patterns in how people behave and stuff. She did not lie. She did not lie. And I think it's really clear she didn't lie. That's what I'm saying, because it's...
This is one aspect of Destiny's personality I'm saving a bit for later because there's still a lot to get through, but Destiny's rampant horn doggery, or as he would put it, being too much of a...
Dude. Okay, man.
A gooner, as a quote, has led him, understandably, into some hot water. If you've heard about his various controversies, chances are they have to do with things like exchanging sexts with underage fans, his fantasies about age play, his sharing of...
Maybe I should just stop defending Destiny. We're not reaching any of these guys. It's over, dude. It's cooked. It's cooked. We're not reaching any of these guys.
Unapproved revenge porn and nudes with random friends, recording sex with partners without their permission, and more, all of which we will get to. But the Lauren Southern bit is important to this current topic because at the time they were engaging in acts, Southern was well known as an alt-right figure. She had cavorted with anti-Semite and eugenicist Sol Invictus, published anti-Islam manuscripts and extensive anti-feminist drivel, did a speaking tour with white identity lover Stephen Molyneux, defended Richard Spencer, and most famously harassed refugees with a European white identity group. It shouldn't have been surprised that Lauren Southern was racist to anybody. In fact, it was kind of her defining trait for a long time. And look, I get it, you can't always judge someone by one or two friends, but how about the repeated themes of their life's work and the publicity stunts they constantly engage in? So at some point you gotta ask, if Destiny's willing to fuck a Nazi, white identitarian, while still calling her out, then what's his line? Who won't deplatform or...
He has always been personally associating himself. He's just not affected. Dude, has any of his lovers or friends ever changed his opinions? Or has they said time and time again that he was one of the most stubborn, selfish, toxic, masculine motherfuckers on planet Earth, that he was just basically a disgruntled old man? Which one is it? Is he like constantly being affected? Like his views are being affected in some way by the people he's like... Does him being friends with Impact Chan ever affected him, like, in any way?
Lab with or engage with.
What's the point?
Mind you, these are not just conversations or debates. This is intimacy, friendship, with people he's willing to publicly call Nazis. Like, here's Nick Fuentes talking about being in Destiny's Discord and talking about D&D.
I don't have the time.
You were playing Dungeons and Dragons when I pulled up to your stream. You have plenty of goddamn time to check out potions with far right dudes. Where's your potion? Watch a documentary.
If you that magic, your fans don't even like that content. They tell me in the group chat they think it's boring when you play D&D.
Now, for a brief guide on who Destiny might consider morally equivalent for whatever reason, check out this 2025 Fresh and Fit clip where he says his enemies are the enemies of liberalism, and goes on to accuse Vosh and Hassan of being as bad as Sam Hyde and Nick Fuentes, and says fighting them is...
They are. But they are, though. They're evil. Not Vosh. Vosh is okay. Like, he's dishonest. He's kind of a hack, okay? But Hassan is way worse than Vosh, okay? I will say that. Hassan is like way worse than Vosh.
Equally important.
Destiny picking more fights with other lefties instead of watching the new Sam Nick show and attacking righties. My enemies are the enemies of liberalism, and lefties, so people like Vosh and Hassan, are 100% aligned with people like Sam Hyde or Nick Fuentes in terms of wanting to destroy the current liberal order. They both just envision something different coming afterwards. So I think attacking either group of those people is totally fair game, and I think it's equally important.
Sam Hyde is a rapist and a pedophile Nazi, by the way. And speaking of Nazis, let's get back to Nick Fuentes. Now, while Nick and Destiny used to be more frequent collaborators, Destiny has since stopped seemingly returning Nick's calls, or probably more so that Nick has wormed his way into the mainstream enough he doesn't need Destiny for clout anymore. And I'm sure a slew of heated and personal debates between the two didn't help matters at all.
I'm not gonna sit here.
You didn't take notes to watch a movie?
Yes, that's how conspiracy theories work. Because there's gonna be 7,000 things about that I've never fucking heard in my entire life. That's how these things always work.
Bro, I'm not interested in recapping Destiny's life like this, dude. Bro, I already hear too much about it from anti-fans and from Destiny himself, okay? This is how I developed my viewpoints on his 50th appearance on the Red Pill podcast. This is how I developed it. Oh my god, please. I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
Movie, let's just watch it.
Take this. Wait, Destiny, I just can't believe that this dude really said, well, you want to debate me on TV.
Sneeko, give me a time and a date.
I think that's a waste of time.
Give me a time and a date.
I won't debate you on 9/11.
This last video is interesting because right after yelling at each other, they schedule a debate on stream, like I talked about earlier, because Destiny needs time to research the JFK assassination, but he's already agreed to debate Nick about it.
If you want to do an organized conversation on the JFK assassination, we can do that. Would you like to set one of those up? We can schedule it right now if you want.
If I want to see a compilation of Destiny's greatest debates, I would have found it myself. I don't need this horrible representation of trans people like fucking playing this, okay? Also, back to Itpol, okay? You know how Itpol is cringe? I've been thinking about it, and let me explain a controversial idea that I have that I think a lot of people disagree with, but I can justify. I think that no one person should ever be a representation of the race or gender or minority group, but at the same time, I think that they should 100% have some minor responsibility to representing their group. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you are Jewish and you play into Jewish stereotypes on purpose, or you do that kind of thing and you don't make it clear that you're being like sarcastic or snarky or you're parodying yourself, you are harming your group. That's what you're doing. I don't think most of the blame should be put on that person. If a black person eats watermelon and somebody else points out that the black person is eating watermelon and how they are perpetrating that stereotype, motherfucker, let the motherfucker enjoy his fucking watermelon, okay? What is the big deal? Just let him enjoy the watermelon. Holy shit. All right? But at the same time, they're not completely devoid of responsibility, if that makes sense, right? For example, I am the only trans person anybody ever sees in my outside life. Back then as well, all right? But overall, I'm the only trans person they will ever see in their entire lives. Okay? Straight up. I have a responsibility. I believe that I have a responsibility to present myself in such a way where I make everybody else look good from my group without compromising my personality nor who I am as a person. If they generalize too much, then it's their fault, because 70% of the responsibility should be the person who is judging. All right? If you judge, it is mostly your fault. But you can't blame someone's inner intuitions nor biases. It happens all the time where somebody has some inner biases. They don't even notice it. They don't even notice it. They judge subliminally beneath the surface and they convince themselves that they're impartial and they don't judge anybody. That's not true. That's not what happens. People judge others all the time. And because that is our shared reality, we all have a responsibility to properly represent our group if you're part of a minority. Okay? Because no matter how progressive or non-judgmental some person is, you can't erase all the bias. But you can curb the negative effects of it together, right? That's what I mean by me being back on my id bullshit, all right? If that makes sense. But, you know, I digress. It's not really that much related to this. But whenever I see some other trans person doing some cringe-ass shit like this, or somebody who presents themselves as, like, maybe gender neutral or whatever, and, you know, they kind of look bad, I do actually have an issue with that. I'm sorry. I do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, hold on. Wait, give me a time and a date.
Let's do September.
This is another interesting moment because, as we'll see more in the future, it shows how Destiny seemingly goes into any debate that will have him with a predetermined POV, not out of like sincere belief or knowledge, but just because it gives him a chance to argue. And you might say, well, again, just because he doesn't agree with someone doesn't mean he can't have a polite conversation. Let's address that point. You don't need to agree with everything someone says to associate with them. That's true. We all have that one conservative coworker we're polite to and maybe even friendly with. It's not feasible to go through life being a dick to everyone who disagrees with you. In the eyes of the right,
it's impossible to erase a bad trait they ascribe traditionally. Yeah.
Destiny's platform goes so beyond simply debating people and seems to extend into a willingness to be chummy with anyone he perceives to help with some good old metric growth. We've already discussed Lauren Southern, but Nick Fuentes is, of course, the most notable example. If you watch the early debates and interactions between Destiny and Nick, you might think of them as having something of a principled rivalry.
That what is white is a somewhat arbitrary concept. Now we go forward to today. You're talking to me. I'm half what? Yeah, I'm half European, half Cuban, and people consider me white. Nick Fuentes is a white nationalist. His last name is Fuentes, and he is 25% Hispanic. So it seems like the whole concept of white is just kind of ridiculous.
The problem is that over time it would be shown that Steven could easily be called a friend of Nick. I'm not touching the probably fake, alleged, leaked sex tape between them because
I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't know if I can do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. We don't even know who the motherfucker is. We don't know whose dick Destiny was sucking, okay? We don't know who it is. You can't just say it is allegedly Nick Fuentes. Alleged by who? Nick Fuentes? By who? Who is the victim who is alleging it? Who is prominent to the drama that is alleging it? Or is it just a rumor that's spun out of control and is now weaponized against him in a horrible, degrading, dehumanizing way? You can't. How could anyone who is progressive claim to be the ally of woman or the ally of any sex crime victim ever when you're making up shit on the spot just because it sounds funny and it sounds spicy? I thought we were over this. What is that domain's reason for making this video? I have no fucking idea.
You guessed it, get more attention.
Obviously, I'm not going to do a whole deep intro or whatever on all this. I will say that I think a friend of mine's account from that I talked to like 3 or 4 years ago ended up getting compromised, and you know, sometimes you just
stakes like what?
Sometimes you just gotta roll with the memes. It is what
it's
it is.
Just redeemed. Stop. Tomorrow, I promise you'll be saying, "Hutch, God, Hutch is such a moron." Okay, every day.
Hey, what do you want me to say? Okay. Sometimes it happens.
Is he memeing? Is he serious? It doesn't matter. It gets people talking about him, and he knows that. They talk on Discord. Again, not an altogether weird thing to have other content creators on Discord, but the way they talk about their back and forth, at least in this clip from 2022, sure seems like there were other friendly conversations happening that weren't just scheduling debates.
What was the accusation that I made?
You said that, well, what you texted...
I'm just saying, no, stop, okay? Like, we keep doing this, okay? Like, I don't give a fuck about all that much about them as a person as much as I care about like the average of their takes. Okay, like every single time I feel as though like opinions of him switch every single time he spends a stream giving stupid dumb fuck takes, and then the next stream he gives like really good takes, and it's like, oh, redeem. For me, I'm like, okay, well, is he giving stupid takes or is he not giving stupid takes? And that's all that matters to me. Who cares? I know, but it's a 3-hour video, probably above average on that alone. What do you mean by that? Basically said she had nonsensical contradictory arguments to criticize Destiny, like makes Destiny evil for wanting to grow his brand when she's doing the same thing. I agree.
Me on Discord is, it's your community, matey, and basically saying that I'm culpable.
Well,
because,
hold on. Did I say that?
You literally said, it's your. I said, you're blaming me for something someone else said. You said it's your community, matey. That's what you said.
Yes. So what am I saying there? Am I saying that like this is?
Want to do Stella Montes?
Sounds good.
We're gonna be PvP, okay? Shit on site.
Let's be a little sophisticated in our understanding. Am I saying that like you called for him to be reported, or that you led for his mass banning?
She was
You said that a
doing
few
a lot
times,
of
but you make it sound like I'm saying that you specifically called for this. I've never levied that accusation though.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're saying that.
That's kind of the implication I've gotten from watching. I can go back and watch clips, but it kind of feels like in the beginning of this video that you're saying that I've accused you of that several times. Because I have to pause and correct and say I never accused Nick directly of doing it. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't
Okay,
think that's
I'm gonna go 2x. I can do this thing. Okay, 2x.
I don't believe that's what you said in this video, but okay.
He knows this is a white supremacist. He knows this is someone who does tangible harm in his ideology. And when the debate lights are up, he attacks. So then ask yourself, if you're a fan of Destiny, would you say this about somebody?
That's black people, even when they disagree with me. Not even when they're useful pawns for my liberal agenda.
Nick, you literally think black people are genetically inferior. You think that black people are genetically intellectually inferior. The more extremist figures like Nick Fuentes or maybe
Dude, every single clip is like him pushing back against Nick Fuentes. Like he isn't actively endorsing any of his views at all.
Lauren Southern or something like that, and then eventually go down that extremist road.
And then go and hang out with someone like this? In the process of hanging out with Nick in a more casual setting, Destiny seems to be genuinely trying to reach or connect with him and engage with his ideas about conspiracies, as though there's potential for good faith. He's trying to reach them where they're at.
Yeah, but then like it's because Destiny is confident in like not being converted by somebody like Nick Fuentes, right? Like there is confidence there in it not happening.
Strategy, which I'm sure he and his defenders would assert is better for deconstructing people's worldview, getting them to agree to a more rational premise in an effort to push them down a path of de-radicalizing and educating themselves further.
Yeah, but like it's the key here is not de-radicalizing Nick Fuentes. It's to collab in the effort to de-radicalize Nick's audience, right?
Problem is that Nick doesn't and has never wanted that. He's a shameless, conniving, opportunist rat fucker, and always has been. Much of his irony-poisoned audience has been conditioned to behave the same way. Nick and Steven actually probably get along so well because they operate very similarly. They were formed in the same molten internet sludge, trolling transgressive forums and using shock tactics to get their platforms. One fun argument from an earlier debate stream we've looked at involved an anecdote Steven called Nick out on, where Nick tried to chicken shit dance his way around the real reason he was kicked out of a young Republican group. He said some racist shit, but thought he was in more trustworthy company.
So it's many things over the course of 5 years.
Was that really all you said?
Well,
you're bullshitting, bro. Just tell us, what did you say?
I feel like I remember there being a leaked phone call and some other stuff that came out too that got you kicked out of school too, no? Was that
yeah, that is
something about like if a white girl dates a black person, it's the same as like fucking a dog, something like that maybe? Am I remembering it correctly? Sure. Okay, so I just want to be clear, like notice how slippery he is in how he defines position. Earlier, we were talking about how like you can't, like his point earlier was that black people are black, brown people are brown, white people are white. Looking like difference between black and brown was really dumb. But now we're talking about Africa, all of a sudden that place where everybody's just black. Well, now it's the most ethnically diverse nation on earth. How the fuck are we going to and secondly, earlier he's talking about like really diverse places, cause crime. The more diversity, more crime. But what do you hear white nationalists always say over and over again? What's the number one killer of black men? Other black people. It's not like we've got like race wars going on in the United States where a lot of ethnic diversity exists. It's usually people that are victimizing themselves. It's not black people running killing white people running white people. It's just crime within communities.
Okay. No. Now, we will talk about Destiny thinking he's safe to say shit like slurs when he's in trusted company later, but more importantly than that, the primary similarity between Nick and Destiny is that they will each take any opportunity they can for more attention or notoriety. The disconnect is that while Nick is sincere in his beliefs, at least in terms of offending people and sowing chaos,
that's literally what you're supposed to do as a content creator, though. Like, how could you possibly say, like, oh, these are bad things when, oh, him getting more attention, bad. Him trying to do things to get, like, trending, bad. Him trying to do, okay, then what's good then? Like, fucking sucking up to Hassan Piker. Like,
Destiny seemingly can't help but see the debate's positions and beliefs as these detached, abstract game pieces. Nick has shown this again and again and again. He's navigated around the periphery of conservative politics for over a decade, quietly running his little Nazi stream like a Zoomer George Lincoln Rockwell, complete with a shitty little mustache. Just like Steven, he spends plenty of time going on random misogynistic and otherwise shit-headed podcasts that appeal to a wider and wider demographic, using his guise as a regular guy to lull people who don't know any better into thinking, hey, he's really not that bad. So when you wonder, how does Nick Fuentes, a actual white supremacist, violent, woman-hating, and very likely gay Nazi, have so many fans? Why is he everywhere? Because every time someone has debated him or had him on a podcast, they've platformed him and helped in his overall goal to weasel his way to a larger viewer base. He's not a genuine actor, and anyone who's observed him for any amount of time could probably tell you that. Destiny could probably tell you that. I would just speculate that he probably doesn't care, because every time he's had somebody so controversial on, it did numbers, and that's what matters to him. So in the end, if someone is authentic about their beliefs, doesn't seem to enter into Steven's calculus. At least it didn't back then. In the 2024 video,
he spent like 5 hours playing fucking Arc Raiders today. He does not give a fuck about his career.
where Turkey Tom interviewed and spent a day with Destiny, he directly calls out Destiny for platforming Nick Fuentes.
Caretaker to other
That's the lie. What? Well, I feel like you hang out with a lot of people who you maybe would consider kind of, I don't know. I mean, okay. That's usually my red line. That's why I cut off Snake on Circuit completely. Here's one criticism I have. Real criticism.
Yeah, criticize me, baby.
Fuentes.
Whether or not he wasn't Nazi wouldn't have changed him coming on my platform. I think for a while America First was trying to get away from the crazy ultra like Jewish Nazi shit. Maybe like, there's still like memes and jokes, but I do think they were, especially with like AFPAC and everything, I think they were trying to move towards like a little bit more mainstream, like probably still like, a little bit of Nazi shit, less than before.
To which Destiny responds he saw at the time America First as trying to move away from the anti-Semitic and radical image and become more respectable and mainstream. He directly acknowledges and talks about how he thought a lot of it was just memes, as though that makes the sentiments of what's being said any less harmful. And then when asked why he cut Nick off, Destiny chalks it up to the Groypers basically being annoying.
Because Fuentes was on a bit of an upshoot before the Kanye shit. AFPAC was really successful. They got, what, like 2 Congress people?
Matt Gaetz and Margaret Cho.
Yeah, that's a really big, that's more than anything Lefty has ever done for their bit on YouTube. When I'm criticizing his point of view, when I tell people, just criticize his point of view. Because the problem is that when you run into somebody, especially somebody who's like a little
God, these videos are also so fucking boring. Like, where did all the artistic prowess go? Like, from like fucking ContraPoints and like H-Bomber guy. Like, at least the videos that they have made, even if you disagree with them on some of them, like at least there was some kind of artistic prowess there. Like, like every single second was like a set piece or like a skit that they had to think through, that they had to like put on the scene. Like they probably had to draw up exactly like what they want to happen within that span of the video or something like this. But this is just like stupid fucking Kiwi Farm slop, where all you do is just search up the name on Kiwi Farms and you just take like the fucking like 10 most popular, most reacted to posts on there. Fucking hell, man.
more politically adept. Like Fuentes or America First, oh, you're a Nazi. They're gonna start bringing up like a million things that like actual Nazis believe. And they're gonna say we break from Nazis here, and then you're just gonna hate it. The current reason I listen on Blacklist is he does the crazy aggressive platforming shit. Like if the great people and support people, if they don't like you.
So his bottom line, that's when he decided to call it quits with platforming a Nazi. This is just one person Destiny repeatedly collaborated with. Here's him chumming out with people like Sneeko, Aiden Ross, Myron Gaines, and plenty of other assholes. Even now, because of his audience and pedantic approach to life, people might still be willing to lend him that goodwill and say, well, of course, he wants to get eyes on him, it's his job. Or maybe even he's tearing down those ideas. He's going into these spaces to expose them for being bad actors. Except you can do all of that without engaging, let alone platforming these people personally. And also, he doesn't do that. After watching so many of these streams and debates, I have come to two conclusions. The first is that Aiden Ross might actually have no brain, just a hollow cavity with some kind of jello inside. I'll give it up in this stream where Steven, through basically no effort, convinces Aiden of an existence of Mein Kampf 2 featuring OnlyFans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Hitler said motivational things too, but I mean, I don't know what the point of that is. Like, the overall takeaway from Andrew Tate is that he's a scam artist, a sex trafficker, and a guy that built his entire life on, now that he's fucking Muslim, he built his whole life on haram shit, like gambling and selling sex and scamming men. It's interesting, because I think there's a quote from Hitler saying OnlyFans is the second Holocaust, and he said that before he even did the first one, so I'm sure you agree with that at least, right?
Wait, Hitler said OnlyFans is the Holocaust?
The second Holocaust.
How did Hitler know? How did Hitler know?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, huh? Just because Hitler might have said a couple good things doesn't mean Hitler's a good guy, right? Same thing with Aiden, or not Aiden, same thing with Andrew Tate. I'm sure that Andrew Tate says some good things. He has also says good things, but overall he's like a scam artist. I don't think he's a good guy.
Okay, show me where he said something about Hitler said OnlyFans is going to be the second Holocaust. Please show me where he said that.
It was in the second version of Mein Kampf, but I think that ISIS burned that down when they invaded Germany last.
Oh, fuck, there's a second Mein Kampf?
Yeah, but there's only one version because he written it when he was in that fucking bunker before he killed himself.
Yeah, damn.
No notes, flawless victory. But the other conclusion I've come to, despite his fervent arguing against these ideas and wanting to attack people's ideas, not them personally, the reason Steven doesn't distance himself strongly is partly because he's grown his platform and business several times over with these tactics, but also because he doesn't seem to take people like this seriously in their ideology or threats. He seems to think that everyone else is like him. They turn on their worldview when the cameras are rolling, and off camera they're just totally chill, laid back people. He seems to think that just because he will make edgy jokes about people being killed, when someone else says it, they're also just joking. I cannot think of any other reason why he'd still be saying shit like this in 2025, despite ostensibly cutting ties with Nick Fuentes.
You want to talk about racism? Let's talk about racism. You admit you're racist, correct? Yes, 100%. Okay, that's fine. You're perfectly entitled in a free democratic society to stare down the barrel of the camera and tell me you're racist. People can judge you accordingly. Many people who have assumed you're racist will now throw it on your own lips.
I'm getting so tired of doing optics evaluations or rhetoric evaluations because I'd rather just debate on facts. And you guys have gotten so obsessed with it. It's more to talk about. But Nick set himself up with a defensible out at the beginning of this interview by saying, when I'm on stream, when I'm making jokes, like I'm being hyperbolic, I'm not, we're telling jokes here. It's not like 100% serious stuff. Like obviously it's small stream, small amount of people. These are not the messages that I would say to the entire world. So he set himself up with a good out here, but now he is biting the bullet on every single thing he said on his stream. Like the response when Pierre says this is like, well, no, I'm being hyperbolic, but like what I'm trying to explain to you is like imagine the fear of an average white person when there are people getting set on fire on buses. Is that a black guy? I don't remember. Or if you're that poor white Ukrainian woman that got stabbed to death by a black guy, she would have avoided black men on the bus. If she would have gotten off as soon as that crazy black dude entered, she might still be alive today. Like these are like your more kind of like I think like publicly rhetorically favorable outs. I feel like he set himself up for these outs at the beginning of this interview, but then he's in like full combat mode now. I don't know why he switched.
In this clip, Nick goes over how he's essentially using his recent interview with Piers Morgan as a publicity stunt, and how those publicity stunts have given him more and more viral attention. This is while he's whining about being canceled because
nah, that's cope. That's cope. He clearly didn't do well over the course of the fucking interview, which is why like he has to give some kind of afterward reasoning on why he performed so badly. There is absolutely no fucking shot that he actually thinks that he has performed well or anything like that. Like, yeah, he just looked so bad there. Like even if you took into account the fact that, oh, Nick is just trolling, he's just trolling. No, it was objectively a bad attempt at trolling as well. Like, it wasn't even a good attempt at doing the ironic Nazi humor thing. Like, it was just really, really bad overall. Like he was not consistent, and Piers Morgan just completely steamrolled him, in my opinion, but whatever.
of course. And from that same stream, Destiny goes over how he himself will
There is
do
no
the same
500 IQ
tactics to best
here.
spread when utilizing another's platform.
He's conducting himself like this is a platform of equals instead of he is getting access to Piers' platform, and so he needs to market it like that. Like when I go on Piers' platform, I view it as though I'm on Piers' platform trying to angle out kind of a little bit of his audience, fighting different battles here. But I think that's what Nick needs to do, because I don't think Nick is big enough to be like, well, I can't believe you do that. You're being mean to me, which is kind of what he's done for. I can't believe you to attack my dad. Like, we brought him up first, bro. I mean, I don't think that you can just pull out the victim argument when you're coming at his platform. I think you have to defend it a little better if you want.
But the most telling moment comes when critiquing Nick's debate performance. He muses to his audience why Nick doesn't just drop the Jew stuff.
The one thing I don't understand too, sometimes maybe I overthink this or overanalyze it. Because maybe you have to do the Jew shit. Like I feel like Nick would have a much higher ceiling on what his popularity could be. We would untap it if we just like drop the Jew shit. Like, do you really think? Can't you? Because you can do all the things xenophobic racist stuff around immigration or mass migration, like you can do all these things without having to have the Jew shit. I feel like the Jew shit can just turn off so many people. Like, you don't need the Jew shit. And like a lot of people that are turned on by the Jew shit aren't even gonna be your natural allies anyway. Like Fuentes is never aligning himself with like all the fucking Arabs or like the tanky lefty people. I don't know, but maybe he genuinely believes it. I guess maybe it might be that he actually heavily believes him.
The anti-Semitic conspiracy that is a core of Nick Fuentes' worldview and has been for over a decade, and Destiny somehow sees it as
fuck, I can't see them,
like a weapon for an action figure. This is 2025. There's no room to say, well, maybe
hold your ground, especially when
it's clear that his approach
smoke
associated with them has remained
right here.
I'll be generous and say what Stephen is likely mistaking is that the people he argues against, like Nick,
he's trying to
have no
finish
risk
me
standards for behaviors behind closed doors. This is particularly a well-noted phenomenon in conservative spaces where, despite being homophobic or racist or transphobic or whatever, people will constantly be accused of engaging in behaviors behind the scenes that show these beliefs to be little more than advertisement, public virtue signaling to their base, which is what Stephen does himself. And I can't say for sure, because I don't know what's inside Stephen's brain, nor do I want to, but from everything he himself has said, it sure does seem like he regards these incredibly harmful ideas as just tools. Things to be swapped and shifted depending on what position they're arguing from and how it will help their popularity. In fact, when observing others and their convictions, he often seems bewildered when speculating at what someone genuinely believes, as if that's the only reason they can argue for it.
Yeah, I would say I cut my teeth like debating conservatives. Like I was kind of like the only lefty guy who would be like a hardcore debater. It sounds like a conservative trope, and because I was the only person who did that for a long time, that was my reputation. I got a lot of left-leaning followers, and a lot of those people were like very far left, which I always thought was kind of a joke. I didn't think that was actually true. I started to realize that people in my community were like way further left than I had realized.
And I thought it was all memes and jokes and stuff, but now I'm not sure. Like Hassan goes like on these full-on rants on his stream about how like, oh, the U.S. is worse than the USSR and shit, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, homie. Like I don't know if I would like unironically say this, but then like you said, like all of a sudden I started to realize like, wait, I think it feels like there are more tankies here than I actually thought.
You can also hear how he regards his own stumbles and debates and post-argument wrap-up streams he will do, which listening to only cemented my view that it's all just some kind of game to him.
I had a problem with what I consider to be, oh my god, militant as fuck, progressive.
That's not even true. Like him going to canvassing and doing all this canvassing shit. Like he wouldn't go canvassing like this if it didn't mean something to him. That makes no sense.
Online. I hate them. I hate all these commies and socialist kids, the Chapo trap housers, the unironic like Marxists and stuff. They're just annoying to me. I don't necessarily hate their ideology. They just come at me with a whole bunch of bunk arguments. 95% of these people don't even know like labor value theory. Like they have no idea what they're talking about. But they're so quick to throw out every single like contemporary understanding of economics to make some argument for some crazy socialist fantasy world where everything is free, nobody has to work, no other countries mess with us. Every problem it's been frustrating me.
I don't like doing this thing where I just like criticize the left from the left for clicks. I think that there's legitimate stuff to criticize the left for, and one of those things is just like the narcissism of small difference.
He doesn't bring up any of his canvassing or political work. Yeah, because she's fucking retarded and bad faith. Like, this is so, like such a bad faith hit piece, clearly, but yeah.
As it's called, where like we agree on 95% of stuff, and we make the focus the 5% we disagree on to the point where we end up just like losing, and it's completely counterproductive.
I'm curious to what extent you would consider yourself pro-Israel as opposed to simply being against the narrative of Palestinian oppression, where in the
I now just saw the title of Dead Domain's video. Yeah, it's like sociopath, predator, troll, why Destiny is alone, and it's all his fault.
Palestinian side can do no wrong. I don't know, probably like 65 or 70% pro-Israel. It just depends on where you're at. If I start talking to any, like that Simcha Rockman guy or whatever, if I start talking to any crazy pro-Zionist, I'm probably gonna come up as super anti-Israel. It depends on, there's multiple ways to engage with the conversation. We can either engage on the factual level, where we're gonna debate the facts, or I can engage on a philosophical level. So for instance, I can try to point out a contradiction in your argument if I don't have the facts. Now that's a much scarier level to engage on because the other person is familiar or can maneuver the conversation while you're gonna get completely blown the fuck out. Or I can try to like focus on another point that's more philosophically related. Why do you let JP strong arm you? It's not, it's trying to figure out like, what do I want to argue? Like, do I really want to argue if things like famine or if like, do I want to argue if these things count as like leftist? It's just, I just don't want to have this. We already wasted an hour and we haven't talked about much. Why would I want to, it's just picking the things I want to.
Also, I saw like a tweet made by this Dead Domain person that apparently they believe that, that Hamas is justified. Like Hamas is a justified force or some shit. I'm not sure whether or not that's real, but like I saw it and I was like, you know what? Now I'm not surprised.
Fight with it. I'm kind of thinking here, like, do I want to fight at this point? And I don't. It's, okay, I'll give it to you, whatever.
The only conclusion I can draw from observations like maybe Nick Fuentes isn't actually racist towards Jews and isn't being edgy is that Destiny can only see opinions not from a place of empathy or understanding, but from his position, where it seems like convictions and beliefs are malleable, open to change or manipulation to suit needs. And that's the alternative to the explanation just being that Destiny is too stupid to know the difference, which I genuinely think isn't the case. In treating these people as peers and their ideology as difference in opinions, his platforming with these voices and spreading of their ideas, even trying to genuinely interact with disingenuous actors, paints these liars and opportunists in a more reasonable, favorable light, in turn bringing in more people who might see them as just chill.
That's not true. He's probably the only person who can actually make them look really stupid. Like, dude, every single time except for recently, every single time one of these like edgy irony humor people talk to anybody mainstream, like the mainstream person always looks like a fucking clown because they are like memeing. People don't know how to deal with the fact that they're memeing, half serious. Like people don't know how to deal with that. People don't like legitimately do not have the skills to deal with that. But like if you grew up among like edgy internet culture shit, then you're gonna develop like more skill in countering shit like that. And yeah, that's valuable. Like stuff like that is valuable. Coming from a more edgy internet background is valuable.
Guys who have a difference of opinion and serving to normalize politically radical and harmful ideas. Destiny might just see these interactions as pushing back with the factoids he studies up with, but in failing to recognize the genuine ideological mission of bad faith actors, or simply mistaking their beliefs for being a business model, he's enabled this shit to spread for his entire career. Like I said earlier, people have been asking, why is Nick Fuentes everywhere now? I thought he was a Nazi, and he is. But the reason that he's everywhere is because people see more of him just chilling out and being a reasonable, rational guy than they do the actual evil shit he believes. And in a very real way, spending years collaborating with someone like Destiny allowed Nick to test the waters with what rhetoric would get pushback and what would get him more attention and thus a bigger platform. And after platforming so many people, it shouldn't be surprising that Destiny has been a controversial figure for a while. Had no shortage of critics.
The shame is she went full on Tinky retard, but I'm pretty sure she is because she like is pro Hamas
from all sides. And I want to talk about how he reacts to being criticized on all fronts, because I don't think he would have it any other way.
Scary, like how close I was to getting people together to go down to his house to kill him and his family. Or it would have just been him and his father. I don't, because I didn't know anything about. Dude, that was some of the most fucked up shit in my entire life. I was
Like the argumentative strategies he employs to understand how Destiny works, you have to break down everything he says and piece it back together to see how it functions for him, how the argument works, and how it benefits him. First and foremost, Destiny tries to sidestep any allegations that he has a responsibility to his base by usually just saying his job is as an entertainer.
I'm cutting a fat check from the government. How did you guess, dude? How did you know that?
Because you're not even interested in whether 9/11's fake or not.
Because I don't have time to.
And yet, at the same time, he always argues that people who entertain has a responsibility to their platform. He calls out people like Asmongold because Asmongold is somebody who just simply says that he entertains while also like putting in incredibly like very like fucking temperature raising ideas and advocating for violence and cruelty, right? Like a lot of the ideas that he advocates for are unironic and he actually wants people to suffer. So which is why he calls out people like Asmongold. But you know what? Yeah, keep on dunking on Destiny, I guess. Very cool.
Research every. I'm not interested in the frogs attorney
That's your job. That's your job.
That's not my job. My job is to entertain
I see that the Red-Brown Alliance is holding very strong.
people on YouTube.
See, Destiny will say that he is a well-balanced, emotionally stable person, which I think he genuinely believes about himself.
Wait, did you make it out? I didn't watch.
Oh yeah, made it out.
Oh, congrats.
Fucking
nice, good job.
purple fucking triangle, dude. Oh my god.
What does that mean?
Looting Mark III Survivor. Augment.
Oh, okay.
Holy
yeah.
shit.
I got you. Awesome.
Yeah, no,
Good job.
at the initial like gunfire, I went from like 100 to like I had 2 points of health left. That's why I said I couldn't come back out to help you because I needed to heal. That's my bad. That's my bad.
You're fine.
I mean, the types of people you go after, the type of person you are, you know, would hope that. I hope that when it comes to relationships, you're not like flipping coins in terms of like, fuck, if I do this,
I couldn't hear you. I'm trying to commentate. Okay, shh. Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I mean, like all things in life, you have to weigh the risks. Of course, I know the type of person I am. I know who I sell myself as, and I know how people perceive me. Like, if I have moments of vulnerability with a woman, I've never had in my life where they thought I'm a weak person, because that's not who I am. And I live my values and everything in every single facet of my life. I'm an emotionally stable person. I have my shit together better than most other people I've ever met. If I show one moment of vulnerability to my partner and she leaves me, fuck that bitch, I'll find somebody else.
And one of the more fascinating and telling insights into Steven's personality comes when he talks about adversity and overcoming the odds. As someone who went through a period of being poor and built himself up into a successful business, I understand the sentiment, and that's something to be proud of, ostensibly. But what I think is interesting is the way in which he emphasizes the way adversity forces him, as he puts it, to work harder. I wrote all this stuff, by the way, before I found this next clip, where he literally just outlines how he feels empowered by being beset on all sides, by having the world against him.
You hang out with crazy people all the time.
Yeah,
She's
you're
nodding.
entertaining
She
and
knows.
funny
But it can fuck you.
No, it hasn't.
What do you mean it hasn't?
That's kind of all these situations: stronger, faster, better.
I mean,
smarter.
yes, you come out. But wouldn't you rather just?
Yeah, that's it. He's fucking shooting the shit with his fucking friend at the time. Like, it just like, he's shooting the shit. Yeah, of course he's talking like that because he's shooting the shit. Oh my god, dude.
To avoid that entirely?
No. Here's my responsibility as a content creator. What I have to do is, not only do I have to understand what's good content, I have to figure out what you want, and you don't know what you want, okay? You don't know what you want. People like this will say, like, oh yeah, that's not healthy. They only know me because
I know what I want.
He doesn't talk like this in any other instance. He feels comfortable here, which is why he's talking like this. Is because at the time, Turkey Tom was his fucking friend. Like, that's why he's talking like this. He isn't talking like this because, he's full of it all the fucking time. He's talking like this because he's genuinely comfortable.
They only know me because they watch those. They're like, this is really bad for you. By the way, I watched every single Mr. Girl video. Or, this is the worst stuff ever. And I want to talk to you about the 482 hours of Anna content that I've seen on your stream. And I can't believe you hang out with these girls. Let me give you my opinion on the 482 different tweets that Lab has made about you, right?
Is that like good for you?
Yeah, it's good content. It's entertaining as fuck.
Is that all there is, content?
It's like, you ever see the anime Death Count?
And that ties directly into something we're going to see a lot more of, how Destiny acknowledges controversy helps him. I mean, just look at some of the early debates and how they're framed on his channel. Just look at his willingness to circle himself with weirdos and no backup to argue against them. He has become dead set on the brand recognition of being the only person like him, except there are plenty of other people like him. He just goes out of his way to distance them from himself to maintain this image. For several years, he was even friends, according to himself, with people.
Name one!
On the left, like Hassan, who he takes credit for helping to launch the Twitch star's meteoric career as a politics streamer. Other people he's associated with the past include Dogsh and a number. Acknowledges controversy helps him. I mean, just look at some of the early debates and how they're framed on his channel. Just look at his willingness to circle himself with weirdos and no backup to argue against them. He has become dead set on the brand recognition of being the only person like him, except there are plenty of other people like him. He just goes out of his way to distance them from himself to maintain this image. For several years, he was even friends, according to himself, with people on the left like Hassan, who he takes credit for helping to launch the Twitch star's meteoric career as a politics streamer. Other people he's associated with the past.
Cringe alert. Cringe name mentioned. Cringe alert. Hassan Glason. Now I know why this video was made. It's to appease to Daddy Hassan. Okay,
include Fosh and a number of streamers and creators that have each in time been left by the wayside, usually because when Steven's more incendiary or reactionary takes would rear their heads, he would double down under criticism, seemingly entirely out of spite. For example, the bizarre rant about how people should be able to mow down protesters for blocking traffic.
The rioting needs to fucking stop. And if that means like white redneck fucking militia dudes out there mowing down dipshit protesters that think that they can torch buildings at 10 p.m., then
dipshit protesters who think that they can torch buildings and at 10 p.m. Dipshit protesters who think they could torch buildings. Okay.
At this point, they have my fucking blessing. This holy shit, this fucking shit needs to stop. It needed to stop a long time ago.
When he tried to couch this in a box of working class concern over private property.
I believe that people should have a right to defend their property. I mean, you can make those comparisons if you want, but I think that I have much better ground to stand on than Vivian, who's essentially giving you carte blanche to murder every fucking conservative in the United States.
Dude, and can I get but to be clear, Destiny, when you made that comment about the rioters, you said they have your blessing to go out and do that. So
the rioters?
So
I said that people whose private property is being destroyed in a video game would have my support in whatever. Yeah, wait, hold on. That is exactly what I said.
You said white redneck militia dudes going down dipshit protesters. You said they'd have your blessing.
Hold on. I'm not here to answer for a 15-second clip. If you want to go back and watch the video, it is painfully obvious what I'm talking about.
I'm only speculating, so grain of salt. But to me, it seems like Destiny thought of himself in the position of possibly losing money, something being a threat to his business, and that is where his reaction was based.
Why would he even give these opinions if the only thing he cares about is like money? Wouldn't he give like so much more mainstream opinions to appeal to more people, or to like make his takes more milquetoast? Like why the hell would he like risk getting banned off of any platform if it means just getting like a very brief spike of attention and then dropping off the face of the earth? Because there's so many people who's like that, where they get a short brief like spike in attention, and then later on they drop off the face of the earth and they're never to be seen again.
I mean, honestly, if he was just doing it for the money, why the fuck does the DGG Action Committee exist? Why is he doing any of these like political activities and shit? Like, why does Unfuck America exist?
Yeah, for clout.
If he's just looking for money.
Yeah, for clout.
For clout.
Yeah, for clout.
Perceived threats to livelihood are serious, and Destiny has a history of taking them violently serious, like the somewhat well-known early example of doxing a troll who continued to DDoS Steven's streams, and at one point Steven even said this.
Ripped his IP from Skype and gave it to a friend who was able to look up a whole bunch of information about him. I guess he backtraced the IP or whatever, found out where... Basically what happened was, I had a friend look up a whole bunch of shit. By the time I woke up in the morning, I had the names of like every family member, the phone number to like 3 of his brothers, the phone number to his home phone, his parents' name,
I have a hatchet key, by
his
the
dad
way.
and mom's name. Like, it was pretty cool. I had a lot of information available to me.
That's a guy. That's one of the people. Like, legitimately, like, I was so. You have no. Like, it's actually kind of scary. Like, how close I was to getting people together to go down to his house and kill him and his family. Or it would have just been him and his father. I don't, because I didn't know anything about. Dude, that was some of the most fucked up shit in my entire life. I was so fucking close to doing it, but I was making so much money on Twitch, and I don't know if Nathan was involved in yet, but for whatever reason, I decided that the current life I had wasn't worth the risk of. Oh my god. I was so close to this fucking address. I had fucking streets mapped out and fucking you had no fucking idea. That's when I first started getting interest in like owning a weapon. I got permits to own a gun and everything.
Admitting to DDoSing my line, admitting that his mom wrote some fake Vicodin scripts. So, I mean, I did a little write-up on everything that happened, and I submitted the case to Judge Judy. So I'm gonna see if I can get him in civil court on Judge Judy. I think that would be cool. And that's where I stand at with that right now. If I get on here, it would literally be the most exciting thing that's ever happened in my entire life. To get to see this kid in a courtroom would make me so happy.
When this person was interviewed years later about his run-ins with Destiny, he also had some more things to contribute that Steven kind of leaves out of his retelling of this era.
And I was hesitant about coming forward due to my job and
Mr.
threats that I
Nice.
received from Destiny personally and from his community back then. And I don't want to get caught up or like be famous online or anything like that. So the reason you're not seeing my face, that's the reason why. So just for the people, audience listening, shouldn't have done it. It was, like I said, I regret doing it. It is wrong to do. So I recommend not doing it. But the reaction that I got from Destiny and some of his followers, I'm not going to include all of them, but a few of them went above and beyond.
Dude, this interview was so
unacceptable, response.
Oh my god!
He was able to find me out pretty quickly. I would say within 24 hours,
What the
24
fuck?
to 48 hours. The normal reaction would be, call me.
Holy guacamole.
I'm a kid still, so call my dad and be like, Mr. So and so, Mr. DDoS's kid's father. Your son is engaging in activity that's annoying me and is illegal. No, instead, what he does is he starts calling my house phone over and over and over again. After we had talked to him initially, and then he's calling my house again, and he's saying, calling me, telling me my address, telling me that he's got friends and that he's thinking about buying a gun, coming to my house, and that he knows where my sister goes to school, and that he's going to come drive to my house. He's going to murder me, my father, my brother, my sister, and my.
I am so convinced a lot of this is just straight up lying. Okay, because if Destiny really did all of that and you recorded all of it, you would have already released it. It's as simple as that. Not only have you released it, but it's enough certainly to go to the police with it. 100% you would have gone to the police with it. Okay? There's absolutely no fucking shot that you haven't gone to the police with it. I think at the time, the question that I essentially asked was, why didn't you go to the cops with it? There was it sounds like this is really huge, threatening shit. If this is really happening, then you should go to the cops with it. It's as simple as that.
Shrimple ass.
Shut up.
Mother, and he's going to rape my mother and my sister and record all of it because I'm ruining his life. And
I mean, is that what you want? Is that your fantasy?
He was a streamer at this time making money, but 10, even if it was 10 times, the amount of money lost was, let's say at max $500. It's well beyond. And he had a clear over motive.
During his conversation with Turkey Tom, they hit this point where they're talking about Destiny's sociopathic tendencies. And Destiny talks about how he wouldn't kill someone who did nothing to him. That would be deranged. But there are people who have wronged him who might deserve it.
Your sociopathic traits or whatever, quite a bit. One of the things you talk about here is somebody's so what's to stop you from becoming a serial killer?
But also, I don't think it was even a reason to kill them. Well, no, actually, at this point, maybe a couple people, but
well,
I still go to jail.
Isn't it wrong?
Also, I totally understand why Destiny also hates the dad as well. The dad is actually fucking deranged. If the dad is also doing cringe shit, calling into Mr. Girl's stream and to talk about how insane Destiny is and to have a cohesive lie among the two of them. Yeah, I can totally see why the fuck Destiny fucking hates this guy's dad as well. Oh my god, fucking father or son, they're both stinking liars.
Well, maybe, yeah, that too. But I feel like if I'm going to kill somebody, they must have done something to make me really want to kill him, right?
Well, I guess the implication of being a serial killer is that you're doing it for no
Yeah, I would never kill people at random. That's deranged.
Well, yeah.
And I think that sums it all up, to be honest. It's a
No,
joke,
it doesn't.
but one that reveals in exchange for Destiny consequences for anyone who personally wrongs him. Currently, one of his biggest actions against critics has been openly calling on his community to harass and dox witnesses and others associated with the lawsuits against him for allegations of spreading revenge porn. Now, it's not a great look for a prominent internet creator to be doxing people, but Destiny doesn't really care. He's advocated against it before. But it's one of the many blurry lines he constantly draws to suit his needs, like using slurs. It's something that he will publicly talk about being bad, unless he can find a justification for it. So, for example, like when he, as a public figure with a massive platform, got mad about someone taking his picture at a public event, he doxed a girl and then basically bragged about it.
People are arguing over whether or not I doxed that girl, okay? I did dox that person, okay? Collecting information, even if public, for the purposes of harassing somebody, is doxing. And that is what I did. I did do it. And I would do it again. Well, isn't it blah, blah, blah? Fucking off yourselves. And don't unfollow me and leave, because I will do this over and over and over again. I will keep doing it. If you're deranged enough to, on an account where your information is so easily locatable, to take a fucking picture of me, post it somewhere, Destiny is here at this time, and I'll pay you money if you go and attack him? Fuck you. Yeah, of course I'm gonna fucking bring down the weight of the world on you. You're fucking crazy to think that that's even remotely acceptable. Even if I did advertise it, I don't know how to make you guys understand this. If you really disagree with this, post an email.
Well, but you just posted his justification, which sounds reasonable. What the fuck? He just posted his justification, which just makes sense. Oh, dude. Good one. Yeah, this looks really bad on him. What the fuck? Yeah, of course. What? Okay, dude.
And I'll pay people to follow you and do this. I don't know how you need to have some empathy for me. For me to check my phone and see that somebody's posted a fucking picture of where I'm at right now, saying, hey, somebody go egg this dude or somebody go attack this guy, like I'll fucking pay money for it. You're out of your mind to think that I would see something like that and then see your real life information attached to it and not bring the weight of the world down on you. You're out of your fucking mind for that. That is insane to me. You're way the fuck over the line at that point. It's not even close.
But the not so subtle message here is that when he targets somebody, he's putting them on a firing line for his audience to harass. He's not harassing them himself, you see. He's just engaging his much larger and more vitriolic fan base towards people who catch his ire, as though it's an equivalent response. But it's not. These are people who sometimes don't even have a fan base to fall back on, like he does. Being the content-brained hobgoblin he is, Destiny's preferred tactic to address more scathing critique in the past has been to make a massive show out of it. For example, one of his many public manifestos where he will write extensive takedowns on usually people he's felt slighted by personally, like one focused on Keffals in 2022, and particularly on that one, how progressive spaces needed to police bad actors more.
Yeah, and Keffals is a bad actor. Keffals is not only a bad actor, but she is somebody who deserves to be canceled, right? Considering how she was literally like doing the equivalent of grooming minors in a weird fucking sexual way. Like, yeah, like of course. She was doing fucking some weird shit, dude. Not only that, okay? We have personal beef. All right, me and Keffals, we have personal history, okay?
This was after a public falling out with Keffals, and I'm going to talk about his long trend of isolating and pushing away anyone who even criticizes him, but this part to me is significant because as of 2022, Destiny was one of those people that needed to be...
Yeah, no mention that all the, like, isn't it all, like, doesn't it all make sense, like, after? Gotcha. Like, doesn't it all make sense why Destiny would do all the things that he does, like, because Keffals is genuinely a sack of shit?
This is going to be a catalog in the past year, a demonstration of what happens when communities fail to hold their own members responsible, and what comes with the belief that there are no bad tactics, only bad targets. This is going to be a careful documentation of lies, scams, threats, bullying, doxing, and an utter lack of accountability. Over the years, I've worried about the types of tactics endorsed by progressive communities, the uncomfortable distorting of narratives, the grotesque shape-shifting of facts, and the general inability to hold themselves to a decent standard of behavioral conduct. I've been worried that the right combination of identity politics combined with a holy mandate from members of the media may empower deplorable actors to become the new representatives of our movements with no one left to put the brakes on their treachery. Rather, it's the tale of an internet bully given far too much power on a mission to seek fame and fortune by building a career through vicious conflict, born out of lies and disinformation.
To be clear, again tying into his complex of needing an enemy and seeing everything as some kind of debate, he seems almost elated when he brags about constructing these manifestos because of the opportunity it gives him to make more content. It all comes back to the numbers, because that's what gets him attention, not the inherent value in doing something because it's right or because somebody else is wrong. And I want to pull out the Bob 7 manifesto he did as well, where he chastises Bob 7 for being a weird,
like
freak,
4
little
years
sex
ago,
pest,
my
and
dude.
also showing other people's nudes. And look, I know we're jumping around here, but again, let's go back to the peaceful protesters and this idea of what Destiny can justify for himself. He's spoken at length, and we even saw an interview piece about how he's not good at empathizing. He's not good at seeing issues from other people's perspectives.
My expectations for people are very low, so it's like, yeah.
Your hair out, you fucking I want to kill you.
My expectations are very low for people.
Why?
I don't know, because it's my life.
Can you just find better people?
Yeah, but I would have really good content. Imagine if I could have done like the Mr. Girl in Lab shit while I was single. Do you know how much more crazy I could have let that get to without like a partner that was like getting stressed out and shit all the time? That could have been wild. Talk to anybody like on a personal level, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Not really, no.
That is really weird.
I understand that, yeah.
Should I talk to anyone on a personal level?
Not
Is there
that
something
much.
wrong with you?
I mean, it's just hard for people to relate to me.
With streamers or just in general?
I mean, like I would usually be dating somebody, I would talk to them, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that is a core problem at the root of these issues. And having a hard time being empathetic, he instead substitutes his own selfish worldview in which things like murdering peaceful protesters are morally acceptable measures to a perceived threat to income, for example. And the most telling thing to me, during these various conversations he'd have with other progressive voices, and even his own audience, was how emotive he would get. I've watched dozens of hours of him sitting across from Hitler-sympathizing air breathers with the placid demeanor of a background character in a Street Fighter stage. But when he's arguing matters of morality with his peers, his ideological peers, or he feels like he's being critiqued by his audience, well, I'll let the footage speak for itself.
So you and I, speaking of disanalogous comparisons, wait, we agree on something fundamental here.
Well, no, we're if we can't agree on this point, I don't think you're arguing in good faith, or you're insanely sheltered. I don't know what else to say to you.
Okay, I don't appreciate it that every time we have a disagreement, that disagreement seems to come down to my age or my relative level of. How many people have you murdered? I think we're equivalent in this respect.
God, I can't believe that you think that a 17-year-old being charged by a full-grown man with a glass bottle can't see that as being deadly force.
Okay, so
I don't think that you believe that. I think you're saying that because you want to win this argument.
First of all, I'd like to think that I cover things from a reasonable level.
You do more than most, but the socialist shit just makes me want to fucking off myself.
What's socialist
you do better
shit? This
than
isn't a socialist issue.
It definitely is. It definitely falls along the huge like anti-cop, anti-whatever. Like I see all that shit coming out.
The most
like, hardcore
aggressively partisan people on this issue are Kyle Kalinske types, and he's not even a proper socialist.
This is from another incident that got Destiny in hot water with more progressive voices, where he justified Kyle Rittenhouse traveling across state lines to shoot people. And from this debate with Vosh, look at how incensed he gets. It's worth noting that, unlike a lot of...
All right, real quick with the nude thing. It's kind of funny, again, that no other victims would ever want to jump onto the pxie lawsuit, all right, makes you think, because, again, all right, if it was so credible, you would think that by now, a ton of fucking women would have came out already to make these kinds of allegations and lawsuits against him, all right? Remember, for Turkey Tom, there was like a multitude of exes that came out against Turkey Tom, and Turkey Tom is only like what, like 19 or 20 or 21 or something like that. Like, he's extremely young. Destiny has been on the internet for more than 10 years. He is 35. All right, you would think that there is way more women coming out if this was a thing where he is a sexual predator just by the numbers alone and how much he goons. Okay, like, it makes absolutely no sense for that to be the case. Anyway, second thing is with the fucking DDoS kid, yeah, they're a fucking sack of shit. Again, if you try to sabotage somebody else's income or job, right, no matter how extravagant the job is, let's just say somebody was a fucking football coach, okay, and then some fucking random motherfucker was trying to, again, this is the example that he uses, is that if someone was trying to slash your tires, right, it doesn't matter whether or not you make millions a year or something like that. You don't just quit your job or like give up and become a retail worker just because someone is like slashing your tires, right? It's like destroying your ability to make millions of dollars. So you know what? Fuck that motherfucker. Yeah, of course. Also, additionally, there's another point of contention. Okay. I think that. Okay, wait. What was the last subject that was fucking being called? Fuck me.
Wait for Destiny can.
Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, dude, fucking Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, like, he did actually shoot in self-defense, and the fucking court of law determines that to be the case unless you actually disagree with the judge, which means that you're either bad faith, retarded, or you don't actually believe in law in the United States because you're a fucking dipshit lefty. Yeah, there's many reasons to why, like, you know, somebody might be against Kyle Rittenhouse, but it doesn't even matter, all right? Like, just because you want to defend Kyle Rittenhouse in that one specific instance doesn't mean that you endorse, like, any one of Kyle Rittenhouse's actions in the future as a right-wing grifter. Okay, moving on.
Argue against conservatives using memorized facts and logic, the conversation about Rittenhouse is a little trickier and comes down to discussions of psychology and intent. Many of the same disconnects here can be seen in the debate he did with Sam Cedar, also on the topic of Rittenhouse.
That isn't true either. He didn't kill anybody in defense of property.
Why did he show up there with a gun?
Ostensibly, as you said, to protect property.
Okay, what do you do with a gun to protect property?
You would shoot people.
Okay.
But he didn't shoot people protecting property. If I take a gun with me to a bar and I go to drink and somebody tries to assault me, and then
if you go to a bar to protect the bar from people coming in, and you know there's people coming in, and you fire at them, I mean, that's what you're doing.
I agree if that was the case, but Rittenhouse wasn't shooting at people defending property. He shot at people that shot at him first and attacked him.
He's patrolling around with a gun.
Having primarily, at least until that point, cultivated a fairly progressive audience, he was surprised at getting a lot of pushback for making excuses in favor of Rittenhouse. And when his audience is brought into it, he gets downright venomous.
Your chat doesn't care about black people. They're socialists. Okay? I would never try to register your chat. It's never going to work. Okay?
Why would you talk about my community this way? I don't talk that poorly of your community.
Because I know, well, you talk poorly about fuck my community, okay? Half of them agree with you right now, so fuck my community, okay?
Why I'm not trying to what is this preachy shit? We don't care about black people?
It ties into what we talked about earlier, where in order to keep selling his image as this rational non-ideologue, he has to paint anyone more progressive than him in a completely unhinged and unreachable bad faith light. In addition to his more incendiary stances, at least for someone purportedly on the left, Destiny has garnered some criticism for the research he prides himself on. It is part of his Twitter bio. Now, I'm not going to say he only reads Wikipedia, but his approach to research is one he's talked about before and one that has some obvious failings. Failings that go hand in hand with the way he already treats people. In this brief clip from an appearance on Lex Friedman's podcast, he gives a bit of insight into his research process.
Let's say there's like a totally new topic that I'm researching. I don't know anything. And I'll do a couple of these on stream. I think they're boring, but people watch it. I might open a Wikipedia article and I'll read, and I hit something I don't know, and then I open the next Wikipedia article and I'll read it, and then I might have like 7 tabs open, and I'll read and I'll read and I'll read. And I'll read a ton of stuff, maybe for an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours of stuff. And then by the end, someone in chat will ask me, like, do you even remember like this particular thing? And I'll say, not really. No, not too much. But what happens is as long as you've seen it once, what'll happen is like the next day, the day after, we'll read something else and we're like, oh, I remember that thing from this thing. I remember like vaguely that.
Yes, his research kind of famously begins with Wikipedia. Something shown extensively in various research streams he'll do to brush up on issues often leading up to a debate about said issue. This is something that has led to criticism that he only gets a
Motherfucker, people ask Grok and ChatGPT these days. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, isn't it way better for people to get their information from Wikipedia than from fucking Grokipedia? Really, my ninja? Even Grok gets its information from fucking Wikipedia, and so does ChatGPT. Like, dude, he's going straight to the source where that compiles all the links and references for him, like in proper, like fucking English teacher high school format. Like, God, it's so cringe. This is so cringe.
Broad and unnuanced view of an issue because of this, which can lead to treating intensely sensitive issues with a kind of cold detachment. And honestly, I don't know if that's because of the surface level research or his regular emotional detachment. When you're debating creators like Nick Fuentes or Aiden Ross, I'm sure reading just a few words from any source is more than enough to disprove them. But what about when Destiny is, on rare occasion, confronted with a real academic? Wikipedia can be a wonderful resource and is often extensively cited, meaning there are plenty of sources you can go and continue research for particularly sensitive or complicated topics. For example, the ongoing genocide in Gaza by the Israeli occupational forces. The problem is when Destiny's need for adversity, his willingness to argue any debate, sight unseen, and his research, which usually consists of memorizing factoids to base position around, all combine. Which brings me to a fairly recent public embarrassment.
There's no good or very, very strong supporting evidence for there being a genocide in Gaza. Again, just because there is no private orders in order to carry out a genocide or a complete erasure of the ethnicity. I do actually think that there is an ethnic cleansing going on in which, again, Netanyahu is trying to drive out Palestinians away from Gaza so that he can occupy it. However, that is ethnic cleansing. You don't need things to be genocide to condemn it, right? Genocide in of itself is a different crime. All right, but we should be technical with the terms because definitions matter and, you know, words mean things, right? Regardless, fucking hell. Regardless, oh my god, what the fuck?
Raider. Over there.
Shit, I'm sorry. I'm throwing. Oh no.
Heavy shield?
Yeah, heavy shield. I had heavy shield. Oh my god. Did they have heavy shield?
That's what I'm thinking.
Jesus. It's okay.
For Stephen, when he debated Norm Finkelstein, an established historian and specialist in Holocaust history, about the Israel-Gaza occupation. Now, Norm is somebody who has a PhD from Princeton. He opens by citing the writings of several prominent scholars on the issue of the genocide in Gaza, because when people do research, they read books. In fact, all of the other debaters opened with much more knowledge than Stephen, who just comes.
Oh, I don't think people even read books though. Like that's the issue, is that your assumption is that people even read fucking books in the first place. Like no, ain't nobody reading fucking books. Okay, I'm sorry. Nobody who is a fucking lefty even like reads books ever, like either. Like there's no like fucking big push to read books. Like, do you think that Hassan reads? Like, do you really think Hassan even reads an article or even beyond like several paragraphs that even just support his point? And fuck off.
In swinging with a Zionist playbook accusing those Arabs of being too darn violent, basically. Where apparently asked why he doesn't read full books, he simply admits to Googling around when something sounds fishy and then taking various passages out of context, as if singular quotes are all that's in a book where none of the words are related to one another. You can tell he takes his approach in the following clips, by the way.
I never hear about the fact that the majority of the land that was acquired happened by purchases from Jewish organizations of Palestinian Arabs of the Ottoman Empire before the mandatory period in 1920 even started. Funnily enough, King Abdullah of Jordan was quoted as saying the Arabs are as prodigal in selling their land as they are in weeping about it. That's part of the reason. That is exactly
you have not read him.
What he said.
I've read him.
You read him, you don't understand him. He said right here.
Believe me, I'm a lot more literate than you, Mr. Borelli.
I believe the guy that wrote this stuff.
Wikipedia said.
That's great. You don't even speak Hebrew. You call yourself an Israeli historian. We're all on different ground.
I just want, if I can just respond.
Well, no, I'm just saying that there were two tricks. That's fine. There were two tricks that are being played here that I think is interesting. One is you guys claim that the Leahy was trying to forge an alliance with Nazi Germany because of a shared ideology.
Damn, this fucking 1.5 times speed almost makes him seem normal.
That's what they said.
Yeah, but hold on, no, wait. No. It's about what you said. You brought that up to imply that Zionism must be inextricably linked.
I'm sorry. You're putting words in my mouth. He starts doing his regular prodding debate shtick, chuckling and sneering, but when his conversation is with established historians, people who have respect for one another.
Yeah, I mean, if Hutch watched this part, then Hutch was right. Like, fucking Finkelstein sounds like fucking deranged over here, right?
It feels different. It's no longer engaging. It just kind of becomes embarrassing posturing to watch. He is sitting at the big kids table, but nobody in the room seems impressed. Even the person he's arguing alongside seemed to wish he would just stop talking.
That Hamas was responsible for significant atrocities, and they made sure to include the plural.
There's a lot of tricky language being employed here. Do you think the 850?
It's called attaching value to words and not talking like a motor mouth.
You're saying from day one you believe this particular thing. You clearly don't. You clearly don't believe this thing.
From day one, I
said people died. That's not controversial.
Wait, hold on. If I may.
That's not controversial.
Mr. Bonnell, I attach value to words.
You said that.
When I was, Mr. Bonnell, please slow down the speech and attempt to listen.
The court is not asked at this present phase of the proceedings to determine whether South Africa's allegations of genocide are well-founded. They're not well-founded. They're not even well-founded. The point is, you said that plausible was a high standard. It's absolutely not. It is a misrepresentation of the strength of the case against Israel, just like the majority of the quotes they have in this case are. And also, you said it was an extremely well-founded case. They spend like 1/4 of all of the quotations, some even pulled from the Goldstone report, they try to actually deal with the intent part.
He starts talking about playing tricks and argumentative strategies to obfuscate the conversation, and it just seems to confuse those adults in the room. Why doesn't he just stay on topic? Understandably, this draws a lot of emotion from Norm Finkelstein, who early on realizes Destiny is treating this gravely severe issue with the tact and respect of his regular pedantic internet debates.
I understand the state of mind, but for genocide, there is, it's called dolus specialis. It's a highly special intent. Did you read the case? It is
Mr.
a highly
Borelli,
special intent.
I'm going to ask you again.
Genocide. Yes.
Please stop displaying your imbecility.
Okay, I'm sorry if you think the Declaration of Independence is
Don't put on public display that you're a moron. At least have the self-possession to shut up. Did I read the case?
putting my display on camera. You're putting yours in books, okay?
I read the case around 4 times. I read all of the majority opinion, the declarations. I read Aaron Barak's declaration.
Then why are you lying and saying plausible high standard?
Because I said, even reaching the benchmark of plausibility is a very high standard in the world. It's the equivalent of a regional player qualifying for an Olympics. It's still 2 steps removed. You may not be on the team, and you may not get a medal, but to get qualified, which in this context is the equivalent of plausible.
Wait, is Finkelstein in this one specifically? Is Finkelstein in this situation like trying to argue that there's a genocide going on? Like he's trying to prove like, oh yeah, it gets close to a genocide? I think that's what he's trying to do. But yeah, regardless, again, with the genocide, like for example, in the Bosnian genocide, they had tractors placed like months there beforehand for like I think the Bosnian genocide happened over the course of 2 months. I remember that there was the Srebrenica decrees, which is like decrees 6 and 7 or something like that, and basically it detailed out private orders in order to cause as much terror and harm and fear among the populace as much as possible in order to maximize an untenable living condition. They also marched in, kidnapped the men, and then kill them in the middle of the night or torture them to death, oftentimes sexually as well. And then they also had concentration camps, the equivalent of they hurried the Bosnian boys and the men onto death buses, in which then they transferred to empty buildings and then executed en masse in football fields. And then a lot of the mass graves were actually essentially made there. And then yeah, and then after people started accusing and found evidence of genocide, what the Serbs did was that they essentially dug up the bones of the Bosniaks again, and then they basically replanted them and scattered them across multiple locations in order to make it look like it's not like a mass grave. So basically, like they tried to erase the evidence of genocide by digging up land in order to relocate the corpses and stuff. Don't ask me how I know so much. I was there back then. Okay. Don't ask me which side I was on. Okay. Good luck.
You must be doing something pretty horrible.
After this spectacular display of being out of one's depth, I was curious what his reaction and wrap-up stream would focus on, and it became very clear that he instead felt more slighted by Norm than anything else.
I don't think I bring it.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. Entertain the stream. Good luck.
Why does she go to the bathroom so much, shit? Hold on, chat. I can't read you. Can't read you, chat. Yeah, for real. Need some fucking multivitamins. I mean, honestly, hands in the air. If she drinks as much as I do, just talking to the fucking boys on Discord, all I'm gonna say is I be needing to go to the bathroom. I be needing to go to the bathroom. Yeah, Norman Finkelstein was pretty bad faith. Always has been, always will be. Shrimp ass. I think the best meme to come out of it though was the Mr. Borelli. Mr. Borelli. Yeah, he fucking sued the fuck out of his people that were running his, was it a Substack page? Just because he didn't realize that telling people that they can keep their profits leaves him out of a couple $1,000s on the table. Mr. Torelli, Mr. Borelli, Mr. Bonelli. EVE Online? My fucking dad played EVE Online.
You finally opened up a chat. Nice.
I don't like to read them usually. They make me feel sad.
Why?
I don't know, man.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna press play now. Okay, good luck.
Any of that in this debate. When you start looking at his other political opinions, you start to see like, or like every single opinion just becomes so obvious and predictable, and it's all just like super partisan, like anti-Western bullshit, basically. How much of this is academic gatekeeping? He tried to gatekeep, but it's not academic. Whatever he does is far outside of the world of academia. I don't know. It's just I would just call it trolling.
Now, he might say that he bases all of his views on facts and opinions, but his views on Gaza have not been inspired to become more nuanced. He hasn't really reflected. In this stream highlight from August 2025, he labels Pali protesters as being broadly anti-Semitic, seeing Israeli Jews and American Jews as the same, and also calls the story of Israel's founding inspiring as a justification for why so many Americans care. So he just, like, I don't know, bought the Zionist line or whatever.
Israeli Jews and American Jews are very different people. I know that anti-Semites like to lump them all together, and people like to lump them together for some dumb reason. And the pro-Pali crowd, well, what's the difference between them and anti-Semitic? But old people in America just love Israel. It's just a very historical thing. They just very much love they just all grew up loving Israel. Like I said before, Israel had a really inspiring story. It's like pre-90s or whatever. So I mean, it's pretty natural.
So again, we see the flattening of everybody to the left of him as just being completely unreasonable and unreachable bad faith actors. Like
He just gets around the memes about him harassing other tenants in his building. Yeah, and the fucking memes about him ethnically cleansing his apartment.
Plenty of people on the left have said it. So many people on the left have said that you can be anti-Zionist without being anti-Semitic. It's a very well-held position. It just kind of seemed like lying at this point. And of course, this is after the infamous stream where he went to Israel and joked with IDF soldiers that they shouldn't take videos of war crimes because it's impacting their popularity and public image, which he would later claim was just an obvious joke.
I think Israel has unique issues. There's the one piece of advice I'll give you, okay? If you're joining the IDF, okay? Leave your fucking cell phone at home and stop taking stupid fucking videos, okay? Because everybody's fucking you with them, okay? And if you see a soldier, okay, go into a fucking drawer, and listen, if you want to fucking wear a dress and you think it's funny, just don't fucking take a fucking video picture of it, okay? Jesus.
While that may serve Stephen as a method of...
Atlas? Q up?
I'm sorry, I'm putting a shirt on.
Okay.
Distancing himself from a morally reprehensible thing to say, it reveals how seriously he took the very idea of Israel perpetuating genocide to begin with. It was always a joke to him, apparently. It's worth noting that one of the sticking points of the Finkelstein conversation had to do with whether the IDF had intentionally broken rules of engagement, which Stephen kept saying there was no way to determine, but would you believe that the historians and people who actually study history turned out to be right? This need for confirmation from sources also extended to his position on if people in Gaza were dying on malnutrition, which he seemed to think wasn't happening even as shortly after it was verified this was happening. Things like this, you might not find if you Google around every question you have. They're more what you find through actual research and, more importantly, scholarship. If you engage with these highly nuanced topics in a deep and lasting way, not just treating sensitive issues like stat points and loadouts, you can switch between argument matches. Now, why did someone like Stephen feel the need to enter this incredibly fraught arena that he previously had very little stake or interest in? Because he does debate. That's what he does. It doesn't matter or not if he's an expert, he will simply try to play one. This current affairs article gives another summary of Destiny's debate performances, this time in a one-on-one with the article writer, and I encourage everyone to read through this piece to see how often easily pushed back Destiny can be in his debates, where once a writer has the ability to remove themselves from his constant haranguing and fact-check and source their arguments, many of his assertions can be picked apart. And this goes for anybody in a debate, by the way. Nobody's a perfect debater. And that's not to say it's true of all topics he argues, but of the Gaza genocide, it certainly is, and his continued insistence on weighing in on the issue, despite his lack of care, perfectly illustrates his defiant streak, where simply because people continue to inform him he's advocating for genocide, he will spitefully mock dead Gazan civilians, the suffering of real people, the ongoing cultural destruction and wholesale slaughter of civilians. For him, it comes down
because people are especially cringe when it comes to talking about it.
To edgy jokes, so he can make his critics mad. It also shows through his ignorance of the weight of these issues how little these positions matter to him, aside from being able to soak up a new spotlight. Just like he doesn't really seem to see his alt-right opponents as people with genuine convictions and feelings, Destiny very much doesn't seem to see people dying in a genocide, or even peaceful protesters, as very real people anyway. They all seem to exist as abstracted pieces in a game that he can simply use to further his arguments. Does this seem like someone who understands the gravity of a genocide? Watch this 2024 reaction when he watches a Palestinian protester get shot.
No. Pallywood doesn't mean that it's necessarily fake. kind of. What Pallywood means is that you're capturing intentional video footage to sell a certain narrative about what's going on, basically. So Pallywood might be, well, this, right? So the idea is that like 4 innocent civilians are like walking up and you just want like a clip here of the IDF shooting them for no reason because they're civilians with white flags. And you kind of ignore the fact that like, okay, well, they're in a battle zone in an area they were told to evacuate from and they're going back to try to release somebody that was captured. Like that's like Pallywood, I think. You're essentially provoking the enemy to take what is largely a justified action and then trying to say that it's like indiscriminate civilian killing. It's like a setup. It's not fake, but how do you respond by Alex saying they should have given another warning? Well, I mean, what do you say? Like, let's say they do one warning shot and the guys pause a little bit and then they keep walking. Then what do you say? Well, they should give a second warning shot? But you know that when you're crossing a neighbor's yard, yeah, if he catches us, he's gonna shot, we're gonna get fucking trouble, so you don't get caught. But that's the expectation. You would never go to a neighbor's yard and get caught and be like, well, you weren't out there telling us we weren't allowed to be here. You weren't out here shouting at us. You didn't say blah, blah, blah. You know you're fucking up, right? You know that. But something happened over the past, like, I don't know, what, 10 or 20 years where people feel like every wrong thing they do, it's not actually wrong. It's actually fully justified. Actually, let me tell you the 52 reasons why pirating is actually based. And at the end of the day, it actually helps companies. And actually, it's all digital at the end of the day. So there's no real thieving because they still have the original thing. And actually, I should be able to say and do whatever I want to a cop, but I need 50 million warnings. And why did he break my window after shouting at me twice and he didn't even pepper spray? Why didn't he blah, blah, blah? Like, no, what the fuck? Like, I feel like sometimes people do wrong things. They knew they do wrong things. You wouldn't justify. You know you're doing some wrong shit. You get caught, you're fucked. That's it.
If you're wondering where he stands on Israel-Palestine, here's him saying conservatives are like Hamas after the recent shootings of 2 National Guard members. So, historically literate as always, this is, by the way, right after his public appearances after Charlie Kirk's assassination, saying this.
You said, if you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive, Donald Trump shouldn't.
Yeah, but then he appeared in public to debate people, right? Like, why the fuck would he ever do this where he goes in public and then fucking debates people if like, he's just, like, yeah, after this, I mean, doesn't it show that he's willing to stand on his principles? Like, not just as a, I mean, wouldn't it be a really bad business decision if he fucking died? Like, he's unable to gain more clout and money if he fucking died right here, right?
Have been president for a second term. Why would you say that, and what did you mean by that?
Because I think Donald Trump is constantly using the most violent and the most extreme rhetoric possible. I don't understand how you can continually support somebody who, you know, laughs about people dying in boats in Venezuela, who laughs about bombing Iran, you know, even though we're supposed to be the country of no new wars. A guy who, like, at every opportunity he has to take a different path, he continues to make statements basically encouraging violence. On Fox and Friends, they asked him twice if he would disavow violence, and he can't do it without blaming the left.
And on the subject of genocide, I want to call attention to his habit to seemingly celebrate political violence, like the recent Charlie Kirk things, but also quotes like after the attempted assassination of Trump in 2024.
Fuck it, fuck the dude, the firefighter guy, fuck Trump, fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay, just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, you don't, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, you know, getting blown away, whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter.
And you may be saying, well, wait, I thought he didn't like political violence. I thought he was against all the rioting and performative virtue signaling. Well, yes, but then think back to Stephen's guiding principles. Is it convenient for him? Does it benefit him? And when you see how even he knows all the controversies benefit him, the model makes sense. There's no such thing as bad press. Desi has been around the online left enough to know that people much further to the left than him can also make edgy jokes, don't deal in identity politics as their whole identity, are more qualified than a stereotype of a campus leftist. He's debated people like that, has interacted with people like that, but it's easier for him to simply pretend that brand of the left doesn't exist because it allows him to look like a more reasonable, liberal alternative. Again, it's marketing. He's selling the image, the sizzle. When asked why he doesn't feature or debate them, he will simply say they can't be reached.
Also, remember, when you read messages like this, Destiny's for the status quo. He's a poor boy at heart who's benefiting from the system now, so of course he wants to support it. This is exclusively said by white people who grew up rich in this country and are just repeating shit that they heard from other radicalized classmates at whatever private university that their parents are paying for. Every single time, it is always these people. It is never anybody with an ounce of actual political experience anywhere, ever. It's always people who have zero political goals in mind and they just want to make as much noise as possible because they farm epic likes on their Instagram feeds and everything.
So he goes to talk to the illiterate misogynists who believe in race realism instead, I guess. And that's his appeal. Here's someone who won't tell you not to say edgy jokes, but also thinks being bisexual and poly is pretty cool. He sells the politics of convenience, a tidy worldview uncomplicated by genuine fervor or ideology. It's a framework uniquely suited to someone like Stephen, rich with established business interests and very little in the way of personal risk. He's a walking billboard for the status quo because it has been very good to him, so...
Is this video even a critique of politics? It's meant to be a shit piece on Stephen, but then like they just play like some of his best clips and best like fucking debate moments. If I just wanted to see like the best of Stephen of like 2020 whatever the fuck, right? Then I would have watched a different video. But instead, like this is meant to be a hit piece. But instead it shows the context. Well, it shows some things out of context, sure, but at the same time, like it does this like weird fucking glazing thing where it's like, oh yeah, even though Stephen is like the best fucking debater ever, reminder that Stephen is like inconsistent and he pretends to be smart, but he's not actually that smart. Also, he hates lefties and fucking for hating lefties. Like that's essentially what it boils down to. And yeah, I don't know, it's just very weak. Like these are very, very weak critiques to me. And yeah, like this all just sounds like them trying to cope and them trying to play like, oh, they're trying to satisfy Daddy Hassan and virtue signal towards that person or something. That's just the way that it comes off. But
why should he ever change? I've talked about his private slurs already, but Destiny defends using things like the N-word as long as it's in private among friends.
But my problem with this entire conversation has been that, like, you talking about it in public, don't you feel like that kind of undermines your entire point of view about...
Okay, so my
not talking
response
about it in
is,
public?
because this argument has been repeated a million times, I think there is a measurable difference between saying I use jokes in private that I wouldn't be comfortable saying in public versus saying the actual jokes I say in private in public. I think there's a measurable difference in that. So, like, for example, I'll go back to the sex answer, right? Like it would be uncomfortable, but like I would be okay like telling like my girlfriend's dad like, yeah, we have sex or we sleep together. I wouldn't be comfortable like graphically describing the acts because I think that there is a measurable difference there.
Yeah, no, I think there's a difference there, certainly, but the reason why you felt the need to elaborate on it or talk about it, and obviously there's been a lot of backlash since you did this, the reason why you felt the need to elaborate was probably because you were worried that if someone leaked it, because you do use it in private, that it might compromise your position, right? Is that correct?
I'm not worried at all. The only thing that happens is that anytime some particular group of people get mad at me, they dig through stuff or they act like stuff has changed. This is literally the stance I've had on language for the past 7 years.
This same podcast would feature Hassan, then an up-and-coming streamer, calling Destiny out as well. Coincidentally, I'm sure after the popularity surge of people like Vosh and Hassan, and being criticized for positions like this in Rittenhouse, Destiny began an anti-leftist arc. And when I started writing this, I was perplexed as to why Steven hated leftists so much. He certainly has more public vitriol towards them than literal white supremacists. As I learned more about him, it clicked into place. It's because Steven loves his status quo, and the left wants it reformed. He sees the left as some of the only people who have ever successfully hurt his bottom line, with things like the Twitch ban that he will not stop talking about. And also some of the only people who haven't accepted his shifting positions out of convenience. And those two things, his money and taking criticism, are maybe the worst things to confront him about. Like, we're getting to it, but even in lawsuits about sexual coercion and abuse, he doesn't take shit half as seriously. And it's probably because those things aren't happening to him personally, but being criticized by people he thought were friends, that's cause for war. Destiny hasn't met a controversy he didn't willingly engage with because it's all content, it's all entertainment, so it's all good. And the aforementioned N-word stance is a perfect example of how he delineates the professional stances he takes as a debater in public, but how he will compromise those purported values in private and justify those lapses to his audience. And then, when other people call his bullshit out for what it is, he doesn't reflect, he doesn't empathize, something he has trouble with, remember. I want to add to the empathy clip a more recent clip where he talks about how he doesn't even really get the part of the brain that cares or gets defensive about family.
When I'm fighting online, if people bring out my son, I typically don't bring my son out in public to show off or to talk about or whatever. So I feel like it's weird when people attack me on like what Nathan thinks or whatever. He's 14, he's doing his own life, figuring his shit out, fucking he says retarded shit right now. In a year or two, he's less retarded, but he's a 14-year-old, right? Unironically, I have no fucking, whatever part exists in the brain for like last name and family and all that, I don't have that at all in my brain. So let me intellectualize this. I'm sorry, because I have to come back here because I was just responding off for what I feel. I guess for an ordinary person, you actually might feel emotionally attacked if somebody were to attack the reputation or whatever of your dad. That actually could have been a genuine response that Fuentes felt, actually. That could have been true, actually. That's totally possible. Probably pretty normal, actually.
And then this clip is probably also good to just show about his understanding or lack thereof of why people might care about things.
Have you ever talked about like the sex offender registry?
We haven't, no.
Why the fuck does that exist?
No,
like, if I was moving into a neighborhood, I would much rather know, like, who's been, convicted of arson, robbery, murder. I would have a much higher interest on this than, like, who is on the sex offender registry.
With the sex offender registry, it's pretty easy to chart the path of, we want to make sure we know where people are that have committed sex crimes, because those are really bad, and we want to protect our children from them. If we know who those people are that are going to prey on children, it'll make it easier for us to do it, so we should have a sex offender list, right?
Why not just the same answer that you just gave for arson? You can always look up people's criminal records, no?
You could, but there is, I think that the interest in protecting property from being burned down.
It's because people are like very particular about protecting kids, and I acknowledge where it comes from. Okay, I understand. Okay, well, whatever, man. Okay, whatever soy shit people put out. Oh, the intrinsic desire to protect kids and to love them with all of your being and whatever the fuck. But yeah, it seems like one step above to have like the sex offender registry, as if like at any time these motherfuckers will just lash out and just commit like 5 more grapes in a row. It just makes no sense. Like if somebody, why not just have something like the fucking murder registry or something like that? The murder registry where, oh yeah, anybody who, has done manslaughter before and is now out of prison, you might as well provide like a list of these people, right? But we don't have a list of these people. No one ever puts a pin. Like even though like I probably would think that, murder is most definitely worse than rape, right? But then, I think it's just because of the visceral, I think it's just because of how much it projects from men. I think that because men, I think it's just projection. I really do think it's projection. We're just like, you know what? When I look at my daughter, I want to fuck her, which is why we have a sex offender registry. So then I can feel safe and I can feel as though I'm not one of them or some shit like that. I don't know. It has to be some like fucking related, like fucking man sex reason because their testosterone is running so high and they're like 5 seconds away from like raping the nearest like kid or the nearest like fucking woman on the sidewalk or some shit. Fuck me.
Is lower than protecting children from sexual assault. Whereas with arson, there's just not that big. There's just not that.
I don't want my shit to get burned down.
but okay.
In response for being called out for saying the N-word to a point where it drove a wedge between Destiny and a friend he was doing a podcast with at the time, he wrote the N-word manifesto, the first in a long line of...
Yeah, nobody is like advocating for not protecting their kids or anything like that. But it's very clear. Like, for example, if you look at somebody like Counterpoints, right? Who all he talks about is protecting kids. He talks about protecting kids so hard that he talks really, ironically enough, creepily about kids. Like, he talks about protecting kids, but then he'll never stop mentioning all the sexual things related to kids online or something like that, right? It kind of goes back around like a horseshoe, where you talk about protecting kids so much to the point where you sound like absolutely deranged or something, or creepy. It's the same thing with like men in normie society. Like, you just copy and paste like 50 trillion counterpoints, and then you basically get like modern society, right? And modern society is not good, because clearly for all the protection that we do for kids or anything like that, we haven't gotten rid of pedophiles. We haven't done any of that. People keep saying, oh, this media here, this shit like produces more pedos or something. My ninja, pedos have existed for thousands and thousands of years, and not only that, they're going to keep existing at around the same fucking rates. It's not like pedo rates have gone like higher or lower. The only thing you can measure is if pedos will always exist in society, or like people who sex offend will always exist in society, the least you can do, at the very least, is to prevent more from happening by determining the cause and effect and the correlations of such actions, right? Providing people with a better support network, or with a better community, or with friends instead of isolating people, then yeah, like these are the kinds of things that actually prevent things like child rape, okay? Or any kind of child molestation kind of activities. How many times have I heard about people like essentially, I don't know, like getting caught, like fucking plugging in their fucking ass into fuck me, like fucking molesting a boy's like little weenie, all right, while like I don't know, while also preaching about the safety of like kids or some shit like that, right? How many times have we seen that? Too many times, right? But yeah, anyway, whatever.
Great arguments he presents on stream, some of which we've already mentioned.
We need to have this conversation rather than the possibility that you could just say, Steven, you know what? Yeah, it's kind of messed up. I'll try to not do that anymore. Why is that so hard for you?
Why is it so hard for you to just fuck out of my private conversations? And then we never have to talk about it. Look how easy that is.
I have nothing to do with your private conversation.
Oh, well then great. Then we don't have anything to talk about.
Well, as a matter of fact, we do. Because no,
okay, so you do care about my private conversations.
The reason why
nobody knows I've said the N-word. They only know that I've said that I say it.
Hold up.
But that's the whole point. The reason why we're having this conversation is because you, at some point or at multiple points throughout your...
The only reason we're having this conversation now is because you guys wanted to talk about it.
I know, but isn't it... Look, the reason...
Wouldn't it be easier if you could just not worry about my private conversations? Wouldn't that be...
How about if you were just like, I don't say it anymore, just like...
You want me to lie about it? You want to make you feel bad? Here.
His first line of defense to address this issue, that he says the N-word in private conversations and basically thinks it's okay, is to burn bridges with anybody who criticized him, then say that two of the podcast members, both black men who took issue with Destiny saying the N-word, according to Destiny, don't care about black people.
If you're a black person and you talk to me and you say, Destiny, what do you feel about the N-word? Destiny, how do you feel about reparations? Destiny, why do you think black people have the problems in the US? The answer that I give you is going to be the same as I give anybody, anytime, on any platform, and in any environment. It's always going to be the same. Nothing I do is performative. So I'm not going to, for instance, I'll use Hassan as an example. I'm not going to talk to a black person like Trihex and say, hey, the N-word, it's always bad, brother. Brothers for life, dude. The very first line is TLDR, fuck Nicole, fuck the Surfs TV, fuck Hassan, fuck Bad Bunny, fuck Mike from CCP, that's the Communist Chinese Party, or the Chinese Communist Party, fuck Alabrel, fuck Trihex, all right? That's my first line, because fuck all these people, all right? Firstly. To be clear, I don't think Quarantine gives a fuck about black people, okay? I don't think Cole gives a fuck about black people. At the end of the day, this is a fucking act that these guys put on the internet so that you guys or other people, or maybe even other black people like them, okay? At the end of the day, I don't think they give a fuck about any of these topics or any of these issues. It's all a fucking game to them.
He then goes on to explain how nothing he does is performative, but everything they did was a performance. Various trends in his behavior should be getting more familiar by now.
I just want to show you the performance, okay, that these fucking pieces of shit put on for any of these issues. You want to come online and you want to be a fucking actor, or you want to fucking grift because you think that you're black enough to get away with it, that's cool. But, you know, if you're going to come at me and you're going to tell me and I'm doing the same, well, hold on, we have a problem because you're in my face now accusing me of what you were literally doing. I can't imagine the fucking shame I would carry for me to use my race to try to propagate my fame on some fucking debate and to pretend that I actually give a fuck about any of these issues. What a disgusting fucking piece of shit to do that, okay?
And while accusing others of not caring, he then lists the reasons he cares and how he was hurt, and would you believe it, it's mostly just business opportunities.
It cost me a ton of potential positive coverage. It cost me a potentially big relationship in media, and it cost me a lot of fucking like LSF and subreddit coverage. When Keemstar came onto the Scuffed podcast, I probably could have had a really chill podcast with him. I know I can. You know why? Because I can get along with fucking anybody. That's why me and Dick Masterson had one of the best PKA podcasts of all time for 4 hours. Because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about what other content creators think about me, and I don't even give a fuck about what you guys think about me at the end of the day. There are certain principles that I have, I stand for them, and I will espouse them because at the end of the day, they're all you have, right? At the end of the day, when you go to sleep at night, okay, your friends aren't going to be there, okay, telling you that you're a good person. Your fans aren't going to be there, you know, on your fucking laptop laptop, wishing you, to go to sleep. Your parents aren't going to be there on the phone, send you to sleep. It's all you. It's all you. You're all alone. Just you, your thoughts, everything you've been, everything you're going to be, what you are right now. And at the end of the day, I want to be comfortable with that person, so I'm not doing anything for anybody else, okay?
And another reason I wanted to go through how he associates with people and argues earlier was because you can see how it applies to Stephen's now established cycle of treating every accusation and controversy he gets into like a debate, where the solution is simply to talk himself out. We're going to see this more in the upcoming manifestos, where Destiny will be called out for preying on women and then proceed to make a long-winded research paper to discredit someone based on their character, while also downplaying the truth behind their claims. Even now, when people criticize him, he will take to open harassment if all other routes fail. In his servant recently, as of writing, he's openly doxing people who've accused him, with a lawsuit going on. It is more convenient for him to simply continue being an edgelord troll, basically indistinguishable from a random 4chan poster. He essentially doesn't have to change any aspect of his personality in private, despite proudly selling his brand as a rational liberal. The problem that Destiny seems to not want to take into account is that in rationalizing using hateful, racist, and derogatory language in private, yet on a massive public platform, he is in fact simply justifying things like white people saying the N-word amongst themselves. But like, as a joke, right? It's not intended to be racist or derogatory, he'd probably say. Well, Stephen, not only is there no accounting for the real intention behind that, but there's no accounting for how people will then use his own justification to say those things, as long as it's in private, among friends. Who knows what's happening? Taking positions like these allow him to still be that same edgy gamer bro he was when he started, and has the added benefit of, I'm sure, seeming cool and chill when he's hanging with red pill podcasters selling racist jokes, but that's just speculation. What's not so speculative, however, is the ways in which Destiny will use this in private cover to try and avoid taking accountability, taking, again, the debate strategy. He's been consistent, at least, in that his opinions have seemingly always been malleable to fit into an escape clause. Political violence is bad when it's something those Arabs are doing, but funny when it happens to people he doesn't like. The people he doesn't like simply determined by the inconvenience they have in his life. Hypothetically, being a progressive, sure, he can argue that, but why not say slurs behind closed doors and fuck fascist Barbies and continue isolating any potential progressive allies by constantly doubling down under any perceived criticism? And if you're a fan of
Because a lot of progressive allies are genuinely just scumbags. Like, have you ever just considered that? Like, some of them are just genuinely bad people. In fact, most of them. Like, why is BreadTube dead today? The reason why BreadTube is dead today isn't because of people like Destiny. It's because they keep on backstabbing each other and determining everybody is, like, not progressive enough and not, like, pure enough or not, like, good enough, right? There's an entire discourse back then on how if you're a former Nazi, then you'll forever be a Nazi, even if you switch to becoming a lefty. Like, that's an entire thing. It's so retarded how they're trying to paint him as like, oh yeah, if we didn't have Destiny, we would have socialism by now. But meanwhile, like, people like Dead Domain would skip over the fact that Hassan's orbiters have openly called for violence on Destiny and shit like that. But like, okay, it's okay. I understand. But, you know.
Destiny and love his transgressive brand of edgy liberalism, I gotta ask, can you really trust the political analysis of someone who is so plainly motivated by their self-interests? His politics are born out of convenience, not because he feels any kind of responsibility to the people who have given him a platform. In fact, he's talked about
we have to have some way to destroy the fucking shredders, okay? There is absolutely no way we can't do it without destroying shredder. We have to have a shredder destroyed.
how he doesn't feel that at all.
I thought you were aware that the shredder was right fucking there, though, to be honest.
Yeah, but I would have destroyed the shredder by now. Yeah, I would have destroyed it by now.
In the debate space. I think the callous, casual way he treats the genocide in Gaza shows how detached he really is from these issues, he argues, in that he seems to see that emotional detachment as a debating virtue. Except he also can't help himself but be a condescending shitpoker on social media, mocking the deaths in Gaza, because while it might not mean anything to him, he knows the emotional weight controversial issues carry for others. And he seems to revel in the fact that other people take tragedy seriously, while he sees the world without empathy or understanding. He treats politics, these structures that tangibly affect people's lives, as essentially similar.
Like, I would argue that Stephen is not good at practicing, like, how to display empathy or understanding. I think that he does have understanding and empathy. However, like just like any other person, in fact, probably even more. However, like him displaying that and him actually showing affection or him showing any degree of like care for other people is at a minimal. Like, he is very, very bad at doing that. I think that men in general do this. This is not like a Stephen exclusive thing where, oh my god, Stephen is so cool for doing this or whatever. Like, and this is not like a pro. This is a con. Okay, having understanding and empathy while at the same time you don't know how to partake in displaying it, while also preaching that you have a lot of understanding and empathy, is a flaw. Okay. However, at the same time, that does not mean that he is devoid of it. And I think that any critiques where it goes like, oh, well, he's always trying to go to like no empathy. He doesn't actually feel any empathy. Here are all the evidence where he doesn't feel any empathy. Like, that's just retarded to me. I think that people who like wielding empathy as a weapon, like Mr. Girl or Hassan, are much more dangerous and much more problematic, because these people know how empathy appeals to certain groups of people, and they know how people will react to them, which is exactly why they'll weaponize it in that way in order to get people to do what they want, right? Like, for example, trying to weaponize empathy for the people of Gaza among the left in order to against people like Destiny, right? And Mr. Girl using, oh, I'm an empath, right? In order to wield his current abusive relationship with his girlfriend, right? And there are all kinds of examples where people are able to use this weapon in order to manipulate, in order to get what they want. I think that autistic people who feel empathy, but then they don't know how to display empathy, I think these people are generally like more genuine and like more empathetic, and like they tend to act out the empathy in certain ways that normies cannot, I guess. But then at the same time, it is a flaw because people do require some degree of empathy that is not manipulative in order to like have relationships with other people. Like if you just simply said, well, I'm just waiting for you to get on with it after you're like talking about your mom who just died. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what you want me to say about it. I mean, your mom is dead, and that's it. But like I just don't know what to say. Like, sure, you may be feeling that empathy, but in of itself, displaying that kind of indifference to recounting of their trauma in of itself is a harmful action. So like that is why I don't want to glaze Steven too much on that part, because I don't think he does a good job at doing it. But anyway.
To his esports days. Every debate is just another match. Every stage, another map. Every counterpoint or breakdown from an opponent is another win on his scorecard. When you're debating flat earthers or young earth creationist crazies, fact-based pushback is easy and plentiful, but taking the same approach with highly sensitive historical issues and nuanced discussions is what has led to most of the debate controversies and falling out Destiny has experienced in the last few years. And tangentially related aside on his inability to see the world.
Empathy has to be displayed like a performance? Gross, you're not selling me on this? Me? Are you talking about me? To some degree, yes. Absolutely. What are you fucking talking about? If you're like working in an office and a coworker went up to you and said like, oh yeah, I just broke up with my girlfriend or whatever the fuck, right? Like, would you say that you have to be like, well, I feel empathetic, I guess. That's what I feel right now. And then that's it? Like, you're not going to say anything else? Or like they're waiting for a bigger response from you, right? Like that's the normal response to give because it creates a better world for everyone.
Empathetically, probably the most famous moment of reflection for Steven came from a mushroom trip gone awry in 2018 when he did mushrooms for the very first time and additionally did way too much. This led to a stream and follow-up accounts where Steven has talked about having what some people might call an ego.
Okay, sorry. I must be trolling. I must be getting trolled. I'm getting trolled. Okay, I understand. I'm getting trolled. Okay, I'm getting trolled.
Chatter's
That's
the
fine.
type of guy to say thoughts and
That's
prayers.
fine. That's fine. That motherfucker is trolling me. I understand.
Death experience. And I find this particular clip interesting
Never mind. I'm
because
getting
something he
irritated.
mentions, like his son having a bad father and hating himself for being manipulative.
So like sitting on a couch and for no reason, my heart is just like fucking thumping in my chest and I don't know why. And I just feel very anxious. A few days of hardcore anhedonia.
I look back at these texts sometimes, it was so unbelievable. I'm like texting my kid's mom saying shit like, I'm a horrible person, like take Nathan away from me, I don't ever want to see him again, like I'm a horrible don't, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'd never say anything like this in my life. I'm the most high-driven, like confident person. It was like crazy to me to see it.
For now, I bring it up because these moments of genuine reflection on his personality are few and far between. These spaces are interesting first and foremost as an example of the rare times he shows doubt. The other most notable example of this is during his post-debate wrap-up streams, where he will often criticize his performance and pick apart his debating strategies. A lot of these types of streams where he recollects and reflects on his performance just come back to justifying how and why he's going to double down next, despite these brief snippets of doubt, because he doesn't see these opinions as anything more, again, than game pieces, swapping out those that best suit him given who his opponent will be. So, for example, he will take the rational centrist approach, wearing his non-conviction as a badge of honor, like in the Israel-Gaza conflict, where he will acknowledge Israel might overstep or is the aggressor in a debate with a rabid Zionist like Ben Shapiro.
From an Israeli perspective, if I were Israeli, I would actually want Israel to be less loose about sending its soldiers in on the ground level. So Israel's attempting.
Just for the record, okay, because people love bringing up his interactions with other pundits a lot, all right? He doesn't let any of them get away with shit, okay? Like, he'll always push back. But at the same time, he'll reflect upon the debate and he'll like say like, yeah, you know what I've done was a failure. I think trying to have discussions with all these pundits and playing on the big stage was a failure, because ultimately if the takeaway from the conversation was, oh well, looks like we just have had a good conversation, I wish people would talk like us these days, is ultimately a failure. The reason why it's a failure is because you're not actually making a change for the better. You're just trying to like your conversation with them, that in which you tone down your language, in which you tone down your interactions, like you're not actually displaying the full alarmism that you should be displaying, is ultimately not good for like the world at large if you want to actually create political action. Your goal there isn't to have a conversation, it's to address them as the enemy, and you're trying to negotiate with them at the negotiating table because they are the enemy. So yeah, like this is why like even Destiny says like because oh my god, Because DGGers will defend like a lot of his interactions and a lot of his debates and conversations with other people, but I know that all I know is that I do agree with the fact that yeah, they are in fact kind of failures. But yeah,
minimize civilian casualties, and the cost of that has been the highest military death toll that Israel has had since the 1973 Yom Kippur War.
In terms of broadly speaking, I generally oppose settlement expansion. Is a thing that Israel does incorrectly that I think is kind of like provocative to at least all the Palestinians. I think that however, one area where I'll break with Ben is I think that minimizing civilian casualties and everything is very, very, very important. I think on the Israeli side, I don't think it's important so that the U.S. will stay with them, because I think the U.S. is probably going to stick with Israel as long as they don't do anything crazy. And I don't even think it matters for the international community. It definitely doesn't matter for the UN, because Jesus Christ. However, I think it's really, really, really important that I think that in the Middle East, broadly speaking, I think that leadership, especially in the Gulf, has gotten over the Palestinian issue. I think that leadership is kind of like, they don't care as much anymore, but the populations still care quite a bit. And I think that the main issue that Israel could run into is if the civilian death toll does climb too high, and if they start to hit this 40, 50, 60,000 number of civilian casualties, they run the risk of the civilian populations in the surrounding Middle Eastern states becoming so antagonistic.
But then he'll repeat Zionist talking points and basically excuse the Israeli genocide because Arabs are violent. So on one hand, he can push back on an idea, but on the other, he can then work in service of it, but never can he be accused of taking a side on these fragile, fraught, complex issues.
She's currently talking about.
Sorry, I'm going to repeat it real quick.
I think that leadership, because I think the U.S. is probably going to stick with Israel as long as they don't do anything crazy. And I don't even think it matters for the international community. It definitely doesn't matter for the UN, because Jesus Christ. However, I think it's really, really, really important that I think that in the Middle East, broadly speaking, I think that leadership, especially in the Gulf, has gotten over the Palestinian issue. I think that leadership is kind of like, they don't care as much anymore, but the populations still care quite a bit. And I think that the main issue that Israel could run into is if the civilian death toll does climb too high, and if they start to hit this 40, 50, 60,000 number of civilian casualties, they run the risk of the civilian populations in the surrounding Middle Eastern states becoming so antagonistic.
But then he'll repeat Zionist talking points and basically excuse the Israeli genocide because Arabs are violent. So on one hand, he can push back.
Wait, what? I don't see the point. Okay, all right.
On an idea, but on the other, he can then work in service of it, but never
Amazing
can he be accused
video.
of taking a side on
Flawless
these fragile,
delivery.
fraught, complex issues, but he can always argue them. I guess being a reasonable liberal is just refusing to ever take a position on things. This constant shifting for his own pure convenience extends to nearly every other aspect of his personality, his opinions, and unsurprisingly, how he interacts with others. If something becomes inconvenient for him, like say a relationship, he will simply retaliate in the most extreme manner, it seems. So now is the time to talk about how Destiny spent years using his platform as a personal harem.
I can't, man.
Oh my god. Okay, all right, whatever.
Bob 7 drop out hard. Bob 7 drop out.
Remember when I brought up the
Let's just
Bob
get
7
over
thing,
it.
where Destiny made an elaborate manifesto and provided several hours worth of DMs, videos, and other receipts to back up the claims Destiny was making about Bob 7 being a sex pest? That's kind of what I'm going to do here. Much like doxing, Steven has spoken publicly about how you shouldn't cavort around with members of your fan base. It's a bad idea.
So another question would be, I know you're not looking for anyone now, but have you ever used your professional status to try to get a girl?
It's kind of a catch-22. It's really funny to say, but honestly, in the semester, you can use that to get girls, but the kind of girls that you get acting that way are usually not the kind that I would want to be within a relationship.
And I say that's like doxing because while Steven seems to know it's wrong, it doesn't stop him from doing it and then justifying it. During his relationship with Melina, Destiny was very open about the relationship being polyamorous, and that she was additionally free to have sex with other guys, while he was free to pursue other girls.
I'd say situationship/married, I guess, depending on the day. No, yeah, we're married. We've been together for like probably about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny.
But how are you not a cuck is what I asked. You know
What
what,
is
a cuck
it?
is?
Yeah, what is a cuck to you, I guess?
You know, someone like Nico, someone who sits in a chair, someone who watches.
No, so wait.
Someone who
Wait.
watches their woman get fucked by another man.
Yeah, I don't sit and watch
okay
my woman
with
get
it.
fucked by another man.
Someone
no.
who allows
Wait,
that.
hold on.
Well, someone
In
who allows
defense of
somebody to be in a
YouTuber,
relationship.
I do
And how do you-
agree that Blue
What?
Hair Destiny. I said in defense of YouTuber, I do agree that Blue Hair Destiny was the best Destiny.
Well, I mean, it was the best arc. He didn't look the best, but you know what? It was the best arc, okay? Like, he was popping off. I think at the peak of it, he was debating Glenn Greenwald with over 20,000 live concurrent viewers, and it was the epic event. Pisco called in afterwards to congratulate him on making Glenn look like a fucking retard. And generally, everybody just feels good, like, in that entire arc. Like, everybody, generally, we were on the up and up, and then everybody was, like, feeling good and shit like that. And then, over time, everything went to shit. There you go.
Expect that to last for the next 5 years.
I mean, it's lasted for 4 years.
And now he's at his lowest.
Yeah.
So I think I'm probably doing okay.
To anyone familiar with being polyamorous, this might sound fairly innocuous, but, and I want to be clear, I'll be showing evidence from Destiny himself to support this in a bit, but Destiny really...
FYI, your backpack is glowing. People can see that. Yeah.
It's
just
a
so you know.
handicap, yeah.
Yeah.
isn't just polyamorous,
because we're so good.
polyamory comes from a place of hedonism. He just wants to fuck a bunch of people. And this hedonism is additionally backed up by a former friend of his. This video by Abba gives some good insight into his mental processes around dating.
For a very long time. We've talked about it on stream, off stream, and I've always been very vocal about the fact that I think he's very fucking dysfunctional with how he handles his dating life, with how
He prioritizes pleasure over everything else. And I think the roots of a lot of these issues in this whole situation is that he prioritizes his own selfish desire. To some degree, your hedonism doesn't bite you in the ass.
No, I think I have a really good engagement with most of my hobbies. I think I do it pretty well. I think that my mental functioning is very high. I think my career is incredibly successful. There are parts of my life that I can improve, but I think that people look at some of the standard markers for trouble and they for some reason project a ton of stuff onto me, but I think I'm living like one of the healthiest, fullest lives that I possibly could be.
Constantly...
While like I don't really want to be too much of a judge for how people engage with hookups and stuff like that. At the same time, I think if ABBA was his personal friend, I think that adds a layer of like credibility to like whatever takes that ABBA is giving. I think that there is a lot of people who engage in hookups in a healthy way, and then there's a lot of people who engage in. I think most people who engage in like a fuck ton of hookups engage with them in an unhealthy way though. And before anybody makes memes about like, oh well, I wish I had that many women, how is it ever a problem? You have to understand that like it's become like it does actually become an addiction to where like you go to the bar every night to pick up random women, you get STDs, and then like you don't really find any real like connection with any of these women that you sleep with. And even though you're racking up like a really high body count, and you cope and you say, you know what, I'm generally a really happy person, the real connection is not there. You're not really getting like anybody who you can relate on like a more spiritual level or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of flaws that come from like being addicted to hookups, and I think that. And I'm not saying that, you know, Destiny has that, but I'm just saying that, yes, there is such a thing out there in the world where you can be addicted to hookups and you're not making meaningful connections. You feel as though nobody can actually understand you. But yeah.
Having poor relations with women over a long period of time to
like you have no chance of dying by falling out of a plane unless you go skydiving. But that's not an argument. It's never skydiving.
But it is an argument against maybe skydiving 1,000 times if you don't want to die that way.
If you want to skydive 1,000 times, then fucking skydive 1,000 times. Like what's wrong? Damn, what happened to all the self-empowerment shit that you guys were talking about earlier?
I mean, it just depends on whether or not you want that outcome. If you're saying like, oh, I don't want this kind of destructive thing, or I don't want to end up dying by skydiving, then maybe don't skydive every other.
But I like for example, it's not my place to say like, oh my God, Steven is like so bad for engaging in X and Y, and you know, oh, like the way he's engaging in is like bad and saying like I can't do that because like ultimately I just don't know anything about his fucking personal life. Like I just don't know. However, if ABBA is like actually taking into totality of it, and if Destiny like trusts him enough with information about his private life, and ABBA is actually like seeing it from his perspective, then yeah, like of course I'm going to take ABBA's word more seriously, because I think that I think like just like any friend who sees somebody as an alcoholic or as a fucking like drug addicted, like heroin addict or something, you can also see somebody as like trying to cope with being like sex addicted or something like that. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. So yeah, that's just the way I kind of look at it. Whatever.
But like, I'm okay with the trade-off on that for like all the benefits that I get. I like a lot of people. I like traveling a lot. I like doing drugs. I like my stream shit. That's like super fun for me. To be like, well, doesn't bad stuff happen sometimes? So you shouldn't do it. That doesn't compute to me.
Don't feel bad for Steven whatsoever because he knew what he was getting into. He was brazen about it. When he was warned, when you said, hey, this is a bad idea, this is a bad lifestyle, he said, I don't care, I want to have fun. It's fun for me. If you engage in behavior repeatedly after you're warned, fuck around and find out, and that's what Steven's doing.
And keep in mind, from prior controversies, we know that Destiny does at least pride his dude friends as people he's able to confide in about his romantic pursuits, so I do actually kind of trust ABBA on this one. He literally says Destiny prioritizes pleasure, which does line up with an overall trend I've been jabbing at. He just does whatever he wants and usually whatever feels best. ABBA talks about how if Destiny is sharing nudes from one person with somebody else and not caring, there's no way to know what he will do or think is acceptable behind closed doors. If he thinks that kind of behavior is acceptable, there's really nothing he won't try and justify, which is, I feel, something we established.
Steven shared this because he thought it was okay to share. I personally believe, this is my theory, that he shared this because he just didn't care and he didn't think that the other person would ever find out. And that to me is almost worse. Because it shows that you don't care about the people you slept with and who shared that intimate moment with you and recorded it. And it shows to me that if you are going to be able to avoid the consequences of it, you'll say and do things behind closed doors that are just unbecoming. And Steven might watch this and disagree strongly, but the evidence is not in your favor. And I can't rely on what you're going to say. I'm going to rely on your past and your history. And what I see is another more failing where it's like, when no one's watching, you're not doing the right thing.
And I think that is such an incredibly important point.
You ready for my take? You guys are not gonna like my take, okay? Fuck it. But I've said it before. I actually don't think that there is like even when it comes to implicit consent, when when people like if anybody was like recording a sexual encounter or something like that, I'm going to assume that you're only going to be using it in private. Okay, I'm not going to assume that you're going to share it out to anybody else. And if you're going to share it out to anybody else, you're going to be asking me for permission about it. Now obviously I don't know the full context of any one of like Destiny's like personal relationships. Like for example, it could be true that he does actually belong to you know, a group of friends in which they just willingly like share news with one another, and like all of them are implicitly consenting with one another. However, if I was like fucking somebody who came from that group, and then you know, like I still would want them to ask me for permission before actually sharing it. I'll probably say yes, just maybe because I'm glad that you asked me for permission first, so I'm gonna say yes. But however, at the same time, you know, the fact that you know you, I don't know, get away with it, not get away with it, fuck, but like the fact that you know, you just assume that there is some degree of consent there, and then whatever, I don't know, like I just don't feel right about that. But you know what, I agree. Like we can agree to disagree, you know what I mean? Like we can agree to disagree, but there's just my own personal opinion. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really believe in implicit consent. Like am I saying that I don't believe in implicit consent? Yes, I don't believe in implicit consent. I believe in explicit consent only. Yes,
Point
especially when it
from
comes
a
to
former
news.
friend,
Yes.
no less, of which there are now many. And we will get to the whole sharing nudes thing because somehow Destiny has done so much shit that I had to make the discussion of how he's a predator distinct from how he's a manipulator and a liar and the current lawsuit he's engaged in. So let's go back and cover a bunch of shit I've been hinting at this whole time. His promiscuity is a matter of long-known records stretching back to even the earlier days of his streaming. Everyone familiar with the lore knows about his private bragging with his esports friends about getting sexually suggestive content from a 15-year-old and thinking it was hot. This was in August of 2012 and is something he's talked about extensively. What he tends to downplay about this conversation is earlier, the woman he was originally talking about in the conversation, Blue Tea, who he shared explicit photos of in the same conversation, saying to his friend she has a great body but was ugly. This was a separate person from the 15-year-old he shared pictures of. And this was in 2012. She didn't take this lying down and then leaked Steven's dick pics. Now, I'm not going to say that's the right move because leaking revenge porn is never the right move. That being said, this incident is a perfect early illustration of Destiny missing the forest for the trees, taking more issue with the leaking of his nudes as retaliation because he essentially thought he was in a safe zone sharing nudes among his bros. No, dude, that's just a bunch of predators. If you're in a group chat, let's chill with that. In response to Blue Tea's Reddit post, he basically says it's a completely normal behavior, using the same among friends argument he would later use to justify the slurs. He then threatens her livelihood in school by basically saying, I have your Dogsh info. In 2023, after getting called out for preying on more than 20 girls in his orbit, allegedly, Destiny would try to explain these allegations away, in the process revealing that he still keeps people's nudes, and it sure sounds like he just fucking shows them off like Pokemon cards.
My allegations was that I felt like Bob was going around to a lot of my personal friends and trying to torpedo all of my personal relationships behind the scenes by making pretty absurd allegations about me that were a little bit exaggerated. I gave the example of the stealth recording porn example that he gave that was like wildly misinterpreted or wildly twisted. I think my allegations were fairly concise, and I feel like I gave at least one example of how he would twist something to like kind of backstab me. This feels so
honestly a very Gen Z take, which is fine. Gen Z take. Oh, whoa, what the fuck? Hey. Oh, you don't want to take any chances. Fair enough.
God, this feels so stupid. Do you really care about this? It's like so personal. I wish this was like juicier, but this is so not. The conversation about there were two girls we talked to was like, oh cool, like we should record videos of like us fucking shit and send it to people. Like it's fun. So we do this. I kind of like have like my little archive of like Coomer material that I'll send to people if I want to. There were girls that I talked to past that I'd send stuff of like either me or Melina. And Melina talked to me and she's like, hey, if you're gonna send any videos to new girls that we haven't talked about, like let me know that first.
But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Let's get back to 2018 where he meets his to-be wife, Melina, a Swedish girl who was in an open relationship with a fan of Destiny's, Max. Max went into Destiny's chat and talked about how much his girlfriend loved Destiny. Melina would then reach out to Destiny personally, and the rest is kind of history.
And I think he said in one of his videos that he had an Instagram and that he needed people to stop DMing him. That wasn't cutie pies. And then I messaged him and said, am I a cutie pie? And then he replied in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so Destiny cucked a fan and stole his girlfriend so he could have a hot wife who was also cool with him fucking other girls. Add to that the 10-year age gap between him and Melina, where Melina was 19 when they started dating, and also she couldn't speak English as well. So lining up all the dots on.
She's literally a fucking supermodel, okay? She's a supermodel who is a sex worker, who has a career, who has a massive career. She is pretty much like one of the most famous people in, not famous people in Sweden, but she's practically a celebrity in Sweden. There are so many. If he was to, because I know the implication here is that like he likes to like groom young women or whatever the fuck, right? He wants to take advantage of them for sexual purposes, which is fine. But it makes no sense then to groom Melina. It makes absolutely no sense to groom Melina. He took his fans GF. Yes, that's correct. So basically, Melina and her boyfriend lived in New Zealand at the time. And basically they were polyamorous or whatever, and because of how liberal and progressive they are, like essentially what happened is that Destiny dated Melina, and then essentially like stole her. That's essentially what happened. Okay, yeah, like Destiny legitimately stole Melina. Yeah. Yeah, good luck. Jesus.
Predator behavior.
When you're 19, you're a little kid, okay? Now, if you're 22, a 19-year-old's not a kid to you, okay? I'm 29. A 19-year-old might as well be a 15-year-old to me. It's all the fucking same, dude. You know, don't give me this fucking, just because of some legal age of consent, whatever bullshit, I have about as much in common with like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old fucking freshman in school as I would a fucking sophomore in high school. Any type of inclination towards any of those people is really fucking weird.
Now, if you will remember the Bob 7 manifesto, what spurred this was Bob getting close to Melina and trying to expose Steven for being a manipulative pest himself. So related to that very Dennis Reynolds-like behavior, he also said this, which kind of ties into the whole thing.
Continually compliment a person like after that is really fucking hard for me to do. It feels like I have to remember to do it. Like, okay, I need to say these compliments to these people. At one point I had like a spreadsheet where it's like there are these 4 people that I know and I need to say these compliments to them every day. But I stopped that because it was too much to keep track of. Because it feels like that's like people do that to each other.
Okay, I have a sheet with all the people I'm currently talking to, and then
Dude, oh my god. This was Steven's cringiest take. Oh my god. I remembered this. I was trying to find this. I was legitimately trying to find this. Oh my god, thank you for finding this for me. Holy shit. Wait, hold on. I gotta read
And said, am I a cutie pie? And then you replied in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so Destiny cucked a fan and stole his girlfriend so he could have a hot wife who was also cool with him fucking other girls. Add to that the 10-year age gap between him and Melina, where Melina was 19 when they started dating, and also she couldn't speak English as well, so...
Yeah, like, again, the speaking English well, like, has nothing to do with anything, because at the end of the day, like, it's not like Steven was, like, trying to do that on purpose, nor did he have, like, a history of trying to take advantage of women's, like, speaking disabilities, you know, to get at someone, right? Like, for example, he calls out, he's fuck, what was his name? The person, Mama JF, right? GF Jerapy. He literally called out JF Jerapy for trying to take advantage of someone in a similar situation where she was not mentally well enough to consent, nor can she mentally consent to anything. And ultimately, she probably is now dead because JF Jerapy probably fucking murdered her, which is very, very fucking sad. But yeah, like, again, like, the reason why he brought up the 1519 thing in that specific context was to go after somebody else for essentially trying to groom someone unironically into a marriage. And that was the context in which that was being done, which is funny because they, like, people like Dead Domain, like, they'll cut around the context, right? They'll cut around the context in order to like avoid having people or viewers see the full message, because people are just generally pretty lazy people. All right, like they'll do that on purpose, knowing that people will not check, and yeah, they can definitely like misping or slander Destiny that way. So it's like retarded. I think that if you're gonna criticize someone or if you're gonna go after someone, I think you gotta like get in the full context. As in, like, the full context does not solve anything. If the full context does not like solve anything, then you know what? Based. All right, then you should go after someone like all you want. All right, because if you show the context of a clip or something like that, and like it's enough to where you say, you know what, I've seen enough. Like, this shows like to be an overkill amount of that whatever specific clip or something like that, and then you're like, okay, you know what, good enough. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was retarded. Oh shit, someone's scared. Oh yeah, yay! Oh my god. Can't see shit. I'm getting in. I'm hitting it. 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 Alice! Alice! Fuck! Alice, right here. Oh, fuck. Oh, my hentai. I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it anyway. I'm hitting it. You gotta hit Alice. You gotta hit it too. Alice, you gotta hit it too. Alice, you gotta hit it too. I hit it. I think I hit it. Fuck me.
Lining up all the dots on.
Oh my god, I lost my shit. I lost my shit. I lost my shit. I lost my shit for you. I lost my shit for you. Oh, fuck.
All for me, thank you.
Yeah, dude. Fucking hell. I lost my Tempest 4. I lost my Tempest 4.
Do it for Catless.
Oh my god, no. You owe me now.
Predator behavior.
When you're 19, you're a little kid, okay? Now, if you're 22, A 19-year-old's not a kid to you, okay? I'm 29. A 19-year-old might as well be a 15-year-old to me. It's all the fucking same, dude. Don't give me this fucking, just because of some legal age of consent, whatever bullshit, I have about as much in common with like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old fucking freshman in school as I would a fucking sophomore in high school. Any type of inclination towards any of those people is really fucking weird.
Now, if you will remember the Bob 7 manifesto, what spurred this was Bob getting close to Melina and trying to expose Steven for being a manipulative pest himself. So related to that very Dennis Reynolds-like behavior, he also said this, which kind of ties into the whole thing.
Continually compliment a person, like after that, it's really fucking hard for me to do. It feels like I have to...
I'm out of shit. Oh my god. I've lost so much to save. Oh my god, dude. I've lost every round. Every round I'm with you, we've lost.
I have to remember to do it. Like, okay, I need to say these compliments to these people. At one point, I had like a spreadsheet where it's like there are these 4 people that I know, and I need to say these compliments to them every day. But I stopped that because it was too much to keep track of. Because it feels like that's like people do that to each other. Okay, I have a sheet with all the people that I'm currently talking to, and then their name's either green, yellow, or red. Red means that for whatever reason there's no chance of me hooking up with this person in the near future. Yellow means probably, but there's some dumb shit or drama going on, and I probably shouldn't. And then green usually means like this person's clear for takeoff. And then I have them all organized by geography, so depending where I'm going, it's like people I can talk to, whatever. That's my.
So by now we've seen plenty of clips that show he might not be the most mature, empathetic, or emotionally intelligent person, but this public admittance of basically making a formula to approach and talk.
Who's Jun the King? Jun the King was someone who made the hippies on Destiny, just like everybody else, like everybody having the turn writing Destiny to train, okay?
To women for the sole purpose of sex is next level unhinged. Actual American psycho
What?
shit. If Patrick Bateman was built.
What was
you were out of space dollars too?
No, I always have around that much.
Like an Oddworld Madokin instead of a Greek Adonis. So to summarize in simple language that isn't trying to play this off as innocuous or normal, what Steven was doing was using his profile to slide into DMs of fans and other content creators, whereby he'd be secretly playing Sex Pest Catan to trade the right amount of feigned interest for one nookie card, and then he would not only probably record the experience, but then share whatever sex or videos he had with whoever else he was trying to chat up at the time. And I want to additionally call back to the Turkey Tom video where he talks about not having personal friends because he can't find anyone to engage with, which should provide quite the appalling contrast when Destiny then goes out of his way to feign personal interest when he thinks he can get fucked at the end of it.
It's just hard to, yeah. And then I don't value other people's feedback as much because I'm usually a little bit older than the other people, and a lot of my problems are like kind of unique. My problems are so
Okay, when you
unique
say you
and
didn't have any personal conversations, you mean with streamers or just in general?
I mean, like I would usually be dating somebody, I would talk to them. Yeah.
Okay, so you did have personal conversations.
Yeah.
Well, your problems.
Yeah.
You're not a total psycho. Why
Yeah, I don't think I'm a
why
total
you just say that?
While I am bringing a little bit of levity to the explanation, the fact remains that Stephen Bonnell is a predator, and now...
Predator for what? What is he doing?
Predator is crazy.
Josh!
Everyone knows it. Now, you don't get points for asking, who are all these girls Destiny is fucking and manipulating to fuck him? Because, I mean, we know. We have it from people who were closest to him, like his wife.
Oh, the people that have won. Oh, got it.
Guys.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well,
I'm sorry.
Wait. I don't think anybody. Well, now people are gonna go back and know. Melina, I know they're gonna know. That's okay.
He fucks what?
Oh, anyway, forget about it.
Oh
It's
my
okay.
god, the 8th person revealed.
No, it's.
But some other names and controversies that followed include Anavoir, someone who Destiny slept with in 2020. And I want to preface this next section with another clip from Destiny's friend Abba. Remember in that video where he announced ending his association with Steven, how he outlined Steven just fucked people and didn't care, but Abba also says something about the specific kind of girl Destiny gravitates to.
This dude really has a penchant for going after mentally ill women, okay? Women with like severe depression or just like these kind of like dainty, smart ass, fucking feeble looking, small white women. Like that's his type. And a lot of them got like self-diagnosed BPD or some bullshit. Like he just likes that. I don't know. To me, the fact that there's a pattern with a lot of these girls is a bit weird.
And yeah, that is a little bit weird. So here's a close friend claiming that Steven specifically targets people who he may see as vulnerable or mentally ill. And we've already seen Steven admit to the extensive measures he would go to make his interactions with the people he wanted to fuck seem more regular, going as far as creating a spreadsheet for these interactions to keep everybody straight. And if you're wondering if he is at all aware of how somebody like him might be able to use their platform and the implications that come along with his platform, particularly in relation to much smaller and potentially female streamers, yes, he is fully aware, because he's able to perfectly lay it out when he's not talking about himself. Or at least he seems to feel like he's not describing himself here.
Let's say that I run like a really big podcast. I get 30,000 viewers. Let's say that I have a podcast. I got 30,000 viewers. Let's say that there's a girl that messages me. We talk a little bit. She really wants to be on. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, you really want to come on a podcast, blah, blah, blah. I could probably start sexting her and she'll probably give in and send me nudes and shit because she doesn't want to lose that opportunity. She might not actually want to. She might not be into it really at all. But if I start propositioning her, if she says no to me, she might worry like, fuck, like if I say no to this guy, like I'm not going to make it on that podcast.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then are you wrong for asking in that case? Even though you just saw it?
I think it is wrong. Yeah, I don't think you should.
This is additional.
And it's wrong. He literally says it's wrong. So how do you know he's doing this? What? What the fuck? But he doesn't proposition like this. He doesn't do any of that. Like I feel as though, especially when it comes to like show producers or something like that, like you'll always find some shit like, oh well, if you sleep with me, I can get you this role for this show or something like that. And they don't want to do it, right? But then, you know what? They do it anyway because they don't want to miss out on the opportunity, right? So they're going to do some fucking weird ass shit. And that is most definitely like sexual manipulation type shit, right? But at the same time, but there's no leaked texts that would ever indicate that. Out of all the women that he slept with, there's no leaked texts that would ever indicate any of that. It's just like all of this is hearsay, and when it's not hearsay, it's just rumors, and it's just rumors, and it's just like it just never leads anywhere. Like, okay, dude.
Backed up by Steven himself.
So yeah, the problem is that I like crazy people, and I'm never gonna change. Okay, I love them all. They're all. It's my collection.
Because they're stimulating. Yeah,
yeah.
They're
It's
interesting.
like Pokemon that are undergoing nuclear decay, and every time you bring the Pokemon out of the ball, it might actually detonate on you, and that's what I am doing, and I love it. I like it.
You're basically saying that you gamble with relationships. Like you're looking for the relationship where it's like Russian roulette this time.
Exactly. It's not a gamble. It's a certainty. The only gamble is how long it'll take to self detonate. That's the only gamble. And
this is him being in his troll voice. He's like doing a troll bit here. Like I don't think he actually likes being backstabbed unless you want to make that argument. Like I would actually need to hear it from Dead Domain. Like go like, you know what? I actually like getting backstabbed. I actually love it. I love waiting on the precipice for that backstabbing opportunity to manifest itself and for it to happen, because then I can finally come. Oh yeah, the moment that they start backstabbing, oh that's when I get my rocks off. I fucking love getting my rocks off to people backstabbing. It's like, no, my ninja. All right, fuck you.
Oh, yes, I love it. It's so much fun. I live for this shit. Okay.
They
came for me. They tried to imagine.
This is literally the Mr. Girl manifesto on video.
If they would have 2 or 3 more girls who were ready to jump in here crying, I would have been over. Maybe my whole streaming career would have been done, but they didn't have it. They didn't have it because I didn't rape anybody that they found out about. So as a result of me being with less dramatic people, there's not as much like shit blowing up for my personal life, except for like holdovers like Cherry, Melina, or Brittany. But that's probably fine. I don't think we need like the interrelationship drama, although I miss it. And then now that I'm single, we could do it so much better. Guys, we could, bro, we could juggle so many BPD chicks on the stream now. The engagement style that I have with people, very aggressive. I love crazy people, especially crazy girls. I like the fighting, I like the conflict. I don't want to role model that for, right?
If this were anyone else, how do you think that this would disrupt?
It probably means like crazy, like, okay. Yeah, he likes crazy girls. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, it leads to problems. Yes, that's a meaningful critique. But that doesn't mean he's taking advantage of them. Like, Jesus.
Their self-growth in the friend and vulnerability department.
I don't need to grow there. I'm already perfect. Okay, I'm the perfect amount.
You are human, okay? You fucking.
I'm not. I'm not human. I'm better. I'm better than you. Okay, you need me to be better than you. Okay, I'm like the guy. Who's the guy in the superhero show? I'm Homelander. That's who I am. That's who you need me to be, and that's who I am. I am out here sexing crazy girls. I am out here talking to crazy guys. I don't go to therapy. Okay, and I do it all for you. Okay, this is what you need. You need this from me. You need this from me.
I don't go to therapy, and look where he is now.
I don't want to argue in favor or against Anna because she seems like someone who genuinely has things to work through in private. Anna is a great example of why making personal relationships public is very risky. This is backed up by a tumultuous relationship with another content creator, Waffles, who had a falling out with Anna she attributed to stress from Anna's various neuroses.
Sorry, she said that, like, I've said that Destiny, like, has done these, like, horrendous things that, like you get what I mean, like, really, like, morally loaded words.
Yeah, she uses the word abuse really lightly. So
when, like,
yeah,
what I was, like, trying to say at the time was just, like, yeah, it was kind of shitty that, like, you guys, that you, like, had to hash that out in public, and that he called you names. Like, that was, like, a shitty thing for him to do. Like, I wasn't saying, like, this is morally abhorrent and he's an abuser.
And on a multi-creator stream after this, Steven was accused of being manipulative.
And how horrible it was. Steven, you know that you were psychologically abusive to me, Steven. Don't deny it. Come on, don't gaslight. I literally, but Steven, you literally ignored me. You gave me the silent treatment. You did the stonewalling.
When I said you picked me fucking DMs, it's not abuse, Anna.
Steven, that was after you were ignoring me for literally months because I know you were doing that out of anger and control. And my own therapist said it.
I was like, no, I'm not ignoring you. I'm not ignoring because I want to stop. I want you to stop talking about me publicly. Holy shit.
Steven, no, you're lying. Steven, you're lying.
And the reason Anna felt this way was because when they hooked up, she was met head-to-head with Steven's attack plan for getting people into bed and then ignoring them. After hookups based on leaked DMs, we know that he would sweep.
Because that's how OCD works. OCD is all about anxiety, ruminating on them, and then like not to say it's like whatever, but like if she really does, like, anxiety when it comes to stuff like OCD, like, that stuff really is just straight up gaslighting, okay? It's not the person who's telling you that you have OCD is gaslighting. It's because you're gaslighting yourself into making connections that are not there. Or you're gaslighting yourself into thinking, okay, this person is ignoring me or testing me or in any kind of way. It's not like a regular kind of anxiety where it just passes and goes, or you ground yourself and use logic. The more you try to use logic in OCD, the more like you kind of get fucked. And that's just kind of how the disease works. And it is a disease because it completely fucks with your life, and it shouldn't be a quirky thing that people should be glorifying in any way. Because, like, basically, I'm saying that, you know, at the time, Anna was like legitimately having an OCD crash out, and I recognize this because I have OCD, motherfucker. I have OCD. I know that every single time, all right? Like, I get anxious thoughts, or I get, like, some kind of, like, anxious realization. I know that I'm gaslighting myself. I know that what's happening, okay? And it might sound like I'm trying to be the one gaslighting. I might sound like the one who, like, is gaslighting Anna or whatever the fuck, but it's not. I'm not trying to gaslight Anna. I'm not trying to gaslight the situation about Anna either. This is just how the disease works, and yeah, it's just a wicked reality of the illness. Like, if your trigger is like other people talking about you and getting facts wrong or something like that, and you have to feel like you have to correct the record, well, that's classic, like, trigger, compulsion, ritual, and elation, right? Like, that's the classic OCD cycle. But yeah, what can I say? So yeah, of course, like, you shouldn't be taking, like, she has her, like, she's fucking been, like, at the time she, like, legitimately was super mentally ill. When I was crashing out, I was like that, but looking into
talker in chat. Essentially, he was leading her on, very likely in the hopes he would later be able to utilize it as another opportunity for another hookup. I want to have a quick little aside here for all the Destiny fans and orbiters, the people rolling their eyes or just enjoy him for his fact-based arguments and how he does his research and cites sources. Think back to how many sources I've cited. All the people who knew him firsthand, people who were friends, family, loved ones. Almost universally, they claim him to be a manipulative, self-obsessed predator. The reason I've taken such a long, winding road to get to this point in the next section, the controversies most recent attention-grabbing, isn't to pad runtime, but because, like Steven, I'm showing my research and my evidence. So, for this next conversation, where Destiny will take his usual debate tactic, trying to discredit someone instead of addressing allegations or personal concerns, I want you to consider how much you should trust the version of events he puts forward. How does it benefit him? And what is the likelihood of the same kind of allegations being made over and over and over again of someone being manipulative, and then their same dismissing being somehow an honest approach? Back to our regularly scheduled program and Anne of War. On this stream, she broke down crying after confronting Destiny. And this is a hard watch, but I think it is important with the additional context of how Destiny has been public with his sex life. To Steven, I can't really say with any assuredness he's ever had any kind of warmth or emotional connection to anyone. He just seems to fuck anyone willing. So when he applies this manipulative sex pest jutsu to someone who was genuinely vulnerable and wanted real connection, this is what happens.
Yeah, dude. Okay, I just my end goal.
Because Steven, because Steven, you are manipulative. You literally manipulated the whole narrative here, and you're lying. I don't send you 10 messages. It was literally like 2 messages.
That went
and you ignore
wrong.
me for days, and
It's like equivalent to rape.
And I literally yes.
Like,
seriously?
Yes, of course I don't. Steven manipulates a narrative. He manipulates an entire narrative.
This is what I was trying to say.
He makes me look crazy because I'm very emotional and reacting. But like,
well, hold on.
I mean,
For Anne's part, she was under the impression Destiny wanted a genuine relationship, because she was interpreting his weaseling, chatting her up, and fake interest as a shared interest in that relationship. She would also, in leaked DMs, call him narcissistic and cold, so he kept talking to her through 2021, despite calling her a stalker and claiming he was distancing himself from her. In October, she revealed a massive info dump, disputing the claims that she stalked him, showing how he continually sent, and I quote, novel-length DMs and sexual fantasies from May to September 2021. So he was just lying and still sexting her. Now, after seeing her, let's call it a manifesto, he threatens on his server that if Anna shares his DMs, he was going to share theirs, not so subtly hinting at revenge porn, something that's kind of becoming a trend. This was 2021 for those keeping track of how little he's changed in his actual behaviors, or even just baseline willingness to...
using the Anna stuff is legitimately disgusting. I don't know. Like, at this point, like, the Anna stuff is so out there onto the internet that I'm not sure if I would fault anybody for trying to use that stuff. At the same time, you know, I think using the sun as more of a thing, especially when you don't have any kind of like prior experience in parenting or anything like that, or knowing how things like this should work, I think that's more disgusting, actually. But it's not a competition.
Then in 2022, we get to Destiny continuing his escapades by messaging 18-year-old Twitter user Rose is coming, and we will talk more about Rose and yes, the pxie situation soon. Let's skip ahead a bit. Mr. Girl would be another person who tried a similar tactic to Bob 7, which was to publicly accuse Destiny of sex pesting. The manifesto itself is over 100,000 words, with much of it consisting of direct quotations. That's why it's so long. These allegations, of course, would spur Destiny to respond. Again, all content is good content. Destiny talks about fucking other girls filming it, keeping an archive of Coomer material he sends to whoever. He also gives insights into Melina's thoughts and rules for sharing said material, which, would you believe, Steven just seemed to ignore for whatever he wanted. To tie back to Anne of War for anyone who might try and say, well, he wasn't threatening revenge porn in those DMs, you can try to hide behind the same doublespeak he does, but the fact remains he almost certainly had the ability to do so due to this gooner stockpile, and that on its own should be disqualifying for his character. I mean, if we're going by his rules of who and who can't be trusted, let's call this video a manifesto too. Fuck, the words don't mean anything anymore. Everything is everything else. Now, Steven and Melina are divorced after years together, and honestly, Destiny seems really broken up about it. We haven't talked too much about Melina, the woman Destiny plucked from a fan who left Destiny. It sure sounds like they had a contentious relationship if he feels he can just do better. As we've seen by how he ostracizes and targets anyone who speaks out against him, when Destiny makes something personal, it becomes even more of a vicious train wreck. For example, look no further than the widely publicized pxie controversy. Yes, the person who's made his entire career off courting controversy, being belligerent, and doubling down for his own gain is getting sued, and not only is he, as of writing, advocating for doxing people discussing his lawsuit, but is also being caught in 4K on camera harassing people involved in the suit as well. And if you've been listening to everything I've said until now, it's not too big of a mystery how he got from debate lord troll with little self-control to being a sex pest. This is someone with a son he never sees and 2 ex-wives. I don't think you can reach that stage of life and still call yourself a gooner without being one of the most cringe people on the face of the planet. He's talked about his inability to take things seriously like this, even in serious relationship contexts. Shocking, I know. I guess I just find it telling. The gooning, the constant gaming, sex, drugs, very little accountability. I guess it doesn't matter that he has a kid, people who look up to him, people who see him as a role model. Destiny has never seen himself as anything other than a kid who never grew up. If it isn't clear by now, he's a man-child. And I want to preface this next part with those things Abba and Melina have said because I think they give a lot of insight. From everything we've seen so far, we can tell that he has a history of doing whatever feels best or most convenient for him, and now his doubling down has put him at odds with even friends. But we haven't talked about how he uses his position to basically fuck whoever he wants with impunity, expecting that because it's his personal life, everybody should just be chill with it. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit with the Lauren Southern stuff, but that is just the tip of this iceberg. And what's more, this side of Destiny has been extensively talked about before. Remember in Mr. Girl's 2023 article, The Destiny Report. And I want to reiterate a point that we saw Steven bring up himself in another clip at the beginning of this section. He understands the power dynamics behind relationships as an influencer and why it's wrong to date, sext, or engage with members of your own community. From Mr. Girl's Destiny Report, quote, in 2020, Destiny himself explained why using your platform for sex with smaller creators is unethical, saying, quote, let's say that I have a podcast, I got 30,000 viewers. Let's say that there's a girl that messages me, we talk a little bit, she really wants to be on, and I'm like, yeah, cool, like you want to come on my podcast, blah, blah, blah. I could probably start sexting her and she'll probably give in and send me nudes and shit because she doesn't want to lose that opportunity. She might not actually want to, she might not be into it at all. But if I start propositioning her, if she says no to me, she might worry, like, fuck, if I say no to this guy, I'm not going to make it on that. I think it is wrong. Yeah, I don't think you should. Nobody can ever know if you're actually that kind of person. That's why it's a very hazy area where you can't really consent in that situation because you don't know if this guy's going to fuck you over if you say yes or no to them, if they have that big position of power over you, end quote. So this was 2020. This was a year before all the shit with...
Like, why the fuck would Destiny ever announce his, like, master plans of manipulating women, like, before he does it out in front of everybody? Why the fuck would he ever do that? Is he like Enter Tate, where he just announces, like, his method of, like, manipulating people before he does something? Like, what, dude, how does this even work? Why would he ever do this? Like, none of it even makes any sense. Whatever.
Anavar. Like, he knows all of this. He just chooses when it's convenient for him to actually care.
Okay, dude.
When called out for this behavior, he will do what he always does. He tries to hand wave it away, or better yet, justify.
Not actually. Like, it's not like he's promising Anavor a career, right? Like, it's like none of that happened. Fuck me, dude.
It behind a thin veneer of everybody's doing it and then threaten to take others down with him. What he's trying to do here is use his debate skills to avoid accountability, much like how he's publicly tried multiple times, even in the midst of this pxie controversy and lawsuit, to debate his way out of culpability. So now we are brought to a point where all of Destiny's different aspects, his business, his personality, his tactics and debate, begin to collide. Here is someone who has made a name off being as incendiary and confrontational as possible, never backing down from any perceived slight, even to his detriment. But he's never been some kind of debate paladin, a roving do-gooder looking to throw down with another intellectual titan. He's only ever been in it for the thrill, the pleasure. And speaking of accountability.
Here. Gaze and spirit. Okay. All right, man.
We've now reached the section many people will know to have skipped directly to. Every time I do one of these deep dives into a terminally online personality, I get responses like, why do you spend so long talking? Just get to the dirt and the proof. But the reason why I'm saving Destiny's scandals for well into the video isn't because they're not important, but because all the other aspects of his personality, the things I've outlined, are just as important to understand, to help frame why he is the way he is, and from there, why he is constantly stepping on a massive series of rakes with nobody to blame but himself. He has spent his entire online career with no real regard for who he harms, with who he platforms, the disingenuous way he makes excuses, or how he will clumsily navigate social spaces, blatantly working solely for his own advantage and manipulating others for simple pleasures. And that's just been in private. But what about when he's forced to publicly admit to the shit he does in private? Like I mentioned, if you've heard of Destiny in the last couple years, it's probably because of the various controversies he stumbled ass backwards into as a side of...
What?
I didn't even realize things.
Yeah,
effect of his selfish, narrow view of the world, one that has blinders on to almost anyone or anything but his own self-serving pleasures. He has, by his own admission, in the past talked about how selfish he is, not being so detrimental in terms, but remember how he talked about not being able to pick up on social cues in the Wired piece at the beginning? And he's also talked excitedly about controversy, including his falling out with other people and creators, how it's fueled more entertaining content, seemingly with no regard to any of the other effects. Keep that in mind as we watch a stream where he talks about how his relationship with his wife failed and what happened, and pay special attention to everything we've talked about so far, particularly how he likes to avoid accountability.
Melina will not leak or talk shit about any of this because she knows that everything about this makes her look like a fucking satanic demon. She knows that. She's threatened it a million times, like, I'm gonna start leaking everything. Oh, yeah, let's go. Okay, if you really want to, holy fuck, because my reputation is already zero in regards to our relationship. Everything's I'm a horrible fucking piece of shit. We wanna start leaking shit, we can do it. She knows that she looks horrible. I don't want to be thought of as a liar. That irritates me. I don't like the idea that the impression is that like I'm an abusive person. And I want to give like a very...
I personally think that Steven talking about Melina and the divorce thing was a mistake. I really do think so, but...
broad accounting of like things that have happened because I don't like the impressions that exist of me, like relating to a lot of this stuff. But what I have to like be careful about is I don't want it to be like, I hate Melina, which I do, by the way. Fuck that bitch. She has everything that's coming to her. Thank God. But I don't want it to be like, because I hate her, now we're leaking 6 hours of like our private life to make it look bad. That's not like my goal. And that's not even for her. Fuck her. I don't care about it. It's just, it reflects poorly on me, and it's not like the character that, I don't think it's becoming of like high character. I try to assume all the responsibility for everything, because if there's a problem and I can't fix it, then I just say fuck it, okay? In some ways it's really beneficial for work, in some ways it's really not beneficial, like personal relationships, because sometimes it's hard for me to assign accountability, or it's hard for me to realize like, okay, well I'm putting in like 99% of the effort here, and they're putting in 1%, like I need more. This is not like an equitable exchange of who's trying to make like a particular thing work. That was a huge problem I ran into with Melina.
And with these things in mind, I want to go over some of the more recent controversies and scandals Steven has been a part of and played into, and how that continues to evolve. Some of these things we've already spoken about, but I hope that by tying as much as I can into a cohesive timeline, it can help illustrate the various patterns of being so full of himself and so hard-headed he can't help but push everyone else away. There's his family, who have been publicly isolated. Despite him commonly bringing his sons up in debate and content, he's been criticized for being an absentee father, even by his own son, who has fallen down a pathway of alt-right radicalization, which Destiny seems to just shrug off as if being a Nazi is no big deal. I mean, yeah, probably for you, dude. You fuck him all the time, apparently. One of the most revealing times he's spoken about this was, again, with Turkey Tom, where he just seems to regard being absent from his son's life as a trade-off for giving his baby mama money and pursuing a career, as though a growing child will understand that, as if that's a fair trade-off to him, I guess.
I felt like if I lived in different areas, there'd probably be a lot more career opportunities available to me. Some people said I just moved places for people, but I mean, I was just fly out with people. So I waited until he turned 8, because I was trying to think like, well, do I want to leave when he's like 2? That feels kind of weird because he doesn't know who I am. So I waited a little bit, like, well, he's 8, we can have a conversation, he can kind of understand it. When he was, I think, either 8 or 9, I moved to California initially, so that him and his mom, because they were living like in a kind of a shitty apartment at the time, and then she moved into my house with him, and so he lives there now. So we go to the same school and hang out with his family. I prioritized probably my career a little bit over like my relationship with him.
Yeah.
I mean, God will judge us. But I mean, obviously that's also no substitution for like having your dad hang out with you every day.
Yeah.
I guess at the end of the day, it's balancing out like after this, I'm gonna fly and visit him on my way back to Miami. But obviously that's not the same as living there.
No. Do you see him? You see him what, a few times a year at least?
Yeah, I mean like several times a year. Usually whenever I'm doing trips or traveling, I'll fly out and hang out with him. And then we talk kind of on Discord and stuff. Although he kind of gravitated a little more from games and does real life shit now. So yeah.
Well, that's good. He's not like you then. He's horrible.
Not good.
Is he like you?
Yeah, he's a carbon copy of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, his mom reminds me all the time.
So, if he's not particularly close with any family or partners and talks about not having many friends, where does he get his human connection? Oh, right, he just fucks random people all the time.
I don't like the idea that we're normalizing, someone bringing in a bunch of small content creators that are women, fucking them, right? And then when that fallout inevitably happens, like, just cast them away. Because I hate the idea that I just show up on screen with a woman and it's automatically sex. But can I really be mad at an audience for thinking that when I hang out with Steven, who literally is pretty much everybody he works with?
Seems Steven has literally fucked anyone who would give him the time of day. I don't believe in sex addiction, and it's a very nuanced topic to dive into, but after listening to the way he's talked about sex and even just porn or masturbation, I feel even Steven would agree there's something more pathological going on with his impulse control or lack thereof. And I think from the various leaked DMs with everyone from Rose to Anna to anyone else shows that he is, accurately enough, gooner-brained. He talks at length with Rose, for example, about a variety of kinks, including being very into feet and cum, and age play. Suddenly, that clip of him talking shit about my Morgan statue makes a lot more sense. He seems to...
Literally, who cares? I don't care. Wow, kinks. Oh no.
Alrighty, that's me for our creators.
I don't want to play anymore. Fuck this. I'm out, dude. I'm out. Oh
sorry,
my God.
Sorry about that, buddy.
No, bro. I can't. Nah, dude. You're the bringer of death. Okay. Note to self.
I'm the bringer of death and destruction. The chatter of
I can't do it.
Doom and
despair. You need to leave before I explode. Okay. I'm so pissed. Thank God. Oh my God. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
See this just as a perk of the job, as though having access to a never-ending crop of fuck buddies thanks to his massive platform and ability to manipulate people in spreadsheets was the streamer equivalent of an executive bathroom, a perk of reaching a higher echelon of accomplishment, which, after everything we've talked about so far, shouldn't be surprising. That has led him to multiple controversies that have stacked one on top of the other, so much so that even as he's being sued, he can't avoid falling into another controversy. Most recently, as he's being sued for being a sex pest, he's had a controversial run-in with a neo-Nazi blackfacing creator named Empath Chan, where she stated his...
Why the fuck do you ever care about someone's personal friends, dude? You realize anybody who leaves the alt-right space as well or anybody who leaves like a more edgy form of the internet is going to keep some friends around who are also going to be extremely edgy. If this like applies to other people, why should it like not apply to Destiny? What the
His
fuck?
apartment apparently in Miami now.
And not only that, like we're not even talking about like making new friends. Like if you make a new friend, like I don't give a fuck. If you keep an old friend, I don't give a fuck. Like it doesn't even matter. Who cares about someone's personal connections as long as like what they're doing on the internet isn't like actually victimizing motherfuckers. But yeah,
I don't really care if they fucked or not. They probably did. We know from Abba that Empath Chan fits Steven's type, and we know he will fuck anyone, even avowed racist. And by now we also know that regardless of whether or not they did fuck, Steven thrives on the controversy, and he has no reason to either deny or confirm it.
They know about Empath Chan, but not the Rose deposition. Okay, I'm gonna assume they're gonna bring up Rose later. I don't know. Like, how do they not know that Rose was actually someone who is a blackmailer? They know, right? They have to know. They have to know that Rose was a blackmailer, no? Done to. No, I need to end on good games, okay? I can't do this. I can't like lose like 50 games in a row and have the worst fucking luck possible. I can't do it. I can't do it.
At the end of the day, we know he would. So it doesn't really matter if he did. And you might be wondering, well, you've shown how he's a manipulative asshole that pushes everybody away, but I haven't really talked about where that has agitated the law and why he's in a lawsuit right now. In 2022, he began messaging Rose is Coming, a purported 18-year-old, when he was in his late 30s. And you might think that makes him a bit of a hypocrite when 2 years into this relationship, he would tell Turkey Tom about how 15-year-olds and 25-year-olds don't have anything in common. From here, it's a perfect storm of everything that has made Destiny the
Where did he come
unwillingness
from?
to back down, a need to take on anyone who comes at him, an impulsive lack of control with his sex life. Except things he's doing to cause controversy aren't just palling around with white
Where did
nationalists
he even
anymore.
come from?
They're actual crimes harming people, and you shouldn't be surprised by now that he doesn't seem to...
Did he just like simply like... Did he just simply spawn there out of nowhere? Did he spawn there? He spawned there. He just spawned there. What?
From the leaked DMs, Steven's communications with Rose come off as aggressively gooner-brained, just like he said. And for the curious, there are plenty of leaked messages much more gratuitous than these. I am no prude nor stranger to being horny on main, but I genuinely think many of these messages point to deeper issues for Steven, including but not limited to being ashamed of certain fetishes, but then fetishizing being blackmailed for them. These messages additionally show him talking about sharing videos of him and Melina, something Melina would later say was a violation.
But I'm pretty sure for the people that are aware that's happened the past month, I think that shows a lot of what has been happening. Things that just happened, the past month, things that's been done to me without consent or anything. that has been my past 5 years. that energy, you know?
This is also why I don't believe implicit consent is like the good move here, okay? Like I literally don't give a fuck about like I just don't believe in implicit consent. I'm sorry. I just don't believe in implicit consent. I don't. Okay? And I think that this should be something that he is criticized over.
I will spare you some of the more grotesque ones. Instead, I want to call attention to this 30-something man engaging with a porn profile that was 18, but didn't have any links to regular age verification, equipped sex worker sites, no OnlyFans, no ManyVids, no Chatterbait, which should have been a massive red flag to Steven, somebody who is so familiar with gooning. You can probably see where this is going. Since litigation has been made public, it's been revealed that at the time they were messaging, Rose was a minor. Destiny spent a lot of time and effort denying and running interviews.
Rose was the persona of a sex predator who utilized relationships that he had with underage women in order to sell their underage nudes, aka a CSAM distributor, on Twitter and on possibly on Tinder as well, okay? Rose was not actually the woman who is the victim. It is the persona of Solo who, in a way, victimized the actual Rose. There is a real Rose here, but that is underage nudes that he is selling on Twitter, okay?
Interference until it became undeniable, partially due to his own actions. Ever uncaring about who his actions affect, he actually taunted the Kiwi Farms people investigating Rose, in essence helping them dox Rose because he wanted to mock them. And despite Steven being the one directly responsible for the dox, at every turn he tries to present it as either the fault of Kiwi Farms or Pixie, and who he sees as her allies in the lawsuit. And what this resulted in was internet researchers finding her student records, thanks to Destiny literally giving them the college she was attending. They also found her legal birthday and additional subpoenas seemingly confirmed she was 17 at the time. Since the undeniable proof of her being a minor came out, Steven has changed his debate tactics. No longer is he arguing that she wasn't a minor, because he can't, but instead that he was also a victim because Rose was actually a victim of sex trafficking. which, far from absolving Stephen, is actually worse in some ways. Not only did he not verify a young girl who claimed she was 18, but the entire time it seems, at least as of recording, that most of the sexting taking place was from Rose's handler, not even Rose herself. While Stephen might think that makes him seem...
Most or all of it? It's all of it, right? It's all of it, like the entire thing. Like, as in Rose never had contact with Stephen in any way, or seen him, or talked to him, or in any... What do you mean most? They never even had a single lick of, like, any kind of interaction with one another. I don't want to do this anymore. We're almost done.
Safe. The fact is that even if he didn't directly interact with Rose and was dumb enough to be catfished as a nearly 40-year-old man, then he still shared non-consensual material with a third party and additionally likely received illegal materials from Rose's trafficker. When he was interviewed about this on the Willie Mack Show, Destiny also seemingly confirmed he had received material from Rose that he was keeping that may qualify as child assault material.
Clip and says her boyfriend was recording these on Skype calls. That's absolutely insane to think about him doing all of this if she was 17. Well, this is insane to me because he's saying Rose's boyfriend recorded CP while sending me a screenshot of the alleged CP. So I asked to confirm if he just did that. If you were sending me this, I'm guessing you still have that video. Destiny replies, depends on why you're asking. But yes, I created copies of all of our messages and everything when that court case started. Just to be clear, he's admitting to having alleged CP downloaded on his computer. He literally has the video open as I'm talking to him.
And he has continued to not take any accountability for this undeniable fact that he engaged with a minor sexually, and instead continues to try and shift. And it was with Rose, the minor, that he would share some of the previously mentioned nudes from other...
He archived everything, including the CSAM, because if you deleted anything, that could be viewed as a form of admitting guilt. You had to save it because deleting anything that could be related to your civil lawsuit could be viewed as a malicious action done in order to avoid accountability for something.
Go to that location.
Why in the world would you ever delete CSAM when it literally does not work either? You report it and then you move on. With that being said, Destiny was actually trying to go after Solo. He had a docket ready to send to the DOJ, Trump's DOJ at the time, in which I don't even know if it would ever work. Just maybe because Trump's DOJ is fucking horrible and a fucking mess. Everything is up in flames. So there is like that one additional like issue as well that people just don't realize either. It's just, okay. I don't even know, man. I don't even know anymore, actually.
People, including pxie. With Rose, he also had this back and forth where he was asking this, who he apparently believed at the time was 18-year-old, how she felt about age play. So, he was sexting a minor using photos of other people shared illegally. In January 2025, Melina came forward and publicly accused Destiny of non-consensually sharing nudes. In another stream, Melina talks about things being done, referencing the leaking of nudes, that have been done without her consent, and that it has been her last 5 years, not so subtly hinting that Destiny's actions behind the scenes and with other people were contributing factors in their divorce, and that the shit we're seeing now is probably just a constant in anybody around his life. Soon after, content creator pxie launched similar public accusations. At first, Destiny responded by seeming genuinely contrite, and that tone seems to change when in February she filed litigation against him. This litigation brought with it a slew of allegations against Destiny from other female content creators who witnessed this behavior of showing off nudes without others' consent. And then there's Cherry, who alleges and filed a police report that Destiny was recording her and others without their knowledge. And it doesn't end there, as Destiny revealed in his...
Where I have not seen any more mention of this police report anymore at all. Like, as in, it literally disappeared from the public. I do not know where this police report is. I don't know how this police report is. I don't know anything about it. To this day, even though it has been months down the line, you would expect something to have come out of it already, but it has not. Literally nothing has come out of it because probably it never even was filed in the first place. We have at least one content creator who is a known anti-fan named Queeman who did claim to see the police report, but no actual indication that the police report ever exists, nor will exist, nor will Destiny ever get arrested. If Destiny will be arrested, I accept. If Destiny is not arrested yet, maybe you should presume innocence until guilty, okay? Just like how the American justice system works, instead of doing YouTuber recorder system, where everybody puts in their most retarded opinion and hopes that two brain cells rubbed together would eventually cancel each other out to make the most retarded opinion possible, because it seems like that's actually what's happening, but okay.
His DMs with Rose that he additionally had audio recordings he had secretly made of Grindr hookups. One of these was additionally posted online, proving without a doubt that it was premeditated on his part because he starts recording before talking to the person. And after all this, how do you think he's taken it? With grace or with a hyper-fixated, vengeful, scorched earth policy?
If we knew this, then therefore there should be the victim coming out. Instead, we never ever apply this standard to literally anybody else. Like, notice how tired I am. Bro, I'm tired because I've said the same fucking lines like 50 trillion times, okay? I've said the same lines, the same fucking lines 50 million times. Alright? Because we all know that these are the facts, okay? I've said these same things. I'm so tired of saying them. I'm like legitimately fucking exhausted from saying
You
them.
won't be surprised that when various other creators have come out to document these abuses and give support to pxie, Destiny goes into his DGG server to basically dox them to his community. And when he's not targeting the ops or anyone speaking out against him, he's just mocking people for things like suicide attempts. And as he admits to spending hours obsessing over the people trying to hold him accountable and criticizing him, he loves to describe all of his haters as simply obsessed stalkers, which is the same thing he said about Ana. He loves to justify his actions as being defensive, just like the DDoS kid. He constantly downplays his role in everything that started this conversation and his culpability in sharing non-consensual porn and recording people without their consent. Instead, he just wants to argue past it and never have to change. Like the N-word controversy, like fucking Nazis like Lawrence Southern, like abandoning his son. Like every other controversy he's found himself in the crosshairs for. And along the way, he's never learned to take any accountability. Almost like he thinks that if he publicly apologizes or admits he's wrong, he'd be losing an argument. He'd be seen as weak, instead of just doing the right thing. He just keeps doubling down. In a December 2025 stream he was on, he justifies his doxing of people by claiming they're terrorists.
What? I'm not concerned about Seba. I'm concerned about me. What did I do, specifically?
My answer is I consider every single person that's actively participating in that Discord to be basically the equivalent of a terrorist. I think that you, by giving your absolute dog shit legal advice, most of which has been totally fucking incorrect, and the other parts have illustrated you can barely fucking read, I think make you culpable as basically everything that's going on in that Discord server, so suck my dick.
In another recent stream with Foodshops, he talked about how people should be trustworthy online, and that's changed because sex workers are all weirdo tankies now. Like, damn, there's really nothing he won't try and blame on people more left-leaning than him.
I mean, if it's somebody I feel like I couldn't trust with anything, but I mean, especially once I'm at the point of trading explosive videos with somebody, I feel like I would have a decently high level of trust with this person.
Wasn't that fairly quickly, though? That was like 10 days in, right? Or is that not true?
It doesn't matter at any point. I feel like you have a pretty high, like the idea that somebody would be leaking or, you know, showing videos or whatever online. And then back then, it's different now because all the online sex worker women are all fucking weirdo tankies or whatever, at least half of them are. Generally, people who do like sex work related stuff are usually the most kind of like understanding of privacy and whatnot because, partly because their job depends on it.
And if you had any doubts about him acting in any kind of good faith, here's him also calling Pixie an e-whore, justifying sharing her nudes because of it and implicitly acknowledging that he saw her as essentially exchanging sex for his utility in growing her platform.
One of the biggest mindfucks of this thing that I think is really annoying, and it's hard for me to represent this position because it makes me look bad, is that I understand why people have that opinion of like she would have never consented to sharing a video with a whore, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is like she was that e-whore. Like this is a person who was trading videos with me, who was like trying to fuck a big streamer, who wanted to get together, who first suggested multiple times like recording videos, who enjoyed doing this, sent it to her ex, sent me videos of her and her ex, offered to videos, like she was enjoying and having fun with all of this stuff, which I have no problem with. I love e-whores, okay? And I love real life whores, okay? And I love being a whore and I love everything. I love everybody on the planet. Because I went back and I checked with that the Rose account that I was chatting with, we had 14,000 lines of conversation. I know that people think I just like sexted with this account sometimes. Like we chatted like quite a bit over the course of a year. It was a lot of conversation. It wasn't just sexual. In fact, there was probably
I mean, that is a lot. Like I will say that is a lot.
Sexual. Well, the idea that this person would end up being a catfish in my mind was not very conceivable because it would mean that the other person had to have entertained so many non-sexual conversations, but maybe the other person enjoyed it or was, I don't know, I have no fucking idea.
And when you see the ways he targets and points harassment as critics, resorting to doxing and incitement of his community, it also begins to make sense why other content creators are probably afraid to come out. He is fully aware of how the content ecosystem works, and particularly that there are hierarchies that he benefits from, where any smaller creators who come forward with allegations can be crushed by his audience and influence. There are multiple other women who have corroborated Pixie's claims, and other women have come forward with similar claims, but right now, it seems as though Steven is leveraging his influence to intimidate and scare anyone else from engaging. This is something additionally mentioned in the various legal filings that have been made public, where Destiny has been accused of targeting people. Another interesting observation that reminds me of him debating definitions and legalities in his Israel-Gaza debate is how he...
Wait, Dead Domain didn't even like... They didn't even like introduce me. It's like, oh, on Foodshops stream. Wait, people know who I am already? Like... like... Okay.
He is constantly mentioned throughout as attempting to make motions in the case that are portrayed as being, quote, calculated and misleading, such as a Rule 11 motion that the case describes as designed to harass plaintiffs and pressure her into abandoning relevant claims. This is additionally reinforced by two pieces of evidence submitted by Pixie in a motion in June to restrict Steven from public harassment of anyone involved in the case. As part of the filing, several screenshots were included of people who were worried about coming forward publicly for fear of being attacked and doxed by him and his community. There are several quotes throughout.
If you think I'm famous, you better donate money, okay? And with enough money, we'll be able to make it to the next upper echelon of fame, okay? Good luck.
Where Steven also mentions that he wants someone to kill people like Lav, Mr. Girl, and others. See, this is where his debate strategy comes back around. Never a debate he won't take on, never a challenge he won't rise to, even when it's all a result of his own actions. And so, he sits, subsisting on his lonely throne, going about his regular activities as though nobody is calling him out because If he just ignores someone, if he treats all criticism as an argument or a debate he can just ignore, then he seems to think it can't hurt him. And the truth is, he has already hurt himself and so many others, and nobody is willing to ignore it anymore. It shouldn't take a seemingly endless conveyor belt of former friends, family, and collaborators coming out publicly to get people to see Steven's problems, but I think the way attention on the internet works, that's what it does take.
Yeah, except that people are, like... I don't think anybody will ever, like, fully come back, but, I mean, people have... Like, Hutch and IRI recently appeared. He recently collabed with Adam Mockler. Like, it's slow. It's slow.
Just a drink.
But that's just how it works, right?
Pxie.
Why did she say it like that? Thank you for the $10, though. I appreciate that. Thank you. How is she reading the court docs and not know about the Rose deposition? How is the reading the transcripts and taking every quote as true, but you don't even know who these people are? There's no Rose. Like, I can't believe there's no... I feel like the court case...
Just a drink.
Okay.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
You're very famous, big bro. Take my funds, please, 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 please.
Thank you for the $10. I appreciate that.
Parasocial fans and too much goodwill from people who don't know much about him aside from his takes. People like Steven float by until every door is closed to them. Another girl, Stasia, has come forward saying that she was originally on Destiny's side of his recent issues until she found out that he had sent sexual videos.
Responding to Deeds Barb. Oh my god. In the E-Rape Discord channel. No.
Goes from her to several people. There's really no telling how deep or wide Steven has affected people and how many he's actually...
Proof, evidence, anything? How did you find out? How did you know? Okay. Good memes. Okay, good memes.
Still preying on. At the end of this long broken road, Destiny is still trudging away as though very little has changed in the last few years. And for him, someone who doesn't take into account the emotional reactions people have to things like sex crimes and genocide, maybe that's true. He still sees himself apparently as the embattled underdog who's overcome the odds before, weathered one controversy after another, and so he seems to believe that this too will pass. He likes being the outsider. He gets a thrill from being so toxic that no other content creators want to even engage with him unless they themselves are the same brand of opportunists.
He doesn't get a throw out of that, but sure, buddy, whatever fanfic you want to make.
And he wouldn't have it any other way, apparently. Through his constant offense at any criticism aligned with his material interests, he spent years isolating people who might otherwise have been inclined to come to his defense, and that was before the credible allegations of being a sex pest became all anyone online associated him with outside of his loyal fan base. Now he spends many of his streams attempting to carry on as though his days of being a relevant and entertaining voice in the space aren't behind him. In spending so long as the ringleader of this debate show circus, somewhere along the way he became an attraction himself. He used to be the draw for so many viewers, but now he is just another cog in the drama, lolcow debate apparatus, a mild curiosity for the unfamiliar to gawk at every now and again. He has transcended to become the kind of lolcow he began his career targeting for debate, carrying the internet's knowledge of his personal baggage, trauma, and failings everywhere he goes. And the really depressing thing to me is that I don't think he's able to see that. After spending so much time with him and the way he thinks,
Dead Domain doesn't know. Dead Domain doesn't know how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I think he genuinely believes that because of the sheer amount of attention he's getting, he's doing pretty good. He will probably be a streamer and debater forever. It's all he seems to want to do. Destiny is to blame for many things, normalizing radical ideologies in the mainstream, actual sex crimes, and even more personal failings like being a bad father and husband. But in the end, Destiny is also a product of the internet. If you were to have the internet and gaming culture of the early 2000s distilled into a mind, Destiny would be the result. A facsimile of human interaction, masking aimless offense, an algorithm designed to spread as far and fast as possible without any regard for collateral damage. He's like if Goatsy was a person. Might be a little extreme, but you get my point. When we see the world through the disingenuous lens of internet interaction, never taking into account the effect of our words on whoever we're connected to, it's not only easier to become like Steven, but also to take his behaviors in stride. We treat these people like media personalities, but they have no oversight or journalistic standards or training, just attention. And there will always be people that put that attention first and foremost because on the internet, it is the ultimate currency. People like Destiny are inevitable on the internet. Selfish, terminally online people who see everything as a game. Destiny isn't unique. He's just one of the only people in the game who claims that he's different. After all this time, I don't think he will one day magically wake up and have grown a conscience or an understanding of regular human decency or emotion. But having taken the time to understand him better myself, I think...
Kat, how do I donate on Kick? I want to give more. Kick.com/Foodshops. That's where you can donate, okay? Support what I do. Support me trying to cover motherfuckers like this for your entertainment, okay? And for defending this motherfucker's career because he's so stupid. Look, Steven is so retarded, dude. Dude, yeah. Go, donate. Kick.com/foodshops, okay? Apparently, you know what? I'll never forget this compliment, okay? I saw somebody on the subreddit say that I defend Destiny better than he defends himself, okay? I still think that's true, alright? Call it my hubris, call it my ego, okay? But this motherfucker cannot defend himself for shit, okay? Good luck.
I think we can learn from Destiny. To police bad actors, to recognize the signs of self-interest, and to call out people like this when we see them. And that's just speaking as someone who broadly identifies as progressive. Regardless of what side of the ideological spectrum you fall on, I think
I don't even want to defend him anymore. Like this video is draining the soul out of me. I'm done, okay? I'm fucking done with content like this. This is like, I feel like it's a obligation, you know, more than anything else, to cover content like this. Like, for me, it's like, well, since I'm already the top defender, I gotta keep being the top defender. But like, I just, I can't do it anymore. I just can't. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I just want to move on. Let me just move on to Asmongold, please.
there's something to learn from Destiny. His life is a tragedy. How could there not be something to learn? Here's someone who's made more money than most people ever see, who has major media connections, who has slept with probably dozens of people, and has a family. On paper, it seems like he's living the life, but he never was. He took everything for granted, even other people. He squandered what talents he has, and isn't even fulfilled by his endless hedonism. Instead, it's only brought him more worries, all the while tangibly hurting people and working against the things he claimed to believe. If there's something we can learn from Destiny, it's not how to win debates, but how to just be a fucking loser at life.
Hello, and thank you for watching.
Masterpiece. Truly the pinnacle of human creativity.